Chapter 1. Separation. Changed. There was a young adult man sitting on a comfortable sofa, leaning forward and staring intently at a flat screen. He was talking through a headset device that was resting on his head and covering both his ears. "Nu. Ha ha ha. I told you I'd win." The first voice was that of the man and the second belonged to a female, having her voice transmitted through the headset the man was wearing. "Whatever, Gwen. As if anyone is cooler than Boba. You got lucky." Gwen: "Sure I did, Adrian." Adrian: "Really, this was my first time playing Boba and I only lost to you by 15 to 12. You were saying. Or should I play my main mole?"
Gwen Vin.
"It's a draw." As the now identified individuals continued to banter back and forth about who was the better gamer, a large explosion had occurred in the neighborhood of where Adrian lives. Adrian's life along with many others ended that day due to a terrorist bombing attack. Gwen had eventually learned of his death on the news within the following hours. She had mourned him and cried bitterly over the unexpected death of the man she loved. She had planned to ask him to be his girlfriend 1 week from the time they had spent their final moments together. In the following years of her life she would continue to mourn him as Adrian was the only one that she loved and could ever fall in love with. She would eventually die of old age as an unmarried and despair-filled woman. She had never even attempted to try and find a partner to be with despite her family insisting on it. She could never betray her childhood friend. She paced away peacefully on her deathbed in a medical hospital alongside a picture of when she was younger with Adrian. They had won a small privately hosted gaming tournament in the surrounding areas. The tournament wasn't for money but purely among the fellow ex-students of the nearby schools. They were a legendary gaming duo. They naturally couldn't hold a candle to true hardcore gamers of YouTube or actual World League players. That didn't matter to them. Her final thoughts were of how she regretted not asking him sooner to become her boyfriend and to one day marry him and have a family of their own. With that she uttered her final breath as the monsters attached to her had stopped emitting a rhythmic beat sound and had flatlined. Her body was later cremated just like how Adrian's body was. Her ashes flowed down the rivers of India alongside his. A loud grunting sound responded within a black void composed of pure endless darkness. "What the hell? My wild body hurts. The heck just happened?" The voice was of course Adrian. Within the void, time is a meaningless concept. Adrian didn't know what had happened as all he remembered was that he was playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 with his childhood friend Gwendolyn. "Oh good, you're finally awake." Adrian looked around him and saw the being that was the source of the Skyrim reference. It was a large 2 meters entity of pure enemy compasses of the entire light spectrum and glimmers like a rainbow. "Adrian, I am either dead and have met an entity clearly beyond my understanding, or I have gone insane to the point that I am having this vivid dream." "ROB Jr., you're a funny one. No, you are very dead. You and your nearby area were the victims of a terrorist bombing. You're lucky that you lived alone, at least you don't have to mourn them. Now enough of that. Let's get to it. You're getting one wish of your own and a world to reincarnate into only if you can answer an inquiry of mine. Don't bother asking why I'm doing this or you won't get the wishes." "Adrian, okay. But first can I ask what happened to Gwen? Is she okay? Did she get caught up in the bombing too?" Adrian's voice had begun to raise as his thoughts drifted to concern for his best friend. "ROB Jr., don't worry about soulmate. Her home wasn't apart if the area's Thatful were involved in the terrorist bombings." "Adrian, wait. Soulmate?" The ROB Jr. had then explained to Adrian that Gwendolyn was supposed to be his soulmate and had ended up mourning his death ever since because she wanted to confess her love to him a week after he had died. Not only that but he told Adrian about her life from that point until her death. He was overcome with sadness, regret and surprise since he never expected a girl to love him. He didn't have a great life growing up and had failed his family countless times. That was why when he had barely scraped by with his job to earn enough money, he bought himself a very small Songla story house. He feels regretful for Gwen because she had mourned him and had stayed like as an widow for her whole life after his passing. "Adrian, can I use my wish for her?" Adrian wanted to do this to right the wrong he did to her and because he wants to do something good for once out of all the failures of his life. Besides he can just live peacefully through hard work in his next life. He doesn't need wishes to accomplish his goals. Why would he need wishes to be an all-powerful god if he doesn't have anybody to spend it with? He doesn't want to grow slothful and complacent. He wants to become a better person than who he once was. Maybe this way he can make a good life for himself like how his family and always wanted for him, but he always ignored them and ended up as he was back on Earth. Barely scrapping by with living expenses on the verge of becoming homeless. "ROB Jr., that is not allowed. Now then, you will be sent to Star Wars as it was already predetermined for you. You will get only a single wish. You will also keep your memories. As for the wish, just make it then I will decide on its level of power. I will have to reduce it or remove some things if it is too strong. But other than that, you can ask for anything. Just know it will be nerfed if you ask for something overpowered. Oh, I forgot to mention, since you died before attaining any actual good deeds of significance to increase your karma value, you cannot be a Force user. He isn't particularly worried about going to start wars since he isn't a Force user. Thus he won't be subjected to being hunted down all the time, which is probably for the best. He can just let Luke kill Abeloth when she escapes the Maw in 44 ABY and let Anakin, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan kill the ones during the Clone Wars. Meanwhile, he can go about his own business. He is okay with not being a Force user since he doesn't want to be a Jedi because of Order 66 and all the suicide missions they go on, dangers and no free will. He can just wish for an creation ability to make whatever he needs, namely materials and ingredients to create alchemical potions and substances that may be useful for him since he isn't a Force user. He also needs knowledge. Enough so that whatever materials he obtains from his creation ability can then be made into technology and weaponry for himself. The thing is, how to get those two main ideas in one wish. That was when a lightning bolt hit him from the blue. Adrian, can I request a piece of paper and pen with ink please? ROB Jr., clever brat. You think I don't know what you are doing. But I will humor you. Adrian, thank you very much. He quickly wrote onto the paper everything he had planned. Adrian, I wish for everything on this piece of paper to come true, please. Start of paper. The following is to be granted to Adrian. Obtain 74.99 midichlorian limit. 7,500 is minimum required for one FO be a Jedi no matter what. A creation ability that can create materials and ingredients and infint money. /N cannot create fully constructed pieces of gear or technology. He can only make the things needed to build them, then he does it himself. Certain things like potions can be made instantly, but guns and ships he must make himself. Does have a limit such as he can make infinite adamantium but not indinite vibranium or aerometal. He also cannot make infinity sones with it. Full knowledge, technology, weapons and armors and so on for the ISU, Borderlands, Yautja/Predator, Anthem Javelin, Earth, Star Wars, Destiny, Mass Effect, Marvel, DC, Halo, Warframe, Witcher. Has psychic bloodbending and waterbending. Has a personal AI that is on par or greater than the reincarnated as a slime skill manus. The AI can be either a part of him in his mind or in any piece of technology he has. The AI has phase shift siren power. Anything that he has will return to him if lost, no matter what. Has a strong regeneration factor. Witcher 3 mutations without any of the negative effects. As strong of a version of the Horadric Cube from Diablo 2. Skeleton Key from Skyrim. Spider-Man power and abilities. A culminancy and legimancy of Harry Potter. Has a storage space ability. Reborn on Mandalore as a half-human, Mandalorian, /half ISU. Has the power to make anything. Has weaponry like bullets or crossbow bolts become as powerful as normal or enhanced blaster bolts. Infinite ammunition. End of paper. Adrian, I am sorry if I was being very greedy with it. Please adjust them however you seem fit to. ROB Jr. Ha ha ha. Don't worry, I am not. Now, how do you want to look like? Adrian. Yes. I want my appearance to be that of the Breton hero is Elder Scrolls Online. The only difference is that I don't have as chubby of a face and it is half and half with Ezio Auditore appearance being the other one half. Also could you please have Gwen go to heaven or at least live a happy life as well? That is all I'll ask for. ROB Jr. Okay then. As for your wish I will have to tone it down and remove some things, but most of it will be granted. Most of the knowledge of the various universes will also be useless to you since you will not be able to make the required materials and resources to make them with your creation ability which I have nerfed. What I mean by that is you now have the knowledge of how to harvest the Earth Celestial Corpse of the Marvel Universe, but you don't have the Celestial Corpse to harvest, thus it is useless. There is a lot of knowledge that is useless to you. So don't think you can pull a fast one on me by trying to get the anti-life equation or the magic of the Marvel or DC universe. Magic comes from a source that exists in those universes. In Star Wars there is magic but it is vastly different. As for your soulmate, don't worry since she will be sure to have for good and interesting life. Adrian, thank you for all of this. ROB Jr. Actually, I'm a little curious. If I had allowed you to use your wish for her, what would you have wished for? Also it has to be in the Star Wars universe and she has to be a Force user. Adrian, what limit is it for the wish compared to mine? ROB Jr. Hers is practically anything since she had done a lot of good deeds in her life like charity work and such. So she has a lot of karma. Adrian, can't I just wish for her to be reborn back on our Earth again? ROB Jr. No, this is a question on what kind of wish you would give her if she was to reincarnate into Star Wars universe. Adrian, then if I had to make a wish for her, then I would wish for her to be the Force itself. ROB Jr. Oh, you would. Why that? Adrian, you said her wish would be limitless and she had to be a Force user. It would be dumb to just wish for high Force sensitivity of a certain amount. Instead why not just have it wish for everything if you can? ROB Jr. Thanks for answering my question about what you would wish for your soulmate if given the chance. That was quite amusing. Goodbye now. Before Adrian could say anything else to thank ROB Jr. for giving him this opportunity, he is yeeted like many before him through a portal into his new universe. ROB Jr. turns around then makes the soul of Gwendolyn appear. ROB Jr., are you sure that you want to give him 2 of your 3 wishes? You gave him 1 wish to use for himself, and the second you wished for him to keep his memories. Also, do you want the wish I asked, of what he would make for you if given the chance, to be made? He isn't even aware you will reincarnate with him. A teenage-looking Gwen, however, had just fallen to her knees and covering her face and mouth. She had become a complete mess of herself as she let her tears form into rivers that flowed out through the gaps of her hands. She had finally been able to see him again after so long. Even though it was a few moments for him when he had died, for her it was 78 years. After all this time, for her, he still cared about her and felt regret for her. She was the one at fault since she should have confessed her live to him earlier. She calms herself down as much as she can to answers yes. That was all she could blurt out between her sobbing. ROB Jr. didn't say another word as he was used to this scenario of people crying before him. He just gently yeeted her through a portal and had her memories sealed until the time that, the moment, arrives. The ROB Jr. was looking forward to this meeting, when her memories are unsealed and Adrian realizes that she had reincarnated alongside him. Like this, both Adrian and Gwendolyn had been separated first by death, now by rebirth. But will they find each other and rekindle their feelings for one another, or will their separation be everlasting? Chapter 2. The Birth of the Future Mandalore. /n this one gonna skip a lot really quickly at first, so don't rage. This mostly skips baby years. 51 BBY. A boy named Adrian Hawke was born on the planet Mandalore. 43 BBY. Adrian is currently 8 years old. As of right now, he was making his way to the black market in the underworld. Mandalore has been in a great many wars throughout the thousands of years since its founding. The Mandalorians had once had an empire at one point in history, although that was short-lived. The rest of the galaxy viewed Mandalore and its people as bloodthirsty warmongers. That is why they had reduced the planet Mandalore to its current state. Mandalore was once a beautiful world before the devastation was reaped upon it. Now its people was forced to survive in large domes on the planet's surface. Cities were built within them as the barren wasteland outside of it was uninhabitable. On Mandalore the warrior traditions run deep. It is their very culture. The Mandalorian warriors and the Jedi have been at each other's necks for a very long time. The only exception to this was during the rule of Pre Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi and the ruler of Mandalore 1,000 years ago. Pre Vizsla was a great ruler who had united his people during the time he had lived. But all great things must come to an end. He had eventually died and his one-of-a-kind lightsaber was placed within the vaults of the Jedi Temple. Eventually, members of Clan Vizsla stole his lightsaber from the Jedi Temple. Why they did this was simple. Pre Vizsla's lightsaber was essentially King Arthur Pendragon's magical sword Excalibur. Pre Vizsla's lightsaber was called the Darksaber because of its black blade which had a weird hue humming sound exited from the blade. The Darksaber was unique in every way. Its design, handle, blade. It was reminiscent to that of a Japanese katana with a rectangular guard. The handle was made of Beskar, a very durable metal used by the Mandalorian people as their armor. The armor is passed down from generation to generation as a sort of tradition. The armor can be regarded to suit the design and needs of the individual. The reason for this tradition has many reasons, but the main one is that with each battle fought, the armor gains its history. The blood spilled and splattered onto the armor from its previous wearers and ancestors. They refused to change this and would never wear any other armor, not even when they were at the danger of being disintegrated by Sabine Wren's weapon she had designed in the future. Back to the Darksaber, the Kyber crystal emits a black blade. Every time it interacts with another lightsaber it disrupts and comforts the magnetic energy field of the opponent's lightsaber bald. It is also empowered by the wielder's emotions and strengthens itself accordingly. The Darksaber is so important because whoever wields the Darksaber, by claiming ownership from its previous wielder in a traditional 1 versus 1 battle, will gain the right to rule all of Mandalore. As Maul and Pre Vizsla once said, "Only the strongest shall rule." That is why Adrian decided to be a Mandalorian. One day he will challenge Pre Vizsla for the ownership of the Darksaber, and in turn, will also grant him the leadership of Deathwatch/Clan Vizsla. Adrian had let his AI called Kara to control his body for the previous years of him growing up while he uses his occlumency to sort and go through all the contents and knowledge in his head. He had learnt and analyzed everything and all the knowledge that was inserted into his memories by ROB Jr. ROB Jr. did change his occlumency and legimancy. Instead of what they actually are, it is now just super high IQ, enhanced intelligence/mind, photographic memory, mind control protection, empathy sense, prodigy speed learning. He was kinda pissed since he now didn't have the overpowered memory of the Harry Potter occlumency ability. Although he had got to admit that what the ROB Jr. had replaced it with was quite fair given all of his greedy wishes he made. Over the years when Kara was controlling his body, he had created numerous plans and schematics for his equipment that he will create and use when he is older. Kara had used her phase shift omnipresence to oversee many of Adrian's plans, such as creating a bacta tank for Adrian to have his infusions put in him when he is old enough. His infusions consisted of heart-shaped herbs, super soil serum, Yotgia super serum, and more infused into a single serum. He stores it in his storage space for now, as it is dangerous for his body currently. He also plans to have himself upgraded with the following augmentations from both the Halo and Mass Effect knowledge he has. Although he doesn't possess Element 0, so he can't get the biotic abilities from the Mass Effect augmentation, he does get the bodily ones and a few that can be self-replicated by using the midichlorians instead of Element 0. He had prepared to get the following augmentations from the Spartan 4 and Spartan 2 programs. Catalytic thyroid implant. Platinum pellet containing human growth hormone catalyst is implanted in the thyroid to boost growth of skeletal and muscle tissues. Occipital capillary reversal. Submergence and boosted blood vessel flow beneath the rods and cones of the subject's retina. Produces a marked visual perception increase. Superconducting fibrification of neural dendrites. Alteration of bioelectrical nerve transduction to shielded electronic transduction. 300% increase in subject reflexes. Anecdotal evidence of marked increase in intelligence, memory, and creativity. Carbide ceramic ossification. Advanced material grafting onto skeletal structures to make bones virtually unbreakable. Muscular enhancement lining. Compound applied to the exterior surface of all muscles, allowing them work harder without tearing the Spartan skeleton apart. Protein complex is injected intramuscularly to increase tissue density and decrease lactase recovery time. Pulmonary polymer lining. Greatly increases oxygen intake and retention, helps process toxins from the air and allows Spartans to breathe certain non-oxygen atmospheres for up to an hour. Corneal implants. Boosted perception and massively increased night vision. Cardiac implants. Strengthens cardiovascular tissue and increases maximum heart rate to safely allow massive adrenaline flow without the risk of stroke or heart attack. These implants supposedly are able to allow an unarmored Spartan 4 to run at a maximum speed of almost 40 miles, 64 kilometers, per hour. Artificial pancreas implant. Allows the Spartan's body to extract the maximum amount of nutrients and carbohydrates from food with minimal waste. Artificial platelet injections. Enhances the body's ability to slow bleeding and clot wounds. Other known enhancements. Nerve cells were supermyelinated to speed up reflexes, bones were lengthened and joints were reinforced. Many organs were modified or otherwise replaced. A/N copied from the wiki. He also plans on making his own augmentations, but that can wait for now. As for the Mass Effect augmentations, L4 implants give a 10 to 15% increase in power over L3 implanted subjects. However, rather than getting an implant into his brain, he had just recreated it and made it into an infusion into his body like the Halo augmentations. He had mostly gained abilities similar to the following biotic enhancements by replicating it in a different way. Charge. Exactly what you think. Slash. Need I explain this? Smash. Okay, fine. This one, you practically generate enough power in your body and then deliver a powerful blow onto the ground via jumping and slamming onto the intended point of impact. Stasis. Similar to faux stasis, but uses the mental power of the person's mind and the midichlorians within to replicate first stasis, but these were the only abilities of the Mass Effect universe that he could replicate. In fact, biotic abilities is basically the Force powers too. Just the first had greater potential to grow and strengthen it. The biotics, however, are instantly learnt and are as powerful as a Jedi Master in abilities. The only actual biotic ability he got was Stasis. The test are physical enhancements powers which he changed charge and slash into passives, while smash he has to charge up mentally. Now, you may ask the following questions if you knew the side effects of all these infusions into his body. How can he have all this and still be alive? How can he possess them when some of them overlap and contradict and cancel each other out? You naturally have more questions, but this shall be the answer for the inquires that are important as of now. He has Peter Parker's double blank gene. As a result, he can adapt to nearly anything, including his Omega Serum and all these augmentations, infusions and biotic enhancements. Now then, back to where we ate at. Yes, last year. In 44, BBY Pre Vizsla, the previous leader of Deathwatch, is killed by Jango Fett, so that he can get revenge for his father and mother's brutal deaths on his family farm. Pre Vizsla was killed when Adrian was 7 years old. Back to the present now. It is 43 BBY currently. At age 8 he went to the black market of Mandalore to establish connections. Adrian doesn't want to kill any innocents or commit any of the horrendous crimes that Deathwatch commits. However, he needs to have their training firsthand, as they are some of the best warriors in the galaxy. He will only establish a connection with them so that he can claim the Darksaber in single combat against either Pre Vizsla or Darth Maul in order to become the ruler of Mandalore. He actually doesn't need to join Deathwatch to learn combat, as he is currently the most skilled warrior in the galaxy. He knows martial arts and fighting styles to how to use all types of guns and more. This is because he has the Knowledge Assassin's Creed, ISU, Borderlands, Yotgia/Predator, Anthem, Earth, Star Wars, Destiny, Mass Effect, Marvel, DC, Halo, Warframe, Witcher universes. This means he knows everything from boxing, karate, military training, Assassin's Creed combat, schools of the wolf, serpent, bear, griffin, manticore, cat, lightsaber forms 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, extra unorthodox forms, and more. /N I will make a list of the key ones he has and all his equipment and gear into a single chapter as his stat sheet. Even Hoff he knows all this, he doesn't possess the muscle memory for it yet. He has trained as much of it as he can, but without an actual opponent for him to practice on he will stagnate his growth. That cannot happen. Even if he does get all his gear, augmentations, and training to the limit. He can never hope to combat living monsters like Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi, possibly, his defense form is better than any existing Jedi. Anakin Skywalker, Mortis Arc full true potential, Mace Windu, Palpatine/Darth Sidious, Mother Talzin, Darth Maul, Savage Opress, Count Dooku, -47 Hong Kong dollars, Bendu, the son, the daughter, the father, Abeloth the mother, the wills. In reality, if he used his entire arsenal then he can actually beat many if the aforementioned individuals. However, the latter individuals such as the ones, father, son, daughter, he can never hope to even challenge. He is an ant to them. They are literally the gods of the living force itself. Then there is the mother Abeloth. She was once a mortal woman who served the ones. They all grew close to her and accepted her as their mother. The son and the daughter would fight each other on a basis. The mother was the only one able to pacify the two of them for a time. However, as she grew older she began to realize that her children would not have anyone to stop them when she dies of old age. That is why she went and drank from the forbidden waters of both the font of power and bathed in the pool of knowledge. Thus made her into the abomination she is now. Abeloth, the mother of chaos. The ones imprisoned her near Kessel. The one's mind controlled a race called Achillix to create a device that can move objects like entire suns, planets to and from one part of the galaxy to another. That is why they used this device to move 5 black holes to surround the planet they had once called home and trapped her there. This place of 5 black holes would then be called a maw. This became the largest obstacle of the Kessel Run for smugglers. The ones then moved to the hidden world of Mortis, which is said to be the birthplace of the Force. Every now and then Abeloth would attempt to escape. The ones would then travel back to the maw to prevent her. Adrian would tear his heart out before he meets her face to face. As for the wills, nah, no thanks, I'll just die here. The wills is a part if the cosmic force. If you have to rate who is the top strongest gods of the Star Wars universe then it is this. 1. God, the wills, 50,000, is the only being in Star Wars that uses the cosmic force. 2. God, the Father, 40,000 plus midichlorian count, said the Chosen One is his replacement. 3. Mortal, the Chosen One, and Kane Skywalker, 40,000 plus midichlorian count. Lucy said his limit is 40,000 but can be higher. 4. God, Abeloth, the Mother of Chaos, 40,000 plus midichlorian count. 5. God, the Son, tied with a daughter, 40,000 plus midichlorian count. 6. God, the daughter, tied with the son, 40,000 plus midichlorian count. 7. Half God, Bendu, midichlorian count. Adrian thinks that he can possibly defeat Bendu but not kill him permanently, as only the Blade of Mortis can do that with any god except for the wills. That is why Adrian is taking measures to get stronger and establish connections. He knows major threats that will return are the Sun, Abeloth, the Tong race, Sidious and his Order 66 and also possibly other threats in the future. That is why the first step is to claim the Darksaber and unite Mandalore under his rule. Adrian wants to ensure that the Mandalorian people do not cause any more wars in the galaxy. Mandalore is a war-mongering people that has caused so many unnecessary and needless wars with no actual reason behind them other than by being manipulated or idiotic in their desire for conquest. Adrian wants to unite Mandalore under a single leader for a very long time and ensure that Mandalore never again becomes into a chaotic civilization and to live in peace with the rest of the galaxy. He wants to be the ruler of Mandalore since he will ensure that this becomes a reality, also due to all his enhancements to his body. He can now live for a few hundred years or maybe as old as Yoda. He will live longer than all of the previous rulers of Mandalore, since they all died in less than 40 or so years of ruling, other than Pre Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi. To accomplish this dream requires a lot of hard work and preparations. Thus, he went to the black market to begin his plans. Chapter 3, Auction. Adrian had created a hollow disguise since an 8-year-old child going to the black market is plain absurd anywhere. Unless you're Boba. He arrives there and gets admission as a new buyer. He is told to hide his face. As he made his way into the auction to take a seat, he notices Pre Vizsla is there. Even with a mask hiding his face, he would know by the way the man walks who it is. And if he is wrong then no harm done. When he took his seat he then waited a few minutes until the auction started. Announcer, welcome all, I hope you are doing fine toady ladies and gentlemen. We have quite the selection of items here for all, from politicians to warriors and construction workers. Shall we begin this list of articles off with an... At this point in time, he had completely blocked out the ramblings of the man. Due to how most of the items are trash tier like usual, until it reaches the good stuff. There is a beautiful Beskhav flute on sale. This flute is a weapon and an instrument of music at the same time, primarily Gur assassins. It tool him quitter the sum of credits to get it, but he managed to outbid a noble-looking woman, most likely a collector. It would be a waste if the Beskhav gathered dust on her chappy shelf. Next was a Beskad sword on sale too. He purchases it as well against a Mandalorian merc-looking guy, or at least he assumes from how the man carried himself and wore his armor. Although, he was missing his weapons, jetpack and vambraces, as he wasn't permitted to have weapons here like everybody else. A few items go by until a Cal dagger appeared which he wanted, but the Mandalorian merc also tried to buy it. The merc eventually gave up and let him win. There were other weapons on sale, including a disintegrator pistol and sniper rifle. He bought both of them for an expensive sum against many other Mandalorian mercs which were present. Pre Vizsla even tried to buy the disintegrator pistol but failed. There was a pair of Mandalorian vambraces. Adrian spent all his money to win it no matter what. It came with a lot of functions and the whistling bird attachment. The Mandalorian vambraces were one of the harder things for Adrian to recreate over the years. That was why B wanted one of them so that he can have Kara analyze it and then he coils modify it however he pleased. He wanted it to be combined with the Yogia vambraces he has in order to merge the two into a sleek and smooth pair of gauntlets instead of the bulky versions of the two. Next was an item which he himself wanted to sell to appease the crowd since they might come after him when the auction ends. He was far from ready to face veteran warriors in small groups but not dozens of them at a time. After all, he is still 8 years old and as such, has the body and physique of one. Only until after he has his Omega Serum and augmentations put in him will he be splee to fight an army, without his gear. He had chosen to sell a lot of an lower-grade adamantium and warframe materials. He knew that the warframe materials will be all but useless without the other materials required to go along with them, as it requires a fusion of multiple kinds in order to be useful to people. Just like you need to mix ingredients together to make a potion. He also had sold some Dark Souls 2 life gems and a battalion worth of minor healing potions and stamina potions from Skyrim. Pre Vizsla had bought a great many of the potions, after the announcer had showed a test of cutting his arm and drinking a healing potion to heal the wound, and some adamantium ore. Some other people bought the rest of his stuff. He sold other small things which are just enhanced versions of already existing Star Wars things. He made a lot of credits from it, more than he lost, which pleased him. "Do you have a minute of time, sir?" Adrian turned around to look at who called out to him. He cursed in his mind while also celebrating at the same time of the man who approached him. For it was the current leader of Deathwatch, ruler of Clan Vizsla and the wielder of the Darksaber, Pre Vizsla. Most of the crowd was appeased by acquiring Adrian's items he had sold, but when they saw Pre Vizsla approach Adrian, they then decided not to follow him after the auction, as Adrian has the backing and interest of a powerful and well-known buyer. And they don't know it's Pre Vizsla. Only by his mask he wears to every auction has gained him a reputation of, "Don't mess with the guy wearing this mask." Adrian, "Yes, I do. Shall we talk in private?" Pre Vizsla nodded and the two entered a private room reserved for large-time transactions or meetings during the auction between buyers, like right now. Adrian's opportunity has come. Chapter 4. Doing Business. The two of them introduce each other by their names. Normally one would keep it a secret, but for some reason Pre Vizsla just revealed it to him. He must have realized that Adrian is a very valuable asset in his eyes and doesn't want to lose him and let him slip through his fingers. Adrian, however, only revealed his last name as Hawke. He asked Vizsla to just call him Hawke and not Sir or Mr. Pre Vizsla said the same thing too. After the introductions and small talk was over, it was on to the big stuff. Pre Vizsla, are you a true warrior of Mandalore? What do you think has happened to Mandalore in recent times? Adrian, he's really going straight to it, isn't he? Kara, of course Adrian. He is a leader if a faction and a crazied one at that. Adrian, yeah, you're right about that. Kara, of course I am. Adrian, you're proud of yourself of having no restraining bolt in you, aren't you? Kara. Adrian, I'll put a digital one on later. Somehow. Kara. I know. Adrian just blocked out Kara's complaints about AI rights, to continue on with his talk with Pre Vizsla. Adrian, I think that Mandalore has fallen from its once great age and has sunken further into decline in recent years. Pre Vizsla was happy from this answer. He both smiles and nods in agreement. Pre Vizsla, where did you procure the items you had sold at the auction, if I may ask? Adrian, I retrieved them from a very, very neutral party. If you desire more in the future, then you can become a client if ours. My partner dislikes holding business relations and partnerships with others, no matter who there are or what the reason is. You are viewed by my partner, as anybody else who buys our wares, a client, no more and no less. Pre Vizsla was a little disappointed that he can't recruit and get a partnership with Hawke and his partner. He instead asks if he can continue to purchase and order the supplies in future dealings and transactions. Adrian comes up with an excuse of limited adamantium as the processing from the mineral into the ore and ingots are very hard, including the mining and harvesting of it. He lies because he doesn't want Deathwatch to be powerful yet, since Deathwatch would never lose if the whole clan had weapons and armor upgraded with both Beskar and adamantium. He says he can give a fair amount of the potions on a regular basis. However, other larger clients and corporations are Pre Vizsla's competitors, so he will need to wait a set time to receive each shipment. Hawke asks if that is fine. He also says he will talk to his partner about increasing the potion production if possible. Pre Vizsla sees this as his only and best deal as the potions are very useful. He agrees and thanks Hawke. They part ways and tell each other how to contact them in the future. Before Pre Vizsla leaves, he asks him for a request and a favor. Pre Vizsla hears him out as getting a favor and on Hawke's good side will be great. A/N bellow will be confusing, but bear with me. Mr. Hawke, just Hawke, equals buyer, Adrian Hawke equals son. Hawke, disguised MC, tells Pre Vizsla about his son, called Adrian Hawke, MC. Hawke asks Pre Vizsla to take Adrian in and to be trained by Deathwatch. Hawke tells Pre Vizsla Adrian's story, about how Adrian's mother died when he was young by a group of assassins. They wanted to kill the whole family and had believed they had killed the son as well, but didn't since Hawke hid Adrian. Adrian was 1 year old at the time. After that, Hawke took Adrian to a person who owed him a favor to raise Adrian until he was 6 years old. After that, Adrian was now an orphan learning how to survive so he can protect himself from the assassins in the future. Hawke stayed away from Adrian as the assassins still follow him and he wants to protect his son Adrian. He tells Pre Vizsla to take him into Deathwatch 1 year from now and to train him. Hawke hopes that Adrian will one day leave to kill the assassins, then return to aid in restoring Mandalore to its former glory many years ago. Pre Vizsla is touched by this and that Hawke is a true Mandalorian warrior through and through. He accepts this as this will allow him to curry favor with Hawke. He won't threaten Hawke by killing or taking Adrian hostage, as he knows that will be foolish based on how powerful Hawke and his partner may be due to them having many large business partners. They bid each other farewell and leave. Adrian meets a few others but is happy that he succeeded in getting recruited and trained by Deathwatch. Additionally, he is able to leave to become a mercenary merc one day, with no strings attached to Deathwatch, as he doesn't want to commit the crimes that Deathwatch will possibly force him to commit if he stays with them. Chapter 5. Deathwatch departure 1 year later. 42 BBY. Hawke is adopted by Deathwatch at 9 years old. In 42 BBY, 32 BBY is when Naboo is invaded. He will be 19 years old by then. Pre Vizsla recruited Adrian Hawke and taught him everything about the Mandalorian code and warrior ways. He also teaches him personally everything he knows in order to get on a better relationship with Mr. Hawke, disguised. 36 BBY. 6 years go by and Hawke decides to leave and become a Mandalorian merc after having learnt everything he can. Fortunately, Pre Vizsla didn't try to indoctrinate him yet, as he doesn't want to mess up his alliance with Hawke, disguised. Pre Vizsla decides to contact Hawke, disguised, this time it is Kara, to ask what he should do, since this is a big decision that he can't take due to the risk of losing his relationship with Hawke, disguised. He is told to allow Adrian Hawke to leave. Pre Vizsla had calmed and allows Adrian Hawke to leave and become a Mandalorian merc. Over the years spent with Deathwatch, Adrian learned that his creation ability does have admit and isn't as infinite as he had thought. He discovered this when he tried to obtain Eru metal. All he could obtain was enough to graft his armor and vibroblade, but that was it. He could only coat it in Eru metal like a layer of skin on the armor and vibroblade. Originally he had wanted to use it for his ship as well, but unfortunately all he could get was enough to fill a small kitchen sink. He also learned he couldn't make any more vibranium and had decided to store the rest of it away. He was able to have enough to have his gear and his entire ship made from vibranium at least. That was why he had stopped selling vibranium and decided in the future that he would track down all the vibranium he did sell and reobtain them. After all, it is a finite resource now that he can't let some bumbling idiots waste. He created his ship using a plethora of various resources. In short, it is now like the Warframe orbiter ship in terms of all its functions it had inside. It had two forms. It can transform since it can change its shape and structure exactly like a Cybertronian in the Transformers universe. His ship was made if and had the following. Ship. A Destiny, Home Away, ship, main. A Destiny Glad Tidings, ship, main transforms into this. Made of. Iridian Vault dimensional space, makes it so that the inside is like larger space. Basically imagine the Harry Potter extension charm that Newt uses to have his animals. Or like Hermione's wormskin pouch, the ship is the size of a TIE Striker but the inside is as large as an CR-90 Corvette. A Truicalidium, A. A Truelium, A. A Ducalidium, A. A Vicarlium, A. A Truelium cores. A Orokin reactor. A bio cartridges. A progenitor cells. 3. A derivative cells. A Narasite progenitor cells. A exocyte progenitor cells. a hemocyte progenitor cells, a cephalid, a protomatter, technomatter, essentio metallico, a birth metal, a cyber matter, a sparked metal, or elemental metal, transformium, a transposing kiln reactor, makes souls or force energy into energy. Also acts like a soul forge, a father box engine, a mother box engine, a arc reactor, a biskia metal, a adamantium ram, at the front of each ship to ram like pirate ships into other things, a vibranium, functions and others, a self-repair, self-maintenance, a cloaking device, phantom drive, a stealth drive, a shield generator, ISU, the Shard of Eden artifact upgraded, a ion engines, a ISU miniature mass relay hyperdrive engines, Assassin's Creed ISU, Mass Effect, Star Wars, a tractor beam projector, a deflector shields, a miniature gravity well projector, a hyperwave inertial momentum sustainers, a tracking systems, inside, a drop pod / scout ship hybrid, Yachtgia, a trophy room, or bedrooms, a kitchen, a laboratory, pool, a common room, a dining room, a gym, a gun range, a launching bay, a spa, a arcade, a library, a armory, a garage, bar,
a satcom, Yachtgia,
a animus room, a ISU forge, a foundry, a transposing kiln wellspring, a Orphelian AI, ratchet and clank, weapons, a sleeper simulant weaponry, destiny gun, a ion pulses, a plasmacaster, Yachtgia, a turbolasers, concussion missile launchers, a weapon targeting systems, a ion cannons, a seeker swarm, Mass Effect, droids, a medical droids, a utility droids, a mouse droids, a R1-7S, aka Ritz, protocol droids, a more unmentioned droids as of now, A/N Yep. You heavily underestimated Iridian Vault dimensional space knowledge stuff. This is how he can have all this shift. Now you know his tech is broken. He has more functions, just these are what I'm showing for now. The rest will be shown with his gear in auxiliary chapter when I make it. Hawke actually wanted to upgrade the weaponry even further but couldn't as this was all he could get done on his own, brought the years he was also with Deathwatch. During his time at Deathwatch he had shown such skill that he was sent on a mission to eliminate a hostile clan. Hawke agreed to this since he did his research beforehand to see which clans should be eliminated or reformed due to the crimes and corruption in them. Clan Aconor was one of the clans he was sent to eliminate. Hawke had said he wanted to do it solo, which baffled everyone but they allowed him. /N I have put an image of the YouTube video you should watch to see. This will show you his skill and how he killed an entire clan solo. When he returned from eliminating the clan, all of Deathwatch had then celebrated the tremendous ability of Adrian Hawke. Back to the present, he leaves on his Destiny-modified ship, which he had built over the years, and he bids Deathwatch farewell for now. While he was preparing his destination, Hawke decided to hunt down and eliminate Dr. Nudo Vindi so that the threat of the Blue Shadow virus is permanently eliminated from the galaxy. While Kara is tracking down Dr. Nudo Vindi, he goes to do some odd jobs here and there. He decides to go and meet Jabba the Hutt. During the trip, he has ship piloted by Kara as he prepares to inject himself with the Omega Serum and have all his prepared augmentations improve his body. He had Kara put him unconscious while inside if the Bacta tank and monitor his body vitals. His body had twitched uncontrollably and spammed as if he was being burned alive and experiencing both a Herod attack and a seizure at the same time. Fortunately, this all was painless for him and just bodily reflexes. Thus began the adventures of the greatest bounty hunter and Mandalorian to ever exist. Chapter 6. Jabba in his not-so-palace-looking palace. At some point, Adrian had finally awoken from his unconsciousness and found himself in his 5-star hotel apartment-sized bedroom. When he got up from his bed he could feel the strength of his new body through every muscle and limb. He went over to his glassy ice table and punched it with all the strength that he could muster. The result was a fist-shaped imprint in the desk. The glassy ice desk was incredibly dense and strong. It was 10 centimeters thick and made of a Stalrim, with a certain frost and fire enchantment so that he wouldn't get frostbite by it. Adrian, if I train myself I might be able to make a dent through Beskar. I definitely can tear droids apart and probably kill Grievous in a fist fight. Now then, asterisk looks in full body mirror asterisk. Well, at least my modification to prevent myself from becoming 3 meters tall has worked. Adrian had observed his height in his mirror. He was now 6 feet 6 inches while without his armor, and 6 feet 8 inches while wearing it. Now that might seem like a small increase in height when wearing bulky armor, but his armor was very sleek and had nanotechnology in it to allow it to be smooth and not bulky. He had it this way so that he can remain agile, nimble and can maintain good flexibility and speed while in combat while still providing protection. In terms of size, Darth Vader with his armor was 6 feet 6 inches, and Chewbacca the OG Wookiee was 7 feet 1 inch. And Geralt of Rivia from the Witcher series is 6 feet 8 inches. After admiring his newfound and modified body, he made his way like the new badass he is to the common room of his ship. Once there he activated a hidden button which opened up to reveal his equipment. Using all of his obtained knowledge throughout the past years, he was able to make the space inside the ship massive. Just like how in Harry Potter that the inside of a room or area is larger than what it looks or is on the outside. He mostly was able to accomplish this with his Borderlands Iridian Vault knowledge and the overpowered, yet needed by the ROB, skeleton key. He equips his badass armor and weapons, which is a mix of everything on the list of what he has wished for. I'll post the specifics at a later date. Once he landed on Tatooine, he went to meet Jabba the Hutt. He had learned some time ago that Jabba was looking for bounty hunters to complete an important job he posted. He wanted to meet the Hutts to establish a connection with them and to have an inside spy and agent there. During his 6 years with Ket Watch he had told Kara a number of his various plans. One of which was to have Kara create an human-looking Terminator to remain and build relations with the Hutts so that one day he can replace all of the Hutts and wipe them from the galaxy. He would then be able to fully control the Hutt space. To create the Terminator, he was able to make it into a full biological life form by cloning himself and altering the DNA so that it is different in body and appearance. He made multiple Terminators with their own consciousness and personalities just like his AI Kara and various other AIs in fiction like Cortana and EDI. He had Kara ensure that they are all absolutely loyal to Adrian by having her use her phase shift to ensure their programming was as such. Adrian had stood face to face with the abomination that was Jabba the Hutt. His protocol droid had translated the rubbish choking sounds he had spoken. Droid, the mighty Jabba, asks why have you come here? Adrian, to accept the bounty that was posted for 100,000 credits. Droid, yes, the mighty Jabba wants you to track down and kidnap a male Togruta called Gadak Rifleb. The mighty Jabba wants him alive at all costs. Adrian, very well. But I want to know the details of the job. Why does you want him alive? Jabba was clearly annoyed by Adrian's questioning but held back his displeasure due to the logic in his words. It wasn't the first time others had requested for details about the jobs he had posted in the past. Droid, Gadak Rifleb had bombed the mighty Jabba's personal ship in an attempt to take his life. The mighty Jabba had already sent the bounty hunter known as Jango Fett to Ord Mantell. This is where Gadak Rifleb had fled to there after having been able to successfully evade and escape Jango Fett. Do you require more information? Adrian had gone over everything else he need to learn with the droid and Jabba. When he had left, some idiot tried to challenge him to a quick draw shootout, just like a cowboy. Needless to say that the guy now had a new third eye between his forehead. He had host-led his Ace of Spades hand cannon, Destiny 2, and made his way back to the ship. After looting the guy of his holonet device to learn anything else he could, he found something interesting about the dumbass that challenged him. The idiot had met a changeling recently. Apparently this changeling had met with Gadak Rifleb and had helped him. Not only that, but it seemed that the human idiot that Adrian had just killed was an ally to Gadak Rifleb and had stayed here to help prevent certain bounty hunters from picking up the contact on his head. The dead human had only challenged low-ranking bounty hunters. The human was quite skilled himself. But when he saw Jango Fett accept the bounty, he knew it would be suicide to try and challenge the #1 bounty hunter in the galaxy. Number 2 is Cad Bane. In the future Boba Fett would eventually replace them both and be the new #1. On the data pad it aside that the one who actually evaded Jango was the channeling. What's strange is that this channeling wasn't the same one that tried killing Padme in the movie on Jango's behalf. She had also helped Cad Bane break into the Jedi Temple during the Clone Wars to obtain holocron. The key difference is that this changeling was only seen by the human to be a Fkursay user and a female human named Jinx. Adrian thought it was a little strange. Why the hell would this guy know about her capabilities? They are complete strangers. And how could he know this information about her? Did she tell him? Definitely not. Did he see her do these things? He said that they made a plan where she would disguise herself as him and lure Jango away while real Gadak Rifleb escaped toward Mantell. As for her Jedi powers, the human just made that assumption, though he himself didn't know why he did. He had said in his diary that he just felt that she was for some strange reason. This was more than enough for him to know that all this couldn't be a coincidence. The Force was guiding him. He now knew that Gadak Rifleb might be important than ever before. But this Jinx was definitely the grand prize he needed to find and learn about. If she won't go with him willingly, he'll have to resort to more extreme methods of convincing. Hint hint. Adrian powered up his ship and made his way to Ord Mantell. Adrian knows Ord Mantell because Han Solo had once mentioned it. Also it held one of the bases of the Black Sun Crime Syndicate, which was one of the subgroups of the Shadow Collective Organization, which was created and led by Maul and Pre Vizsla during the Clown Wars when they did their Drachma stunt on Mandalore and Death Watch, saving the day. Ord Mantell was the terrestrial capital planet of the Bright Jewel system at Grid Square L7 on the Standard Galactic Grid, and was the second planet to orbit the blue star Bright Jewel. Orbited by at least 15 moons, including the moon of Quanxi, Ord Mantell was 14,050 kilometers in diameter and served as the sector capital for the Mid-Rim's Bright Jewel sector, which in turn was the capital for the Bright Jewel Over sector. In close proximity to the gas giant Winkathu, Ord Mantell was situated in the northern New Territories portion of the Mid-Rim, lying on a cross-section between the Bright Jewel, Kalura and Dohu sectors along the Selenon Spur, Burke's Trailing and Intrala hyperspace routes. The Burke's Trailing hyperspace route connected the planet to the moon of Jeddah in the nearby Tarabe sector. A planet of temperate climate, Ord Mantell maintained a breathable Type 1 and standard gravity atmosphere, and presented a pinkish hue when viewed from space as a result of its thick clouds, which littered its skies. On the surface, every landmass on Ord Mantell was dotted with mountain chains, but its population of 4 billion lived on its arid equatorial continents amid the foothills of its mountains and plains. Ord Mantell was home to many different species, with no single one representing more than 5% of the planet's population. Adrian remembered that the Black Sun was led by the fallen race individual called Zomit Grunsite at this time. The Black Sun hasn't been made yet until the Clown Wars, but they are still a powerful organization. Just they have not been created as a single large cell yet. The successor of the Black Sun after Zomit Grunsite, and the leader of the Black Sun after Maul killed Zomit Grunsite for having refused his offer, was Zaitan Moj. Zaitan Moj led the Black Sun under Maul at that time in the Shadow Collective Alliance. Adrian made his way to Ord Mantell to meet up with Jango Fett, the current greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy. Or that was the case before the new and soon-to-be rising star, Adrian Hawke, was born 16 years ago. Chapter 7, The Big Three Meet. Adrian is not sure when Jango Fett joined Dooku in his clone program, but he thinks that he should have joined Dooku and accepted his offer by now. When he arrived, he left his daydreaming and pilots his way to the docks where he lands his ship and pays for the landing and docking fees. He makes his way to the rendezvous point on the coordinates. He arrived at an abandoned building in Ord Mantell City. As he entered, he felt his senses activate and warn him to move. He rolled forward and pulled out his ace, short for Ace of Spades. He didn't need to dodge as he had already tested his armor against basically everything he thinks that he would encounter. The only thing that can pierce it would be a lightener to one of the vulnerable joins. Even then it would be difficult to pierce. Only some missiles and very heavy and powerful weaponry can pierce his armor. There is also a more piecing rounds which only begin to show signs of working after a certain number of times. He dodged the attack, since he knew it was Jango and wanted to make a good first impression on Jango. Even if it wasn't him, it wouldn't matter. He sensed another person in the room that fired at him. He barrel rolled to the side and threw a Superior Blizzard Witcher 3 bomb behind him at the attacker and fired a shot at the weapon hammed to the person by the door. The one at the door used a flash grenade after he went behind a table to get some cover from Adrian's gunshots to the legs and non-leather points so that Adrian can capture the person 1. Person 2 broke free of Hawke's Blizzard bomb and jumped at him from behind with a vibraknife. He had boosted through the air via some boosters on his boots to close the distance faster. Adrian effortlessly activated his hidden function of his armor which shot an electrical net from his back and onto Person 2, completely immobilizing them. Person 1, thinking that Adrian is still blinded by the flash grenade, fired at the wooden ceiling above him. He had actually fired a trap which had been prepared beforehand. The trap released a goo-like substance which immobilized all of Adrian's limbs and body. Adrian didn't recognize this substance and tried to break free from it with his raw super strength. He was surprised that no matter what did, it had no effect in the goo. Adrian had the strength of Spider-Man, Super Yachtgia/Predator, Captain America, Black Panther, Geralt of Rivia, Commander Shepard and Master Chief all combined into a singular body. His body. And yet he couldn't break free from the goo. Adrian had a thought go through his mind. Adrian, I definitely should have tried creating artificial Witcher monster mutations. I'll do it later. I'll definitely get the red mutations though. When he finally got the chance to look at the 2 people that attacked him, he knew who they were. He was surprised by who Person 2 was though. Person 1 is finally revealed to be Jango Fett. Person 2 is Cad Bane, who was released from the electrical net by Jango. Cad Bane, that net was a clever trick. Adrian, oh my god, I just got praised by Cad Gotham Bane. Yesis. Jango Fett, I agree, definitely very useful. Certainly didn't expect that. Whispers, I'll get that added to my armor later. Adrian, why is Jango Fett as well? Cad Bane, he passed the test, but still lost. Jango simply nodded his head. Adrian smirks under his helmet and says, what are you talking about? Didn't you realize that I won? Look at your chests. The both of them immediately look down to see 3 red dits in a triangle shape on their chests. They look back at Adrian and they see nothing strange or different. That is until Adrian turns off the invisibility on his 2 Yachtgia shoulder cannons that are aimed at them that were fully charged with a yellow glowing electrical light. He fires it at them and the 2 are caught by 2 electrical nets. Adrian activates his armor's function to analyze the goo substance covering his body. Kara informed him that the goo can't be removed normally or burned and must use water to remove it, so it causes the goo to slides off body. He released water out of his armor and was able to free himself. Adrian is prepared for everything. And even if he isn't, he can create water using his creation ability or with his nanotechnology. Cad Bane and Jango Fett have 2 Mass Effect Omni-Tool blades placed at their necks. The 2 of them saw a knowing look with each other and sigh out loud. They show their hands in the firm of surrender. They admit defeat and Adrian frees them from his nets. Adrian was secretly geekiest out that he had fought 2 of the most legendary bounty hunters in all of Star Wars history. And won. Chapter 8, Making Friends. Jango Fett, well done kid. You really are something. What clan do you belong to? Adrian had suddenly heard those words and was having an internal crisis. Why? Because Jango Fett hates Deathwatch with a burning fury. He had seen his parents killed by Pre Vizsla when he was a child. He would later in life go on to kill Pre Vizsla and clash with Deathwatch multiple times. He had even been framed by Deathwatch, causing many Jedi to go after him. 11 Jedi had died under Dooku's leadership when they captured Jango and sent him to prison. Needless to say, he hates Jedi and Deathwatch. Fortunately, Adrian was super smart with his knowledge from all the universes he had wished for, to prepare for this scenario. Adrian, I am the sole survivor of Clan Akana. I was going to leave the clan due to their extreme ideals. But they were destroyed by Deathwatch a few years ago. I am planning to make my own clan one day. Yes. Adrian had prepared for this and for meeting Jango Fett of all people. After all, if he was going to become a Mandalorian merc, then he would meet Jango at one point. That was why he prepared a false background for himself. In his Mr. Hawke identity, he had told Pre Vizsla to ensure that Adrian Hawke is to have his background and origins as a secret no matter what. That was how he got the agreement of Pre Vizsla to not have any records of Adrian with Deathwatch. In fact, Adrian Hawke doesn't exist. At all. The only record that Adrian Hawke exists is inside of the Journal of the Wills. Adrian intends to destroy the Journal of the Wills one day. But that task is impossible. Even if he had a Googleplex worth of years to plan and prepare to destroy the Journal of the Wills, he will never accomplish this. The Wills can just show up in front of him, say, "Sup," and poof, he gets erased from existence. He will deal with that issue in the future. Back to the current situation. Jango had accepted his answer. He was going to investigate whether he was telling the truth or not later on. They congratulate him on beating them, which is rare since Cad Bane doesn't do this at all, and ask where he got all the equipment he has. He tells them that he made everything. They introduce themselves and Adrian gives them his alias as Zer-Zero. Jango asks questions on his armor functions and Cad Bane talks about the weapons and the Blizzard Bomb. He gives a lower version of the Blizzard Bomb formula and a list of the ingredients that Cad Bane can get to make it. He tells Cad Bane that the original ingredients are rare but the list that he gave him will act as a common ingredient substitute. Cad Bane nods his head. They had said to him that it's foolish to give away these sorts of things. He responded by saying he's doing it to curry favor and only giving them low-grade versions. Besides, he has many more things than just what he used in the test fight now. They talk about real reason they were here. They were contacted by Jabba to find Gadak Rifleb. Adrian, why is Cad Bane here since Jabba said it would only be you and me on this mission? Isn't it a little overkill for us 3? Jango Fett, Cad Bane wanted to test anybody else who Jabba sends on the job to capture Gadak Rifleb. That's why he requested himself not to be told in the mission details. That and he was here since he had just finished his last job. Cad Bane, shut it Jango. Don't go telling others my business. Adrian, there he is. I was afraid that Cad Bane was a nice guy for a moment. After their little chat, they go over the info from Jabba and new intel that Jango and Cad Bane had got from going around the city prior to Adrian's arrival. Gadak Rifleb is located somewhere in the Market District. Cad Bane mentions how he thinks that Gadak Rifleb has a bad relationship with the Black Sun Council. Adrian, I have a way to track him down. When was Gadak Rifleb last seen? Jango Fett, he was at meeting with a Togruta associate. Jango points to the basement door, indicating that they captured him. Jango Fett, we tried to get information out of him but with no luck, even with Bane's torture methods. Adrian doesn't say another word and just headed to the basement to interrogate him. Jango and Cad Bane just wait until he comes back. Cad Bane, 1,000 credits that he fails to get the information. Jango Fett, don't be so hasty. I think Zer-Zero will succeed. Cad Bane, we'll see about that. Chapter 9, Eden Tree's Apple of Knowledge. Adrian goes to the Togruta and uses an weakened version of the Apple of Eden on him. It doesn't work. He uses the skeleton key on Togruta's mind to make it more vulnerable to the Apple of Eden. The reason why he had immediately done this and not even bothered with asking him a question was simple. If Cad Bane and Jango Fett couldn't get the information out if someone, then nothing other than a force mind trick can do it. Thus, he decided to make things quick to impress the other two that he got the information from the Togruta incredibly fast. After that he got info of location and reason that Gadak Rifleb is trying to kill Jabba. Gadak Rifleb had to leave his wife and daughter on Tatooine when the Black Sun came to collect a debt from him. To protect them he had to leave and pay his debt off first. Years later, he still hadn't paid off his debt but contacted his family regularly. But one day his wife and daughter were taken by Jabba's thugs as slaves. They became Jabba's personal slaves and toys. One day Jabba got enraged at the daughter as she had spilled Jabba's drink on the floor. Jabba had her killed. The mother tried to save her daughter but was killed as well, but only after Jabba enjoyed himself with her one last time. He told them that he would let them free if they serviced him one last time. Jabba had kept his word by freeing them through the release of death. Gadak Rifleb learned of this and abandoned his concern if paying the debt he owed to the Black Sun. He left to kill Jabba but was unfortunate that he failed as the bomb he had somehow didn't have a good signal with the detonator, thus he failed to kill Jabba. After that he got help from the Togruta friend to hide under the Black Sun's nose on Ord Mantell. This worked, but unfortunately Jango Fett had tracked him down and Cad Bane was already on the planet having completed his recent job. It was around that time that a strange-looking girl had appeared and had heard about Gadak Rifleb's situation. She felt pity for him as she had said she had grown tired of seeing things like what happened to Gadak Rifleb happen all across the galaxy for so long. She had made Gadak Rifleb, the Togruta associate and the human, that is now dead thanks to Adrian, swear not to reveal anything about her or she won't help him. They all agreed. That was when she changed to look like Gadak Rifleb and had tricked Jango Fett in following her elsewhere. She was then able to escape from him. Gadak Rifleb arrived and hid on Ord Mantell, and the human would stay and observe on Tatooine, also prevent as many bounty hunters from hunting Gadak Rifleb as he could. After that, the Togruta met with him again and helped Gadak Rifleb hide in a shopkeeper apartment. The shopkeeper was tied up for the time being. He hid at the merchant district because he can oversee and view everything that happens and all the people from the apartment safely hidden. The Togruta friend before Adrian right now is the brother of Gadak Rifleb's wife. The human was just a person who owed Gadak Rifleb a life debt and had experienced a similar situation like what Gadak Rifleb's family had gone through. After learning all that, Adrian was overwhelmed. He vowed to kill Jabba when he is of no further use. He would ensure that day comes quicker than what was initially planned, even if he would derail the story of the Clone Wars itself. At this point he didn't care. He will butcher every Hutt alive. He had felt partially guilty at having killed the human on Tatooine after learning his intentions. However, he got over it with the excuse that the human tried killing him and challenged him. The human knew what the consequences were and the dangers of what he was doing. He mind wipes Togruta captive by using the Apple of Eden and returns upstairs. He tells them he erased the Togruta captive's memories after getting the intel and reason. He tells them about intel he gathered. All except the girl Jinx. He didn't know why, but she was important. This feeling that he had gotten was more than enough to tell him that he had to meet her. He won't go around exposing her since she herself had tried to keep her identity a secret. If Adrian could capture her, he could instantly find out everything about her easily. But until then, he will play by her rules and keep the information on her confidential. If she encounters Jango or Cad Bane and they ask Adrian about her, he'll just lie and say that he didn't know since the Togruta never mentioned it. Cad Bane threw bunch of credits to Jango. Adrian figured out what happened and chuckled inside his mind. In order for Cad Bane to quell his lost prode, he goes to kill the captive, but Adrian stops him and tells him he doesn't need to die since he erased his memories. They ask how he did it. He said trade secret. Like hell he will reveal that he had ISU Eden artifacts. They had eventually left to scout a new point that they will use to track down Gadak Rifleb. Adrian tells them he needs to sort out a few things with his gear and the Togruta captive, then he'll meet them. They agree and exited the house. Only just now does he remember that Jango Fett is the mentor of Cad Bane. He thinks about the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker duo. He ponders about the Chosen One. As he thought about the Chosen One, he feels a great terror and weight loom on him. He was overcome with fear and pulls out his weapons, looking everywhere in the room. The fear conquers him to the core as he frantically looks everywhere, keeping his eyes open like a madman that hadn't slept in years. When he turns around one last time, he comes face to face with a beautiful white-haired female figure. He could nor be fooled by the attractiveness of the being before her. He knew who she was. He knew she is. What she truly looks like without this illusion she had made of herself. He immediately realizes the figure as one of the most powerful entities in this universe he had hoped to not met so soon if ever. This was one of the gods of the living force. The mother of the ones. The mother of chaos. Abeloth. Chapter 10. Of Gods and Mortals. Adrian immediately recognized the figure offered him as one of the most powerful entities in this universe he had hoped to not met so soon if ever. This was one of the gods of the living force. The mother of the ones. The mother of chaos. Abeloth. He screamed in utter terror as he tried to flee from her. But he soon noticed that no sound had left his mouth, nor could he move his body the slightest. He just prayed that this was all a dream. He refused to believe that this is real, since Abeloth was trapped on the original homeworld of the Ones. It was located in between 5 black holes, along the Kessel Run. He knows that Sinkhole Station, a lower-tier version of the Centerpoint Station superweapon, isn't destroyed as of yet, since it was destroyed in 44 ABY. Sinkhole Station is used to maintain the 5 bulk holes around Abeloth and the world she is on to serve as her prison. That is why he thinks this is a dream, or at least he had hoped for it to be. Abeloth slowly approaches him and he desperately tries to move away to escape with his life. No matter if he had the powers of Thanos or Superman, he can never kill Abeloth unless he uses the Blade of Mortis and destroys all of her avatars. And even when Luke Skywalker did kill her in the comics, he himself thinks that Abeloth couldn't have been killed. Abeloth was just that powerful. He had wanted to deal with Palpatine first before focusing on encountering the Ones, Abeloth, or the Wills. They were beyond his and every living being's league. She says something but no words leaves her mouth nor any sound made. He assumes that the reason for this is because she is still imprisoned and this was a projection or a weekend version of it. That, and the Ones probably had something to do with it. Since when she was free in 44 ABY, she was able to manipulate and take control of most if the Galactic Senate with just her words alone. Thus, the Ones might have prevented her from talking to other individuals, unless she spoke in her real body. She stepped forward, she was completely naked and had no clothes whatsoever, though Adrian didn't care about that at all, nor did he notice as his life was in danger at this moment. She was now standing before Adrian, her height was only slightly larger than he was. She raised her hand and prepared it. She plunges her hand into his heart and shows her monstrous form as she makes a yelling/shouting expression, yet again no sound leaves. At that moment the Force itself feels a great disturbance occur. All the most powerful beings sense this and use their Force powers to see what is happening. They see that Abeloth is killing Hawke. Fortunately or unfortunately for him, his face and appearance was concealed by his armor. At that moment, all these beings' connection and divination sight was blocked off and cancelled. At that moment 3 beings of similar height to Abeloth had appeared within the room that Abeloth and Adrian was within. These beings were the father, the son and the daughter, otherwise known as the Ones. The Ones useless the Force to pull away the Force projection of Abeloth and in turn, removed her hand from out of Adrian's heart. Adrian would die soon. The only reason he didn't die instantly was due to all the enhancements he had gotten for his body and the wish for a strong regeneration factor. The Ones had stopped Abeloth from killing Adrian. The daughter approached him and used Force Heal and Force Revitalize to heal him. The Ones all turned to face and talked to Abeloth. The father, why did you try to kill the human? Why do you hate him? He has done nothing to you. She speaks yet again but nothing leaves her mouth. But the Ones clearly heard and understood what she had said and looked at the panting Adrian, who was clutching the area where his heart was pierced. The armor around his heart that was pierced was repairing itself with the Shiva bots and nanotechnology of the armor he wore. He notices all their gazes at him, 3v3n the now restrained murderous intent of Abeloth. He didn't want to reveal his face if he can't help it, even though it is stopping him from breathing properly. He knows it's pointless as they will obviously learn his identity now, and possibly even know what he looks like by using Force nonsense of echolocation or Force vision and the like. All the Ones have mixed thoughts on Adrian now, but decide to leave it for the time being. They confront Abeloth and they all worked in tandem with each other and had used their Force powers to banish the Force projection of the mother and seal her away again, but this time they ensured she could not use Force projection outside of the maw. Adrian feels the pressure of Abeloth vanish mostly. He realizes that even though she isn't here anymore, she is still watching him through the Force. The son. So he is the one? The daughter. If that is their choice then let it be. It isn't our place to interfere. Adrian was clearly not thinking properly since he was still shaken up by everything that has just happened and had rudderless raised his voice in a tone that would have coated death. But he clearly didn't recognize that he was speaking in this tone. Adrian, could you all tell me why would you all even care about me? Save me more. More importantly, why did she come after me and try to kill me? I've done nothing to warrant all your attention. Now she wants to kill me? The father interrupts the son and daughter and answers his question. The father, I understand you worries and questions. Don't worry as she won't interact with you again for a time now. At least. We will be watching over you to ensure she doesn't try to kill you again. As for why she did make an attempt on your life, I am afraid I cannot tell you as of now. We will meet again one day. Until then, be wary as now all Force sensitives that have a good connection to the Force will have felt you as the source of what occurred here. Be warned, those of light and dark will come for you. They are already on their way here. You should leave this planet as fast as you can. Until we meet again. May the Force be with you. With that the Ones had faded out of existence as if they were an illusion. When the Ones vanished, the first thing Adrian did was pound the ground in anger. Every time he pushed the concrete ground, large fissures would be made that gouged out chunks of the floor. He just yelled out in fury and rage at everything that has occurred and the misfortunes that would befall him. He has now royally fucked up. He tries to think of what he did to have Abeloth try and kill him. He assumes it can't be of his reincarnation since the father said he can't tell him the reason. This means that it has to logically be something else, something that has to be a secret that not even Adrian knows about. Since why would the father keep the information about his reincarnation a secret from the very person who was reincarnated? After he calmed down after what felt was a long time, he stood up and regulated his breathing. He gazed up at the ceiling, as if he could see the sky and the building around him didn't exist. Adrian, thank you for saving my life, until we meet again, on Mortis. Chapter 11. The Devil's Duel. After I had recovered from his exhaustion from experiencing a near-death experience, I goes to coordinates and wait with the others. My armor had fully repaired itself, so it was as if nothing happened. What happened next wasn't anything big. We were simply able to find him. I mean, 2 of the greatest bounty hunters in the galaxy plus 1 overpowered and overgeared reincarnated people to ever exist. Yeah. We found him fast. That. And because I had dozens of invisible drones fly into each house and transmit the feed to my HUD of my helmet. We find Gadak Rifleb and break into his apartment and capture him. We spoke to Gadak Rifleb and he tells Jango Fett and me to please be honorable to let him have his revenge on Jabba for his family's murder. Jango shows him impassive expression, but I spoke and said that we all have a contract to bring Gadak Rifleb back to Jabba alive. Before Gadak Rifleb tried to continue, but I interrupt him and says that Jabba never said it had to be the real Gadak Rifleb. Cad Bane and Jango Fett were confused and question him. Adrian says that they will all still get paid and Noon will notice a thing as he will clone Gadak Rifleb perfectly that not even Kimono clones can tell who is the clone and real one. He reveals he has a way to make an absolute perfect clone in every way. The reason why he was so casual about telling Jango Fett and Cad Bane about all this was simple really. They didn't want to lose such a valuable connection with somebody that had not only passed their test earlier, but also beat them and could have killed them both. Not only that, but Adrian had been sharing minor things with them. They would naturally want more if his amazing gear if they could get it for free. There was also another reason why. Adrian had used the passive ability if the Sword of Eden. That passive being leadership, intimidation, charisma, trust and loyalty. He was able to replicate the Sword of Eden's effect onto a ring which he wore. He had all his 10 fingers fitted with rings with unique abilities. However, unless he was able to perfectly recreate the ancient forge used to create ISU Eden artifacts, then they can't be as powerful as the original. His creation ability, just as he had asked the ROB, will only let him create material and ingredients for him. He can make certain fully constructed objects with a creation ability such as computers, certain machines, circuits and objects like TV, cupboards, low-tech structures and so on. The reason why it isn't omnipotent as it may sound, since it had the name of creation ability, is because he was already pushing his wishes as it was. He had found a loophole in the ROB's wishes. The ROB knew this as well but granted Adrian his greedy wish, since Adrian did request for the wish to be weakened or adjusted to a level of power the ROB would allow. Unknown to Adrian, if he never asked the ROB to do this, the ROB would have literally denied his wish for everything on the paper to come true. He can still create a lot of stuff, but he can't make things like entire spaceships, planets, structures like buildings, the Infinity Stones, limitless amounts of materials like Eru or Amazonian metal, or even the Heart of Lorcan. Adrian had actually attempted this. He had tried to create an artificial Heart of Lorcan so that he could use the tools of Kagranak in order to harness the energy from the heart and achieve and become a Chim. Chim means God in Elder Scrolls universe. He wasn't able to conjure the Heart of Lorcan, but he was able to conjure Wraithguard, Sunder and Keening. This had given him an idea for the distant future at the time. And this would be his greatest goal and yet the hardest he would pursue and strive to achieve. Cad Bane complains about what Adrian had said but he tosses both Cad Bane and Jango Fett 1 moleskin pouch worth of credits each one contains 300,000 credits. More than X3 what they are getting for the job. Adrian had used his creation ability to make a moleskin pouch of Harry Potter, and create infinite credits. The only reason he was running a business as his Mr. Hawke persona was to establish connections with various individuals. Not only that but when he becomes a legal business and reveals his identity, he won't be accused of theft. He did this so that he can show proof that he earned all his money from official and proper business transactions to acquire the money. If anyone asks him how he had credits before he made his business, he can just make up the excuse of either family inheritance or he had been given funding for a time to help start up his company and living expenses prior to it. Before the duo bounty hunters can talk, Adrian speaks. He tells them that credits is of no concern to him and he wants a reputation. He won't kill anyone that can be spared like Gadak Rifleb and the Togruta friend captive. They agree to Adrian's deal but tell them if he can't clone him then they will tell Jabba he tricked them and took Gadak Rifleb in his ship and back to Tatooine and during that time Hawke cloned and replaced the real one. Hawke agrees to their conditions. He takes Gadak Rifleb back in his ship. He tells Gadak Rifleb about his plan to one day kill Jabba and all the Hutts and replace them all. He also tells him that he will let him personally kill Jabba and have his revenge. All Adrian asks is if he can wait and live in secrecy until then since he is not handing him to Jabba and Jabba would kill him, then how would he fulfill his revenge? Gadak Rifleb agrees. Adrian also told what happened to Togruta friend captive and he has been spared and set free. He had told Gadak Rifleb to go to the cloning room so that they can proceed with the plan. Kara had taken control of the hologram projectors of the ship so that she can walk around as a sort of blue force ghost and lead the Kophist and astonished man to the cloning room. When Adrian was asking his way back to the ship controls to power it up, he suddenly felt a similar feeling to when he had the aura of Abeloth engulf him. However, this was weaker, but strong nonetheless. He used his boosters to fly up and grabbed onto the ceiling of the corridor of his ship. He felt a follow-up attack, but this time it was a force ability, since he could feel the person trying to break his force wall passive defense. A/NA Force Wall is an ability all living beings with midichlorians possess, regardless if they are a non-force user or is a force user. Look on the wiki since I ain't gonna explain that. You should know it fro. Seeing all the movies and TV shows. Why do you think that force users don't just use a force choke or force grab all the time but instead fight and then use force grab or choke mid-fight? He strengthened his force wall in a similar way to how strong-willed minds can resist force mind tricks. He had to admit that resisting the force grab was far harder than he thought. He was confident he could resist a force grab by Master Fei and Mace Windu. He also thinks he can resist a force grab from Yoda and Sidious for a while, before they could breach his defenses. He flew further down the hallway so he can get a good distance and get to a strategic position to be on equal grounds in the fight. The figure tried to pursue him but couldn't match his speed. Instead they threw their lightsaber at his boosters. It connected and he lost his balance in flight and crashed, but still made it to his destination. His boosters were on of the most vulnerable areas. They were connected to his boots and a few more support thrusters at the point of his shoulder blades. They were small but powerful. He wants to remove the weakness, but he needs some kyber crystals to create a mini field around them. He couldn't make them with his creation ability, so he would have to get it one day from Ilum, since that was the easiest place he could obtain it. He was planning to go to Lothal before, so that he could get the kyber crystals and obtain the portal stone doorway thingy that is used to reach the world between worlds. However, now he had to cancel those plans due to the ones and Abeloth now observing him. Not only that, but the Wills might finally interfere with the affairs of the galaxy. His boosters were rapidly repairing themselves with the Shiva bots. Adrian readied his stance to face the trespasser of his ship. It was a female at a height of 5 feet 7 inches and had 2 long plates, /N also called braids I think, of a azure blue color. Her eyes were a pink-like color. Her appearance and clothing were nothing that a Jedi should be wearing, instead she would be mistaken for a member of a gang. Adrian, she might have been an orphan or a street kid based on her overall looks. Though the quality of the clothes and the fighting stance she has is too perfected. Adrian seized up the girl before her. Her clothing may look like she is some kind of bounty hunter, but the quality of the materials used to make them are far too valuable. If Adrian didn't have his creation ability to make credits and/or credits, then he would never be able to afford even a single string used for it. The girl obviously was £2 £1 Euro Korean £1 Euro Korean £1 Euro Korean $1. Also her lightsaber was made of high-end materials that could rival Sidious lightsabers. However, the living hell she amazed Auk wealth was impossible to fathom unless he figured it out from poking inside her head. Not only that, but her fighting stance she had, shows Adrian that she had a great deal amount of experience. Not only that, but her stance showed utter and complete perfection, something that could only be honed after a great many years, definitely decades if not more. She looked far too young, in fact she looked 22 years old, to have been able to have such perfection and skill in her abilities and the wealth she has. Only one answer popped into his head. She's the changeling force user, Jinx, that was mentioned to be helping Gadak Rifleb. Adrian, who the hell are you to be barging in my ship? Jinx, you kidnapped a Togrutk called Gadak Rifleb. I've come to get him back. Adrian, I know who you are. You were the force changeling girl that was helping him escape Jabba. Jinx, what if I am? It doesn't change why I've come. Well, you are the other reason I'm here. Adrian, don't tell me it was that incident a few hours ago. Jinx, so you know. Adrian, the fuck you mean, so I know? I just got stabbed through the heart by, well, someone very strong. Adrian was still terrified by his encounter with Abeloth that he was afraid she might appear again if he mentioned her name. Even though the father assured him that they were keeping her at bay now, that cannot be guaranteed. He could definitely feel the weight and gazes of multiple beings. The ones and Abeloth were definitely watching him at this moment. The Wills might be too, but he isn't worried about them right now. The Wills are mostly neutral in their actions. They are just observing him for now, which is why he isn't worried. The Wills watch everybody and everything. They or she is omnipresent. The girl Jinx before Adrian was probably strong enough in the Force to be able to see the event. That means this girl is as strong as Sidious, Yoda, Mace Windu, Master Fei and a handful of others. That means he can't hold back against her, although, this could be good practice since he was certain he can overpower her in physical might. Jinx, it's precisely because of that I need you to come with me. I will also be taking Gadak back too. How about it? Adrian, no thanks kid. Jinx, the hell you calling kid? I'm older than you by a lot. Adrian, Okay, not kid. How about aunt or grandma? Maybe even old hag? Who knows with your frail, old, broken bones? Jinx, one of us will be getting broken bones soon enough. I'll ask one more time since I wasn't in a good mood before I come here. Adrian, why were you in a bad mood? Then I'll give you my answer. Jinx, I lost 20 million credits in gambling. Adrian, what the fuck? Why would you gamble 20 million? Sure I have that much too, but seriously. Just how damn rich are you? No wonder you lost all those credits. You were completely senile and had dementia from you old age granny dash. The moment he said granny, Jinx had used the force to recall their light spare which was behind Adrian. He dodged the blade by using a pair of hover boots he made to dash to the left like Iron Man. He hit into the wall due to the desperation of doing such a maneuver in a tight and restricted space. By the time he removed, Along was already in his face while swinging the grey lightsaber at him. Adrian summoned his vibroblade from out of his storage space without delay, even if he had to reveal his hidden ability to someone. He was pissed since now Abeloth and the ones who were watching had learned one of his trump cards. She corned him against the wall with their blades calshing. Adrian did a simple whistle and out of nowhere, a turret popped out of the wall and fired a stunning blast at Jinx. She easily dodged it by backflipping away from their blade clash. Adrian, damn, you're strong. You definitely shouldn't be able to match me in physical strength. And yet, you were able to make me struggle to keep your blade from cutting my neck. I assume you used force enchantment. Didn't you want to take me alive? Why try to kill me now? Jinx. As if you'll die from that. I know I talk to you when you are alive, so that means you don't die here. Adrian, you Jedi and your shitty cheating force visions. Well then, if that's the case, then how about we fight to decide who is the winner? If you beat me, I won't call you any of the nicknames I said earlier and you get to have me do anything 3 times for you. But if I win, you will have to explain everything you know to me, and I get any 3 things for you to do for me and I still get to call you by the nicknames. That sound fair? Jinx, how is this fair if you have home field advantage? Adrian, not my problem, you started this here. I take it that you agree? Wonderful. Okay Granny, let's do this. Jinx. I didn't agree yet. And don't see me Granny. Jinx was now on guard. She couldn't be careless. Out of all her years that she had lived, not once had she encountered someone who had outfitted their ship full of weapons and traps that can be activated with just sounds alone. If it was controlled by his vambrace like it normally is for the things, she could have destroyed or removed it by using the force. But now she had to deal with something new. Just as she was thinking this, the man whistled once more, but this time dozens of weapons appeared out of the floors, walls and ceiling of the corridor that they were in. The man just walked casually towards her as he fiddled with a well-designed weapon. It looked like a blaster pistol, but this one was stranger and different. The last word hand cannon. It had insane fire rate and hip fire accuracy. She assumed he was setting it to non-lethal shots based on the conversation they just had. Adrian, let the games begin. Jinx POV. Shit. What the hell is this monster? How can he be so prepared and have weapons literally everywhere? My frustration was absolute at this moment. I had been running from room to room trying to evade every trap he man has. I had forgotten his name so I'll just call him Jackass. Anyway, Jackass is absolutely nuts. He knows he will have a hard time fighting me in direct close quarters combat. At first I thought I capable easily dominate him in combat. I was completely wrong. 5,000 years. That's how long I have lived for. I kinda lost count if the specific a date since it doesn't really matter much when you're immortal. I had been in many wars and battles. I had explored the galaxy for so long since I left my homeworld of Ration. I was able to live many different lives due to my race's ability of shapeshifting. Our name are a swang, but the rest of the galaxy, or those that know us, call us changelings. Not many know of our race as we guard this secret as much as we can. We can change our bodies to be that of any living thing in the galaxy, so long as we know the physiology and biology of what we want to turn into, we can do it. However, every century or so, we would enter a phase called core shift. It is a cycle in outlives where change our identities and personality. We can even change back to a previous personality or identity we have already used in the past. Although we must always change due to the core shift every century. The personality I have right now is that of rather rebellious and carefree person. I tend to cause chaos and troubles wherever I go just for the fun of it. This is one of my earlier forms I had used in approximately my 400th year of life since I was born. It was a great form for me to have, but due to my personality in this identity I had chosen, I may have overreacted and been the instigator of my current predicament. I was already angry that I lost 20 million credits because some asshole had bumped into me before I could speak and call of the number the ball would land on. Since I didn't speak them, the announcer said all bets were off. I was too late because that asshole bombed me and stopped me from calling out the number. And as it turned out, the ball landed on that very number. I didn't use the Force to see it since I prefer not to use it. Or at least in this identity of Jinx that I have now. I have had many names and many forms over my 5 millennium I have lived. A/N names in later chapter. Over which, I have been many different things. A Jedi Master, a farmer, warrior, bounty hunter, senator, noble, commoner, shopkeeper, merchant, pilot, crafter, engineer, and more. All of which I have accumulated a vast amount of knowledge and experience. That was why I was surprised when I had found Jackass. I had perfected my combat techniques to their greatest. Not only that, but my Force abilities are greater than the 2 current Grandmasters of the Jedi Council. Grandmaster of the Order, Yoda. Grandmaster of the Council, Mace Windu. Not only that, but I was considered rank 6th of the top 10 Force users of my homeworld Rashing. And somehow, thus Jackass is fighting equal grounds with me. The only reason I AHD come here was because 1, he had taken Gadak Rifleb who was wronged and needed justice for his family. And 2, he was the epicenter of an extremely powerful Force event. The most powerful I had felt in my entire life. I used the Force to see what had happened to her on Ord Mantell. It was at a small abandoned run-down building. Inside it was Jackass, with his heart pierced by a naked white-haired woman. My eyes and mind were hurting and in constant pain for every second I looked at her. Oh, couldn't make out her details as the pain I was suffering was too great, and also her face was blurred. Instead I focused on Jackass. I tried to look under his helmet with the first to map and remember the outlines of his face. But all of a sudden, my connection to the place was blocked and cut off. Not just mine but many others who felt and witnessed this event. One thing was for certain, this man, Jackass, had to be found at all costs so that he can be questioned. If he was still alive, that is. Immediately after this I had got a transmission from the ruler of Rashing and rank 1 of all Aswang Force users. I was told to find and question the man, Jackass, about this event. I was told to bring him to Rashing only if the situation could not be dealt with by myself. I took action immediately, although I was still mad about my 20 million credits. Thus I acted like an annoyed, spoiled brat and got irritated by the names he was calling me. Sure, I said I was older than he was. It doesn't mean you have to rub it in. I still have feelings, Jackass. Anyway, back to the present. After my escape from the corridor, I had lured him into a room. I used Force Cloak to conceal myself as best I could. I could use Force Invisibility, but First Cloak was better in this situation since it can help cancel me from his weapons by using the Force to make it seem like my body doesn't exist. He entered the room and shot shurikens from his vambrace at my direction. I was stunned that B could detect me. How did he? That's when I realized something. The helmet he wore had a small reflection of herself on it, but as a black and grey and purple glowing version of her body. He must have ways to detect and country 4 users of my skill and abilities. It wasn't a surprise since Mandalorians and Jedi have hated each other for a long time. I barely dodged the shurikens that came at lightning speeds. It was so fast I had to use Force Enhancement and keep it permanently active just to keep up and avoid his weapons. Not only that, but for me to be strong enough to cash blows with my lightsaber against his. I felt some blood drop down from my arm that was only grazed. I cash Balder with him again. He blocks and parry my swings. I can tell he knows how to fight better than anyone I have ever met. He is even better in combat than SRLF, although he doesn't have nearly as much experience as I do. That gave me an advantage. I was able to overwhelm him little by little. Suddenly I started to feel nauseous and tired. I looked back at my arm and realized that he must have coated his shuriken with poisons and toxins. I don't understand. How did the Force Nit warn me of this? I was only able to stay calm and focused thanks to my thousands of years of experience. A normal person would have panicked and been beaten a long time ago from the surprises that Jackass had. He took advantage of my exhaustion and pushed me against a wall while we were still locked in our bald clash. He whistles again. I try to find out what monstrous trick or trap will appear next from within the ship. Pain. Immense pain erupts all across my body. I scream out loud from the electricity coursing through me. I channel Mire of the Force into my body to increase my resistances and regain my focus. I force push him only by 2 meters. I then throw an large table with the Force at him. Adrian, ha ha ha, everything I have on this ship is bolted down. And that included the table you're trying to throw at me. Jinx. What the hell? How do you KN dash? Adrian, sensors. I have them everywhere for everything. I even know that the table you were using the Force on right now was the singular object in this room that had immense strain applied to it. As for your Force abilities, don't bother finding out. Oh, have a special material called dimeritium plates spread throughout the entire ship. Ha ha ha. This is the best fight I've had. Maybe I'll duel you without the advantage of my ship. Jinx. What was that electricity from that you used on me just now? Adrian. Oh, that. It was a part of the walls. You can blame Moralo Eval for giving me that idea. Maybe I should go to the box. When that happens, things might change from the butterfly effect. Deciding this place was too dangerous. I needed to escape and reach the bathroom of the ship. This guy surely can't have traps there. How wrong she was. I have to treat my injuries when I get to the bathroom. He fires his gun so fast that I'm starting to doubt that it was a pistol. It's more like a Gatling bolster if anything. I deflect and dodge all the shots and was able to use force stasis on him. Fortunately, he wasn't able to resist it and I escaped the room that was probably his personal log area. I run down a series of corridors filled with all manner of traps. It ranged from potion darts, to sleeping gas, electrical nets and turrets, shield rays, ray shield walls, electric walls, ceilings, floors. Everything. This guy had everything. Does he literally think he's going to take on an army of Jedi Masters or something? I should have never antagonized him. At that moment I react just enough to dodge to the side and into the wall. Jinx. A goddamn battering ram. Are you serious? She then could hear an maniacal, echoing laughter. It was then that the ship came alive and spoke. Adrian. Ha ha ha. I see you found good old Sam the Ram. How's this for you? Whistle. At that moment she tensed up, she felt fear. Psi was too harrowing of an experience for her. Jackass wasn't even a force user and he could give her PTSD like this. At the moment he whistled, the wall she was on had opened up. She fell back into what had to be some sort of ventilation system. How can this place be so massive? On the outside it was only as big as a small house, home away ship form, but the inside was as big as a Corvette. She screamed as she fell and expected that she was going to fall into a fit of lava. Knowing this jackass so far, she wouldn't be shocked by it. She had finally crashed on something soft after Ahe had slid left and right on the shaft. She was confused as she expected a hard landing and to break a few bones. She had vomited out her contents onto the floor due to her already building nausea effect from the shurikens. That alongside her extreme tiredness. She saw that the place where she had vomited suddenly had a mouse droid come along to clean the mess she made. She was so paranoid at this point that it was a trap, that she crushed the droid instantly when it appeared. Adrian, how sad. You killed Jerry. Maybe I should call in Tom to get revenge. Jinx. N-O-E. Adrian, what was that? I couldn't hear you. Jinx. No more. As she shouted, the force had transmitted her anger, rage, pain and frustration in a shock-wave effect that should have sent the jackass, should have sent the devil flying and crashing into the wall. But he remained unscathed. If she could think clearly and auto-analyze the situation, she would have noticed that he had activated a gravitational, magnetic effect of his boots and had taken a stance to brace and resist her force wave. Adrian, okay then. Her eyes went wide open as she stared at him like he was a god. Adrian, on one condition. Her heart shattered into a million pieces that she would have to experience this hell all over again. Before she could cry and beg for him to stop, his cold words reached her. Adrian, you choose to fight me. Now it's time you learned your place. A simple battle between us here and now. If you win you can leave and do whatever you want. If I win, Jinx gulped in fear loudly then I get a favor yacht I can use on you in the future, including our previous deal. No tricks, no traps, no technology. Just my vibrabald add your lightsaber skills. How about it? Jinx. Why sis? She vowed she would leave and return to Rashing once this is all over. She will tell 100 of the Aswang's best warriors to capture this devil, as she wants no part of it anymore. She also vowed that she will never fight anybody, especially a bounty hunter on their ship ever again. The two of them got in their stances and readied for battle. She was now frantic as she desperately tried to stay awake from the poisons that were in her body. If she could think logically before the battle she would have asked for an antidote. She stayed purely on the defensive now and stared at him the entire time. It was at that moment that he released a loud demoic-sounding roar that echoed throughout the room. She had quived with terror when she heard that. There was no way such being could make that sound. It can't be a living being. It was evil. It was a monster. It was the devil. The devil charged at her in an instant as he propelled from off the ground and fired at her with speed she couldn't react to. She just did an simple and amateur overhead block. His blade met hers and caused her to fall to one knee. She looked up to block another swing, and another, again. The devil would destroy her defense but not go for the kill. It was weakening her, toying with her. She should be one of the greatest force users to exist in the galaxy at this moment. And yet she was completely overwhelmed from start to finish. She screamed in hysteria as she swung her lights bare at him, almost like a child would with a stick. She was affected by the poisons too much at this point to do any logical action. She vomited and dropped her lightsaber mid-swing. When she recovered she began to cry. She wanted to die a painless death. She saw that she had vomited all over his boots. She felt the tip of the vibroblade touch her chin. It raised slowly and so too did she raise her head. She looked at the figure who had removed his helmet. She was crying rivers at what might happen next. Adrian. There's no need to cry. I won't hurt you now. Since I ready one now. How about you go to sleep, okay? I promise you that all this was just a dream when you wake up, okay? Jinx couldn't respond. She had suffered the most traumatic experience in her entire life. She looked on with hollow and lifeless eyes as she saw the devil that had taken her soul raise its blade horizontally. And then, there was darkness. Adrian POV. For fuck's sake, that was hard. If somebody was to view the fight and not look onto the nods of the ones fighting, then they would be saying, how was that hard? You completely dominated the fight. Wrong. He had to use every trick in the book to bear her. In the first quarter of the fight, she was dominating him. She got the advantage due to her greater speed, agility, dexterity, flexibility, acrobatics, accumulated battle experience and force sensitivity. I was almost knocked out by her 6 times and could have lost the battle as soon as it began. The only reason I was able to stay in the fight was because of all the traps and weapons and defenses I rigged throughout the ship. I have seen enough times where the enemies or heroes sneak onto or into somewhere and are met with barely any defenses, or none at all. He wasn't going to risk it. His ship is his home. He will make it capable of withstanding supernova one day. I had prepared it for the eventuality that Kadi or Sith would sine after me. Anyone who wasn't a Sith Lord or Jedi Master of the highest caliber would not be able to get to his more private and personal places of the ship. Unfortunately for Jinx, that was exactly where she went, which AHD the most defenses on my ship. I was actually holding back since I had only activated non-lethal systems. She even knew and used Shatterpoint on me when she was getting desperate, when I had cornered her at the start of the second quarter of the fight, using 7 sticky traps of a lower-tier version of the goo that Django and Cad Bane had used on him. He had analyzed it and planned on upgrading the sticky traps he had with it when he had time. He had inlaid his ship with dimeritium plates from the Witcher game series universe. He was able to experiment with a force-sensitive baby he encountered on a Tatooine. Just after he had the showdown with a human, while he was in his way to the ship, he had tested dimeritium and learned it not only could cancel or reduce magical abilities, but also force abilities too. Similar to Force Light and Force Dark. He had also used some gases that he had released into the ship. He had locked the exits of the ship so she can't get out. This was Jinx would suffer the effects of his modified Joker gas. This was done so that it could cause Jinx to lose her sanity slowly over time. There would be no damaging effects and would go away once she wakes up. Not only that, but he had used some poisons on his traps and shurikens of his vambraces. During the battle with Maul and Pre Vizsla, he was able to fire his shurikens and graze Maul's cheek with it. That had given Adrian the perfect idea to create something better. Just infuse it with a poison made from Jaren root of the Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim and bam. Whatever gets hit by that is as good as dead. Naturally, he couldn't use that on her and instead used others that would cause nausea and extreme tiredness, by having the poison reach her blood and circulate to the brain. Once that was done, combined with all the other things he used on her and the Joker gas to abuse her extreme paranoia and drive her to the point of fear and eventually madness or insanity. When all that was complete, it was time to end the battle. He wanted to ensure a long-lasting effect on her to make sure she never challenges him again. To do this, he used complete psychological warfare. He made her afraid of him, to view him as a monster. He actually could have used the Bat Nightmare gas that Batman uses in Batman: Arkham Knight after the Nightfall Protocol ending. But if he did that, then he could have caused some serious damage to her in terms of her mental state. At the end, he roared and used his Yotchia technology to manipulate voices to distort his voice to sound like Knight Artorias the Abysswalker's roar from Dark Souls 1 DLC. He amplified it to be a mix between Knight Artorias and Manus, Father of the Abyss. It had worked to break Jinx's last mental barrier. After that he toyed with her by overpowering her defense completely with nothing but single swings. The reason he did psychological warfare was because at the start of the battle, he had been able to headbutt Jinx and make her bleed slightly. When she retreated from the first corridor, Adrian took a sample of her blood to analyze it with his enhanced midichlorian count device. What he saw made him confused, terrified and a whole bunch of emotions. 26,246 midichlorians. The chosen one, Anakin Skywalker, had a midichlorian count of 27,000 to 40,000 plus that was confirmed. Now there was this monster in human skin that appeared out of nowhere and had more midichlorians than Goddam Luke Skywalker. Attain did not know how many midichlorians the weakest if the Force gods had, the Bendu. However, he was certain that the Bendu had at least 30,000 midichlorians. That means this abomination if the Force is less than 4,000 midichlorians short if being as powerful as the Bendu, which is considered a half-god of the living Force. Thanks to Adrian's amassed knowledge of various universes, planning and Batman-level paranoia and preparations, he was able to dominate the fight the very second his Joker gas entered her body. She used Shatterpoint a lot of times, which had caused many if Adrian's bones, armor and ribs to break as a result. Fortunately, he could use a whole range of healing substances to recover from the damage. The pain did not subsidize though. Adrian looked down at the girl he gave extreme case of PTSD to. He ACM easily restore her sanity by putting her inside the Animus. He will also be able to learn her secrets and reason for wanting him to go with her. But first, Adrian took out a strange cube-shaped device and placed it on her body. A few moments later, he removed it and there was now blood trickling from 4 needle dots that were made in the spot he cube was in. This cube was used to extract and analyze DNA samples instantly. After looking over the information sent to his helmet's HUD, he then carried Jinx's unconscious body to the laboratory with her lightsaber. Once there, Hisei Gadak Rifleb was still in the process of being analyzed before cloning. He was completely unconscious. Adrian placed Jinx down on the Nimus and left her there. He strapped her in dimeritium shackles to remove her force abilities from being used. He placed the DNA cube on some machines that came to life. After that he put her lightsaber away in a cylinder-class tube to be analyzed by Kara. Kara also used her multitasking ability to analyze the DNA and synthesize into mutagen, like the ones from The Witcher, for Adrian to use safely. Adrian could make artificial Doppler mutagen, however, that takes much longer than he had thought it would, even with all his knowledge he had. However, the perfect being had appeared before him. A special changeling that has near to no records about their race. Adrian could always ask her or could use the Animus on her to find out anything he needed to. The changeling DNA was something he wanted in order to obtain its shape-shifting properties. Cad Bane had been able to infiltrate the Jedi Temple with the help of a shapeshifter. The ability was just useful in a multitude of ways. As for Jinx, if she dies have PTSD because of him, he can just easily restore her mind using it. Although, he will have Kara do it instead since she was Meyer qualified. Also it was just polite and respectful. Adrian will only poke around in her mind if he has no choice and needs to. After all, treat others the way that you want to be treated. After taking care of Jinx and unfortunate Jerry the mouse droid, he made his way to his cockpit. He readied his systems and as he was about to take off, he could see through his ship's window screen the figures of many Jedi Masters and also the entire Jedi Council. The grand total of them were about 30. He literally has wide eyes as he sees them all looking at him. Past is supposed to be one-way glass. Adrian, well, fuck. Chapter 12. Jedi Council. A/N I'll post the last 4 chapters of this arcade in few days as a multiple chapter release. This is just a little something for you all. Flashback scene. Grandmaster of the Jedi Order, Yoda was currently teaching a Padawan student named Ava Kendra. He and the Jedi Council had seen the immense power and potential of Ava over the years of her diligent training. Ava had been delivered to the Jedi Temple by a large female figure that had glowing green hair and an ethereal aura of the Force around her, hidden under a cloak, but her power had been sensed by many. She was powerful in the Force. More so than any Jedi Master Yoda had ever encountered. Yoda had met her when he was out for a stroll around the Jedi Temple grounds near the entrance of the Jedi Temple. This child is more powerful than you can possibly imagine. She is to be trained to control her power. She is to never be used as a tool for your wars and battles. She is to be free, to make her own destiny, to live her own life. Her name is Ava. That was all the female stranger had said to Yoda, refusing to let him speak and ask Amy questions as she had promptly left as soon as she placed the infant Ava into his arms. The Jedi Council had a meeting about the mysterious stranger, but eventually the topic changed to the girl Ava. A decision was made to train her with the best teachers to ensure that Ava would not fall to the dark side because of her immense power. When they had tried to evaluate her midichlorian count, the machines went haywire and exploded. Fortunately, no one was harmed, but this did indeed make many if the Jedi Council fearful of what she could do if she fell to the dark side. /N There is a Sith altar/shrine beneath the Jedi Temple that causes some emotions of fear and negatively to surface within the Jedi Order, despite being at a holy Jedi place. I explain more about this Sith altar/shrine in later chapters when it is relevant. As Ava grew up, she showed her immense connection to the Force itself in every aspect as if she was the Force incarnate. A/N hint hint. This caused the Jedi Council to believe that she is the chosen one that would bring balance to the Force. She showed she was able to use both dark side abilities and light side abilities in the Force while she remained untouched by either side. She was in perfect control and balance with the Force. She is Nit Jedi. She is not a Sith. She was like the Jedi of old. The Council ensured that this was kept a secret, even to the Chancellor and to all those not of the Jedi Council. Over time, Ava showed an immense aptitude to all fields and topics on anything, from combat, piloting, engineering, meditation, Force, splicing, politics, science and more. Thus, it was decided that she would get the best teachers to teach her in every subject that she could learn. By the age of 14 she had completely mastered all lightsaber forms and everything that the teachers could teach her. Thus, Grandmasters Yoda and Mace Windu had decided to give her some additional personal training by helping her to create her very own lightsaber form. Currently, Yoda was teaching her at one of the train's grounds on the surface. A beautiful tree was near them as Ava was honing her Force abilities to create a Force projection. She had succeeded slightly by being able to create a transparent phantom of herself nearer to Master Yoda. Although it wasn't perfect, but despite that, she had only begun training and learning this ability since 6 days ago. This first power would and should have taken more than 5 years to even be able to use. A/N Force Projection was a power Luke learned from the original Jedi texts. However, I made it so that true Force Masters know of this, when in reality, Luke was the first person to learn it in over 4,000 plus years. Not even Yoda or Sidious knew of this power. But I'm making it so they do, since this is reality and not fiction anymore. The Force Projection phantom was immediately dispelled as Ava suddenly felt a roaring pain through her head and fell to the ground, clutching her skull as if it was going to be torn apart. She let out a cry of pain that released a wave of the Force at Yoda. Yoda was able to resist being thrown back by the unexpected development and wondered what could have caused her great pain. Just as Yoda was going to ask her what happened, he too sensed what might have been the cause of Ava's pain. With his connection to the Force, he traced it toward Mantell and saw, through a Force projection of his, a scene of a female monstrous figure, if what can only be described as Chaos Incarnate, was piercing her hand through the chest of what appears to be an armored Mandalorian merc. Yoda could see through the illusion of the tremendously powerful female monster, but it seemed that the man did not, but he knew full well what stood before him if the fear in his eyes is not evidence enough. Yoda and all the other Force sensitives who had done the same as Yoda to witness this event were confused just as much as he was about why this immensely powerful being would care so much about a non-Force sensitive to kill him. However, suddenly all the ones watching had their projections cancelled and blocked by another powerful being like the monstrous woman. Yoda and the rest of the Jedi Council held an immediate discussion about this and decided to track down the Mandalorian merc that they saw, as he was sensed to still be alive and had a very deep connection to the fate of the Force. They wanted to bring him to the Jedi Temple and question him about what he knows. All the members of the Jedi Council were immediately dispatched, with this taking maximum priority, with many powerful Jedi Masters alongside them. They numbered a total of 30. It may have been much, but if the monstrous woman was still there, then maybe they could buy time to find the man before her and solve this great disturbance in the Force. Ava had been sent to the infirmary as she had begun to whisper and talk in a language not heard of before. A/N English. I made it so it is different to the Republic/Star Wars version of English. By using Force empathy, it was clear that Ava was worrying for something, or someone. They arrived on Ord Mantell and went to the landing hangars as they sensed he was about to leave the planet. They had arrived and saw he was about to prepare his ship systems. They could see him through the one-sided glass, thanks to their abilities in the Force as Jedi Masters of the highest caliber. All of them, of both sides, stared at one another, waiting to see what either side will do. They had a standoff which lasted until he activated the ship and began to take off from the ground so that he could fly away. Make Windu quickly pull the ship to not let him escape. They all were of one mind and agreed. They all took action and reached out with the Force to grip his ship from leaving the planet. Flashback scene end. Chapter 13. Standoff. Adrian, damn it. Did Jinx contact the Jedi to send reinforcements? But I was certain that I ensured no transmissions could be sent from inside my ship, unless it matched my frequency. Whatever, I ain't going to write 30 Jedi now. I had enough for one day. I can beat their ass later when I'm ready. Not wanting to continue the long cowboy staring contest that they were having, he activates the ship systems and starts taking off. All of the Jedi use the Force to stop him from leaving. He could feel an invisible tug and hand grabbing his ship. He could escape from this easily by activating his mass relay hyperdrive engines. But both the Jedi and surrounding populated landing platforms will be destroyed as a result. Not wanting to kill innocents, his ship was being forced to land. Adrian was panicking and decided to fire at them. He activated his rear weaponry to fire at the platforms they were standing on. When he felt the ship break free, he tried flying away, but to be once again caught with the Force. He fired his rear weapons once again at them. He fired his Seeker swarms and concussion missiles to knock them off balance while avoiding causing any casualties amongst the few bystanders he had detected to be nearby, with his system's 3D scan of the area. He felt the ship free again along too at the sound of many explosions. He knew he won't be able to escape unless he fights them temporarily, otherwise the game of tug of war will just repeat itself until he loses, which he will if that happens. He rotates the ship around to face them, all if them were spread out. He activates his speakers and talks to them as his voice echoes throughout the area. Adrian, why are you after me? I have done nothing to warrant you Jedi to pursue me. I am just a bounty hunter. He knew they had come like Jinx had. They had definitely sensed his and Abeloth's meeting through the Force. Yoda, speak with you we wish to. An important matter, to ask questions about, we want to know of. Adrian, ha ha ha. If what you say is true Master Yoda, then why are you trying to capture me? They all know what he said were true, but they had no choice but to act on the spur of the moment. Mace Windu, you will not be harmed. We only wish to talk. Adrian, ha ha ha. I would rather talk you here in the safety of my ship than on the ground with more than 30 Jedi Masters. Additionally, something I might say to you all that you Jedi find as a threat, you will lock me up and judge me as such. He readied his weapons and all the Jedi tense up and ready themselves in their stances and respective forms. Adrian, I will give you a device to communicate with me. I will send it to the Jedi Council via a messenger. All of you Jeffy, leave me alone for now and everyone wins and gets what they want. Plo Koon, this matter is of vital importance, and must be conducted in person, in order to ascertain the truth with the Force. There is a silence for a while. The atmosphere was tense as not even the sound of the engines of Adrian's, still unnamed, ship could be heard due to his stealth drive. After a long silence, it is broken by Adrian as he spoke. Adrian, not even I know why that being, Abeloth, would come to try and kill me. That is all I know and that's the end of it. The rest is personal to me. If you do not accept that answer then he will fight. Yoda and Mace Windu turned to look at one another and if reading Asajithir's thoughts, they came to a silent agreement that this is far too important to not have Adrian go with them to learn the truth and his connection to the being that caused a great disturbance in the Force. Yoda, sorry we are. Mace Windu, we will be taking you with us back to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant to be questioned. Adrian, so be it. Chapter 14. 1 verses 30, no problem. Adrian, so be it. And fires all his weapons at them and a ship versus the 30 Jedi on ground. The battle had begun. He fired his sleeper simulant weaponry to scatter and spread in all sorts of directions to ensure the Jedi couldn't dodge or deflect them, or at least most of them. He used ion pulses to create large shockwaves to throw them off balance. A stun mode of his plasma casters, since he didn't want to kill the Jedi and be hunted down by more than 10,000 Jedi. There is a limit he can handle as of now and he didn't need to fight an army on a daily basis. That would just be an annoyance to his plans than an actual threat. His concussion missile launchers caused an effect like a shockwave. Weapon targeting systems allowed him to track them and home in with his various weaponry, but mainly his non-lethal version of his Seeker Swarms and Sleeper Simulant. Ion cannons can be used since they are meant for other ships and crafts. Complete destruction is met by these weapons of chaos. Seeker Swarm, Mass Effect. It split into multiple energy shots that in on the targets. He had it as a non-lethal version. He also had a Seeker Swarm grenade on him at all times. It acted similar to a whistling bird attachment on any Mandalorian vambraces. Although many don't get this attachment since it is very costly for the ammunition. But that isn't a problem for him and his unlimited ammo wish. Turrets, he had toggled non-lethal mode on his console which replaced the energy elemental bullets with rubber ones. He doesn't want to kill anyone that is innocent. The Jedi are definitely innocent. Well, most of them. He is definitely going to kill Pong Krell though. The Jedi all scattered in every direction trulying to avoid my weaponry. They would block or deflect most of it, but the shockwaves produced by the concussion missiles and the plasma casters made sure they were knocked to their sides. I had Kara operate most of my weapon systems as I specifically targeted Mace Windu and Yoda. I focused on them as I took aim with my tracker beam to catch them off guard. It worked since Windu, who was a bigger target and thus a much easier one, had gotten caught in the beam and was being pulled up towards my ship. I quickly fired a plasma caster directly at him. He blocked with his lightsaber and dispelled the discharge. Yoda seemed to use the Force on the point of my tracker beam that was the origin. He was crushing it with the Force, but was unable to. All he did was cause it to partially deactivate. I fired cables of my ship at Windu attempting to catch him. He slashed at the cables, but was surprised that it did not cut through, or at all. He used Force push to repel them away. Yoda began to run and climb up the cables up towards my ship. I had my cables twist and turn to ensnare him, but it had barely worked due to how nimble he was. Kara, a Jedi is on the rear of your ship trying to force open the hangar bay. Adrian, capture Mace Windu and any human male Jedi of a high midichlorian count and take a blood sample from them. He has a plan for later if everything works out perfectly. If not then he doesn't mind. He always has plan A which he was going to do anyway. This was measly plan B. As for why he wanted their blood specifically, that is for another time as he had just reached the hangar bay. Plo Koon had almost forced the platform open just enough for him to roll in. That's when he got the perfect idea. Adrian, Kara, open the hangar bay door and turn the ship 180 degrees around. Do not let Yoda board my ship. He wasn't worried about fighting Yoda. Although, he does want to avoid it if possible. He can beat Yoda if he actually wanted to, but his main priority was getting the blood. Plo Koon and Adi Gallia along with 2 other Jedi boarded the ship. The duo of unnamed Jedi charged at Adrian with their lightsabers drawn. They naturally didn't want to hurt him and so they tried only to maim him. They had foolishly thought that he was an easy opening since he was a non-Force user. How wrong they were. Adrian took out his Hawkmoon and fired at the 2 with non-lethal shots. They blocked a few shots, but then the effect of the Hawkmoon had activated. He fired 1 shot at one of the Jedi and quickly to the other. These 2 shots were more powerful than before and as a result, it caught the Jedi unaware, causing their grip on their lightsabers to loosen. He then did another double shot but to the head. This had knocked both of them out cold. Adrian, Pathetic. I didn't even have to use my fists. He took out his vibroblade in his right and vibroknife in his left. Adrian, maybe you'll be different. Why did Adrian say fists? It's because he normally uses guns. If the opponent is strong enough, then he will use his blades. But if he has no other choice left, then he will use his fists to beat them into oblivion. He had actually thought that these Jedi could make him go a little serious since he had to fight multiple masters at once. He seemed to have overestimated them. He dashed at the duo of Jedi who had helped Mace Windu onto the platform. As he charged them in an instant, he slashed at Odigalia at her arms. He wanted to maim her to be unable to fight. Mace Windu had climbed aboard and had blocked the swing. He quickly went to press Adrian with a multitude of his Vepid Form 8 style. It seemed he had made Windu mad with his tracker beam move earlier, since he was stronger and faster than he would be. Adrian knew this since he had actually spied on many of the Jedi Order when they went on their assigned missions. He had Kara collect the footage of them since he was curious what they did all the time, additionally during on missions. He watched all this back when he was still on Mandalore, in his spare time when he was bored. Adrian did a backflip to get away from Windu's lightsaber swings, and the unexpected attack from Plo Koon, on his right side. As he backflipped, he had simultaneously throw several flashbangs. It worked on Odigalia, who was about to follow up on Adrian. The result was her being countered and in turn, blinded. He used his biotic stasis imitation to freeze still in place, long enough for him to shot her with his Hawkmoon, rendering her unconscious with a rubber bullet. Thanks to the Hawkmoon's perks of being able to fire rapidly and had an insane draw speed, he dealt with the Jedi Master effortlessly. He had other weaponry for better than the Hawkmoon. But when you are as strong as Adrian Hawke is, you don't need good weapons when you can beat them blindfolded with a spoon. Plo Koon used force push in an attempt to unbalance his footing. Adrian stumbled a few steps and fell to one knee. Plo Koon took advantage of this and leaped at Adrian, lunging with his lightsaber. Mace Windu. It's a trap. Adrian had pretended to be affected by force push. He turned around and grabbed the lightsaber of the spinning and airborne Plo Koon. He had then bashed the face of Plo Koon into the ground. He was careful enough to not damage his face mask, but at the same time knock him out cold. He turned to Mace Windu. He held his vibroblades, ready to duel the Grand Master of the Jedi Council. Jinx POV. Jinx had awoken after what felt like an eternity. She felt that her head was slightly dizzy like mist had entered and then thereafter, left her mind. All she could remember of the recent events was fighting that devil of a Mandalorian. But she felt no fear for some reason, even though in her memories she clearly remembered she was acting hysterically. That had never happened to her in her life. She had more than enough training and discipline to stay calm no matter the circumstances. Then why did she act with fear in the memories? She can't feel any fear when she thinks back on it. She naturally assumed that he had done something to her, through the poison from his shurikens, that had entered her bloodstream. Jinx was half right and half wrong. The Joker gas was what caused her abnormal behavior. It had entered through her lungs. The poison from the shurikens only allowed for intense nausea and tiredness. The emotion of fear had been completely removed from Jinx's memories so that Adrian can talk to her and have a restart to their relationship. Which didn't start well, as you may have realized. Jinx then noticed she was strapped down and restrained in a weird machine. The Animus. Her limbs were bound by a strange metal that seemed to negate her force abilities. She tried to break free, but her efforts were fruitless. When she had seemingly given up, the bonds she had were suddenly unlocked. She wondered why this had happened. Instead of pondering over this, she decided that she had to leave immediately. If she was bound, that meant she was a captive. If the Mandalorian devil learns she had escaped, then she will have no chance against him while inside his ship that was outfitted with all sorts of tops and weaponry. Just as she grabbed her lightsaber and was going to escape down a corridor, she had heard an echoing voice of a female resound in her head. Yinch yinch. She zipped around the room and tried to locate the source of the voice. When she had turned back around to continue her escape, she saw an alien being. It had a strange ivory mask that had a neutral expression on its surface. The alien was levitating only a few feet of the ground. Its feet were exposed and had 2 toes and a heel. The alien being looked at Jinx. For the first time she had felt inferior to such an individual. The only ones that were her superiors in the Force were the ones ranked 1 to 5 of her race. She was 6th rank herself. But she felt as if this individual could end her in a moment's notice. Jinx. Who are you? Her voice betrayed her as she was too focused on the being to pay attention to anything else. She needed to know who this individual is and wants by confronting her. Serenity. I am Serenity. I have freed you of your bindings so that you can help aid he who would end chaos. Jinx. Who is he? Why me? Serenity. He will need you in the future to aid him in his endeavors. Just as he needs you now. You must hurry. Chaos will come for him soon. It wishes to destroy him. You must help him. Every second wasted is precious time gone. Other dangers await the both of you down your journey, but also great achievements in the Force. He is down below, on the surface. He needs allies, ones he can trust. He walks a dark path to achievement his goals. You must ensure he stays on a neutral one. Farewell, Jinx, Starwind. Go now, and may the Force be with you. Jinx didn't know what to make of the encounter, but she knew now that things are far greater than they seem. She has an idea who he might be. Although she didn't like being associated with him so soon, she has little choice. Based on Serenity's words, he isn't such a bad guy and would help the galaxy. She will have to confirm these things for herself when she has a talk with him. That was when she remembered what Serenity had said. She doubted he would be struggling against anyone in the galaxy, other than the being, Abeloth, that had almost killed him. Nonetheless, she went to his aid. And the wills are made up of 5 emotions. The leader is Serenity. You may recognize her as the one who had tested Yoda in order to teach him to become a Force ghost in the Clone Wars series. There used to be a singular entity who was a shaman, but one day she learned how to become a Force ghost and as such, you know the rest. She, or they, are also known as the Force priestesses. Adrian had fought an amazing battle. He even had to use his fists. He had pinched Mace Windu in the face at one point in their duel when he had 16 Jedi as his reinforcements help him on the ship, once they boarded. Adrian could handle 29 Jedi, but if he had to fight both Yoda or Mace Windu, then it would be a problem. He can easily beat any one of them in a 1 versus 1 battle, but the both of them will cause him a little trouble for a time. This situation was different. He had finally achieved his objective to obtain Mace Windu's blood from the Pook he dealt. As to why he needed the blood. He needed the blood of a highly Force-sensitive human being since he himself was a human. Why? Because he was going to analyze the midichlorians in the blood of a very powerful Jedi of the same species, so that he can create and inject in himself an artificial version of midichlorian blood to become a Force user. This was his Plan C of becoming a Force user. Plan A was something he very much wanted to do. It was easier and far more effective. Plan B was with the tools of Kagranak he has. He will only do this plan as a last resort, although it may be possible at one point in particular. The Mortis Arc. He would need to wait until he goes to either Mortis or Abeloth's prison world/original homeworld of the ones that was located in the Maw. This was the most dangerous plan due to Abeloth protecting what he wanted. The other option was to kill the ones and do something special one he did. This is also difficult to accomplish, but not as impossible as confronting Abeloth. At least for now. Plan C was simple, but had a low success rate, even without his knowledge. It didn't matter much as he could just create his own Jedi clone army. Just like how Darth Vader made clones of Galen Marek, aka Starkiller. Yoda, surrender now you must. Surrounded you are. Just as he was going to retort back with his own words, along with a superior blizzard, he heard the voice of someone unexpected. Jinx. Come on. Jump. At that moment he felt his mind go hazy. In the next moment he saw himself in a place he thought would be impossible to get to unless he was a Force user. This was the Wellspring of Life, also known simply as the Force Planet, was one of many such nexuses of power that manifested in the depths of the galaxy. The Wellspring was powerful in the light side of the Force and was speculated to be the source of all life. It was not marked on any star map and had no official name. The planet was surrounded by a bright nebula. Upon reaching the surface, it appeared barren, save for luminescent geysers that released energy from inside the planet. Below the surface, however, were floating islands that were covered in plant life and immersed in the Force. He appeared before one entity he knew with absolute certainty. He wasn't afraid of this being, as he knew full well that he would not be harmed unless he does something far worse than Sidious did. If he threatened a life in the galaxy, then this being would take action. Thus, he had instantly concluded with his accelerated thought process that they must have had a Force vision about him and wished to tell him about it or something along those lines. Yes, I did say, they. Right now Adrian could only see one person, but he knew that 4 others was inside this person or entity. He was kind of happy that he was being talked to by such a being, since he knew full well they wished to aid him. Otherwise he would be dead by now. Before him was the Wills. Or more accurately, the leader/representative known as Serenity. Adrian, so what you want with me? I got things to do, so can we hurry this along? I don't want to talk to the others, thank you. Just you I want to speak with, is that okay, Serenity? Serenity. So you know of us? We have not told any one of us for a very, very long time. Adrian, don't worry about it. Tot isn't important, is it? So can we get to it? I got things to do and prepare. Serenity, indeed you do, but you walk a dark path. Why do you wish to ISE the dark side of the Force to achieve your goals? Surely there are other methods. Adrian, I need it as the power source. It had no other that I am aware of. The light side of the Force can't do it, but the dark side can. Unless you wish to help me by providing an alternative to it? Serenity, we do not agree with your choice, but neither will we interfere. Trust in the girl Jinx. She will be your ally to help you in the things to come. As for the alternative, go to the Jedi Temple on Lothal when you can. We will protect you for a time, but not indefinitely, as we remain neutral in the Force. For we are both light and dark and cannot lean to one side. Balance is our way. Chaos will soon come after you again. At least Yaun will be protected by us until you have done what is needed on Lothal. There is something there as well, from us, waiting for you there. Maybe it might change your mind of using the dark side. May the Force be with you, Adrian Hawke. With that, he had felt his hazziness fade away almost as quickly as it had came. He found himself surrounded by the Jedi once again. Jinx. Come on. Jump. Having returned back to the same moment the Wills had taken him from, he immediately acted as if time had not just stopped for everyone apart from himself. He immediately jumped and did not resist the Force, as he felt the only person it could be, Jinx, use Force grab on him. He was lifted up high at very fast speeds and landed on his hangar bay door, which was still open. Beside him was Jinx. Adrian. Yo. How's your sleep been? Jinx. Terrible. No thanks to you. Let's get going, we can talk later. Whether it was good timing, good luck, or the will of the Force. But rigged at that moment, the Ord Mantell City spaceships arrived and tried attacking all those on site, including Adrian's ship. Adrian finally had the chance to flee in the ensuing chaos. The Jedi knew if they stopped his ship from leaving with the Force, he would die by the Black Sun's ships. And so they had no choice but to let him escape. The Jedi quickly retreated to their own crafts in order to leave. This wasn't true, but a thought that was forcibly placed in their minds by the very being who had spoken to Adrian moments ago, the Wills. The Jedi did not pursue Adrian since they saw the speed of his ship, and he would be long gone before they could even attempt to take off in their ships. Chapter 15. First job finished, what's next? It had been 2 hours since Adrian and Jinx escaped from the Jedi on Ord Mantell. The atmosphere between the two was both awkward and weird. It had been a whole hour since they entered the room and sat apart from each other. Neither wanted to start the conversation for their own reasons. Adrian, because he didn't know how he should start the conversation with someone he used the Joker gas on to beat. Out of everyone he thought he can beat in a 1 versus 1. Jinx had made him doubt himself, but when he saw her absurd midichlorian count of 26,246, he had chosen to go all out. Even then he had some difficulty dealing with someone Todd is almost as powerful or the equal to the Bendu. Not only that, but Serenity of the Wills had told him to trust Jinx as his ally. Jinx, because she had been told by Serenity that Adrian is involved in the fate of the galaxy. She had her fear of him removed by that device she was hooked up to, the Animus, but she still remembered what happened. She was wary of him. And yet she knew he did not mean bad intent based on his emotions that she could sense and remember from their previous battle. As if growing tired of this staring contest, Kara spoke up through ship speakers as she still piloted the ship to Tatooine. Kara, how long is this going to continue? Just have a fresh start. The two of you are making my circuits go haywire. Adrian, then don't watch us. Kara, are you? Adrian, that's what I thought. Jinx, is she your AI? Adrian was a little surprised that she had finally spoken to him. He was sure Todd he must still hate him for all the insanity he had put her through. Adrian had ensured not even Yoda, Mace Windu, Darth Sidious, Darth Maul, Count Dooku and General Grievous combined could survive his ship's inner defenses. And yet Jinx had made it near the reactor room KF his ship. That's why he activated the pitfall to cause her to plummet down into his training room to have a 1 versus 1 against and end the battle. Adrian, yes she is. Though not a obedient one. Maybe I should put a restraining bolt on her. Kara, don't you dare. Adrian, anyway, let's start over. I know your name already since I learned about it before I met you. But I never introduced my name, did I? I am Adrian Hawke. Though, I go by the alias of Zer-Zero. Yinch, Yam Yinch. I have been called a lot of names in my past, but that one is the one I've chosen. For now. Though I have been called Starwind as well. Adrian. Pleasure. Now, how about we talk about why you came here originally? You said you came to me to get Gadak Rifleb and about me? Jinx. Yes. Gadak Rifleb was wronged by Jabba the Hutt. He deserves justice for his family. Not just his but to all the people that Jabba and the Hutts have wronged. Adrian, you don't need to worry about him. I won't hand him over to Jabba. Instead I will be delivering an perfect clone of Gadak so that Jabba never finds out. I will then send the real Gadak Rifleb to a different planet with a new identity and face so that Jabba won't learn that he is still alive. As for Jabba and the Hutts, I will take care of them. Leave it to me and I will eliminate every Hutt without there being a war over the right to claim Hutt space or their respective worlds. Jinx was a bit surprised, though she failed to mask her heartbeat from Adrian's sensors in his helmet. Jinx, you're insane if you think something like that is easy. Do you have any idea just how long the Hutts have ruled over Hutt space? Adrian, that is irrelevant. I will soon replace all the huts. I have already made pre-orations for it. In fact, I have already sent in my agents, /N Kara controlling multiple Terminator T-3000 bodies with phase shift, infiltrate and ensure that things go smoothly so that they can gain enough power and reputation to replace the huts with safe succession of power. Then they will give it to me, while they rule and manage hit space when I'm not there or when I don't want to do tedious things. Jinx. Why are you telling me all this? I'm a stranger to you. I even fought you. Adrian, why did you come back to help me escape from the Jedi? I would have been perfectly fine escaping on my own, yet you helped me? Jinx, I received a Force vision of you. Adrian, you're lying. I can read your heartbeat. Jinx. ***fine. Someone called Serenity told me to trust you and to help you in your future endeavors. Adrian, she told me that you would help me and about other things. Jinx. What? Whatever. I shouldn't be surprised nor should I doubt that you spoke to her too. Anyway, what are your plans for the future? I need to know if I should help you myself. Please. Adrian, please. Jinx. You could easily lie to me. Adrian, can't you use Force empathy to see if I'm telling the truth? Jinx. You know a great deal about the Force. As expected of a Mandalorian like you. I use Force empathy. But for some reason a powerful barrier surrounds you. Others won't be able to sense it unless they try to breach it personally. Adrian found her answer interesting. He instantly came to the conclusion that the Wills made that barrier to surround him and protect him, for a certain amount of time. Long enough to get the gateway on Lothal for the world between worlds. Adrian, okay then. I'll tell you. I intend to unify all of Mandalore under my rule. Eliminate the Sith once and for all. Conquer all of Hutt space without causing a territorial war, which I'm already doing. Form my own clan. Create an army large enough to protect the galaxy and conquer it and establish permanent galactic peace. Ensure the galaxy is strong enough to battle the Yuuzhan Vong and eliminate them. Conquer neighboring galaxies to ensure that ours is the center if it and becomes into not just a galactic empire, but a universal empire large enough to ensure that any outer galaxy threats in the universe never attempt to invade ours ever again. Make it into an eternal and peaceful empire that can rule itself even if one leader dies, free of corruption. Reform the Jedi Order to become something greater than the Jedi Order ever was meant to be, thereafter a few others, but that's the main ones as of now I plan to achieve in the long run. Oh, and get myself a wife at one point. You don't happen to be married, are you? Jinx was stunned by everything he had said. She was absolutely speechless as she heard the ambitions of the person she had fought before and called a jackass and devil. She was wrong about that. Well, until his last statement which made her flip and think that he is a jackass still. Jinx. What the hell are you saying? Adrian, Jesh, learn to take a joke. Now that's dome and over with. What do you think? Will you help me in accomplishing all of this or not? Jinx seemed to ponder for a few moments. She had to agree with what he said, and all his plans and the intentions behind them were for the greater good and pure of heart. But what Serenity had said about Adrian losing his way and going down a dark path. She had to stay by his side to ensure he doesn't become a mass murderer and wild warlord and tyrant as many Mandalorians have done in the past. Serenity also said there will be dangers and that the two of them would accomplish great achievements. What Adrian had said. If even one of them came true, it would be an amazing achievement for the entire galaxy. She had seen what the Jedi Order had become on her long life. She had gone through many core shifts to become a Jedi many times as she had believed taught the Jedi were doing the right things. But in the recent centuries she had doubts about the Jedi. And so she chose to use little to no Force abilities in her current core shift. If what Adrian said was true and he would reform the Jedi Order and to create a new one in its place into what the Jedi originally were. That would be terrific. It would be everything she had hoped for. It was something she would want to see. But she had to ensure that someone as dangerous as Adrian would not tread upon this dark path, and would travel a neutral path, like Serenity had said, a good path. And so it was that she made her decision. Jinx, I will join you, Adrian Hawke. I am your ally from this day forth until you your goals. But now that should you begin to diverge from your path, I will be there to ensure you go back on track. Adrian was satisfied with her words and condition. He reached out his hand for her to grab, which she did. Adrian, then we are allies from this day forth. Kara. And kiss. Adrian pulled out his ace of spades with his left hand, while his right still held Jinx's, and he proceeded to shot every single camera in the room. There was a total of 23, including the sensors he had also shot. Now Kara cannot see anything in the room, even with echolocation. Kara, no. My ship. Adrian, what the hell do you mean, my ship? I was the one who made everything. And it's my ship. Besides, that's what you get for ruining the moment. Don't think I don't know that you spy on me wherever I am. Even the damn toilets and bath. You perverted AI. Kara, why you dash? Jinx had removed his hand from her and Adrian's firm hold. She had begun to giggle at the ridiculous behavior if the person who would make the galaxy a greater place, argue with the AI with a perverted hobby. Adrian had finally reached Tatooine to hand over a Gadak Rifleb clone to Jabba and to end this hell of a first job he had received. Too much has happened in the span of a few days. Thankfully, now things can calm down for a while. The clone had only taken him one whole day to make. He had reached Tatooine in 6.5 hours, so he had to wait for 17.5 hours for the clone to be done. As expected, Jabba killed Gadak Rifleb, clone. Soon after that he met with Jango and Cad Bane and are paid. They hand credits to Hawke since he had already given them the moleskin pouch worth of credits back on Ord Mantell. They bid farewell and said they will see each other on a future job possibly. Hawke leaves Tatooine. He went to drop off the real Gadak Rifleb elsewhere with enough credits to rebuild his life. The real Gadak Rifleb was sent with a new identity and plastic surgery to his face. This was all done in Adrian's laboratory. Adrian decides to do something absolutely crazy and stupid and plans to go to Dathomir soon. He wanted to do this because he remembered some important secret lore about the Jedi Temple. 6,000 years ago during the Sith Empire's reign, the Sith Order made a Sith altar/shrine on the planet Coruscant. When the Sith were defeated by Jedi, the Jedi had decided to create the Jedi Temple on two of the Sith altar/shrine in order to cleanse the dark energy of the Sith altar/shrine. Eventually, Palpatine discovered the Sith altar/shrine and used its connection to the dark side and its dark energies to cloud the minds of the Jedi in order to remain hidden and feed of its power, making him more powerful in the process. Adrian wants to destroy the Sith altar/shrine so that Palpatine is weakened and can cause Palpatine to not be as bold in his plans as before. He also has many plans to get stronger. But some of the things he had like Marvel magic and Chi and DC Universe magic was something he can't obtain. /n I will give explanation on Speed Force and Omega effect and anti-life equation at another time, so don't bug me about it. Adrian could not use magic or Chi. Despite his immense knowledge from his overpowered loophole of a wish he made, he could not use the magic of DC or Marvel nor the Chi of Marvel. Why? Because they are sources of their respective universe. What is a source? A source is the essential concept of force that exists in the universe it presides over. For example, the High Father is the embodiment of all things good in the DC universe. Darkseid is the opposite of the High Father. Darkseid had killed the High Father permanently and replaced him. Why do you think villains always survive or escape in the DC universe? It's because evil has won and will always win. So long as Darkseid, evil incarnate, rules the DC universe, then evil will always return no matter if every villain and world peace is established. Marvel Chi. Chi or Chi is the bioelectric energy that surrounds all life forms. Some people have been able to train themselves to enhance their minds and bodies. It can also be used to heal themselves and others. Many martial artists have some level of skill in Chi manipulation and can use it to accomplish fantastic and extraordinary feats. Such feats include being able to halt or reverse one's aging by decades, heal one's entire body from a single living piece of flesh, shutter the landscape, or overcome foes stronger than oneself. Chi is a source that exists only in the Marvel Universe. Since Adrian had wished for Marvel Universe knowledge, he discovered why Chi exists in Marvel and not Star Wars. It is because of the Soul and Power Infinity Stones. The Power Stone basically amplified the Soul Stone to create Chi in the universe. Imagine that Chi is midichlorians. Chi exists as bioelectricity in all living things in Marvel. But in order to use Chi you must have a physical body and must be a living being. Chi is actually a part of the soul since when the soul leaves the body, bioelectricity is no longer produced in the body, and thus no Chi is made. Marvel Magic. Magic is the practice of utilizing certain universal energies and extra-dimensional forces whose nature is beyond the scope of the technologically oriented science of all known sentient races. Using spells and phrases it is often used to simulate other powers, such as reality warping, mind control and elemental attacks. It has been explained that magic exists as a result of the fifth cosmos, the fifth version of eternity that presided over the fifth version of the multiverse. It was the fifth that wove magic into the fabric of reality which would then be carried over into future versions of the multiverse. Eternity is one of the gods of the Marvel Universe. He made it solely for the Marvel multiverse. It does not exist in the Star Wars universe since eternity doesn't exist in the Star Wars universe and thus can't make Marvel magic here. That is why Marvel magic is impossible to use. He still has the knowledge of it. Just he can't actually use it since it doesn't exist in any form in the Star Wars universe. The Web of Fate magic that is for all Spider-Man versions is unfortunately not available to Adrian. It's the same as before. The Web of Fate is the essential force and source that exists only in the Marvel multiverse. The Spidey Sense also is a form of Web of Fate magic, but he discovered that his Spicy Sense was using the 7499 midichlorians in his body as the source. DC Magic. It is a natural and primal source/force able to influence events and beings without recourse to the physical world. He can't use it either since it is a part of the DC universe's primal source and force. Something interesting you may not know is DC and Marvel 8 actually a part of the same multiverse. Shocker. I know. There have been many crossovers with DC and Marvel many times, so one is absolutely the other and is connected to the other. I could explain more of why using magics, chi, supernatural powers and forces of the various universes ain't impossible while in the TQR Wars universe. But I won't, as I've gotten my point across. You may have noticed I didn't say anything about the Witcher universe magic. Actually, still can't use magic of either the witches or the witchers. Reason for that is a boot obvious for those that know how magic existed in that world. If you did not know, then it is a result of the conjunction of the spheres event. The Witcher mutations, however, can be used, but not the Witcher signs. I cannot even use Ard or Igni, which are the easiest ones to use of the Witcher magics. I can use Witcher mutations. Since I know the biology of every race of all the universes I wish the knowledge for, I can create artificial DNA and the Elder Blood. The Elder Blood gene is very powerful. Not only that, but it was a magic source. That was why as soon as Adrian deals with Shmi, Anakin and Ahsoka, he is going to create the Elder Blood gene. Not only that, but the DNA sample he had gotten from Jinx while she was unconscious is exceedingly special. Based on the simulations he had run of it merging with his DNA, it will grant him minor shapeshifting potential. But to what degree he could not tell. Just that he will gain minor shapeshifting, key word being minor. It's still better than nothing after all. Maybe he can shapeshift and manipulate the muscles in his body in certain ways that can enhance his capabilities even further. The DNA obtained from Jinx had now been created into a mutagen, his first ever, but he wanted to wait for now as he had very good reason for this and for not injecting the Elder Blood gene once he creates it. Instead he will keep them for the time being. Why? That explanation is for another time. But first, he should go and visit Shmi Skywalker and little Anakin Skywalker on Tatooine. In 41 BBY, Anakin was born to the virgin Shmi Skywalker. In 38 BBY, Gardulla Besaidii the Elder loses her slaves Anakin and Shmi Skywalker in a bet to the junk dealer Watto. In 36 BBY, the current year which is about to end, Ahsoka Tano is born on Shirley. And then 2 years later in 34 BBY, Plo Koon would then take Ahsoka to the Jedi Order. Adrian didn't want any of this to happen. So instead he had traveled to Shirley to take Ahsoka as his adoptive daughter and as the first member, other than Jinx, of his new Jedi Order. He won't kidnap children like the Jedi, but Ahsoka's parents were terrible if they just let the Jedi take her away. Why would he allow a child be given and tricked by Jedi to become nothing more than their foot soilders? If it was Adrian's child, he would fight the entire Jedi Order and the galaxy to protect his son or daughter. Only if they made the choice willingly would he allow them to leave, exactly like Anakin did. Even what Kagan did was twisted and evil. He chose to free Anakin alone so he could have a chance of winning him over to join his cult of baby-stealing Jedi, but left his mother to suffer in captivity and alone. Which, not to mention, also led to her inevitable demise. When he goes to Shmi, he will free both Shmi and Anakin. She always had her son's best interests and happiness above her own. But Ahsoka's patents just threw her away to the Jedi. He could care less what her parents had to say as he just used a mini-men in black memory erasing flashy stick on them. It took him 3 years to make the MIB memory erasing stick, since he didn't ask for the men in black. Universe knowledge. He was surprised that no other universe had made a similar sort of technology out of his immense knowledge he wished for. Well, they did. But it was on a larger scale since they mainly focused on ships or weaponry or day-to-day things than a memory flashy stick. He had mind-wiped as many people he could about Ahsoka's existence as he could and left Shirley with a now baby Ahsoka Tano in tow. He fortunately had the medical bot also have the programming and knowledge of how to raise children. He had transferred all the knowledge he himself had and put it into every droid he had created. The medical droid was just as dangerous as Grievous since it was made out of adamantium. If he could, he would love to have everything he had be made of Eru metal. He planned to make Eru metal in the future, but that was for later. It was time for him to meet and free a 5-year-old Anakin and Shmi from Watto on Tatooine. Even if Nakin rejects his offer to join his new Jedi Order, which he will eventually rename, once he turns 14, he would still care for them so they can't be used as puppets of either the Jeffy or Sidious. He had landed on Tatooine and made his way to Watto's shop. As he stepped in he saw an innocent and sweet young boy, the very person who would one day, or would have, become Darth Vader. Anakin. Hello, Mom. Someone's here. A few moments later a woman in rags had appeared from around the corner. Shmi. Greetings, sir. Is there something you're here for? Adrian. Yes. I am here to free both you and your son from captivity. Show me to Watto so I can buy you from him and set you two free. It had taken Shmi a few moments to realize the implications of his words. Her son, however, didn't need to take that long as he immediately began jumping around celebrating. Adrian. If Watto was here he would have come by now to scold and punish them for making a ruckus. Shmi was on the verge of tears but she pulled herself together and quickly stopped her hyperactive son. Shmi, I'm sorry, but your jokes are not appreciated, sir. Now if there isn't anything taught you are buying, Bin, can you please leave? Adrian, it is no joke. But since Watto hasn't come yet to punish your son yet, he mustn't be here at the moment. Adrian had walked past Shmi, ignoring her words, as he pulled out his skeleton key and saw through his HUD the location of the safe. Using his X-ray vision of his helmet, he discovered the safe behind the counter and in a well hidden are on the ground where a rat's hole would be in a wall. He used the skeleton key to unseal and unlock the safe. The safe opened and he took the detonator and left everything as it was. In the future, Kagan will come for the Nubian generator from Watto. It's better that Adrian doesn't do anything to cause his business to fail. He used the detonator to deactivate the bomb implants in their necks and destroyed the detonator thereafter. He could have had Kara use phase shift to do all this, but he needed to be safe. It never hurts to do it the original way when he can. After that he turned to a shocked and stiffened Shmi and Anakin and said, "Adrian, from this day on, the two of you are free of slavery." It was then that Shmi couldn't hold in her tears anymore and fell to her knees and broke down crying as she took her now freed son in a tight embrace. Chapter 16, Heart of the Wills. Abeloth POV. Original homeworld of the Ones. Within the Maw. I'll kill him. I'll kill him. Kill. 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 He took everything from me. That filthy mortal that can't even use the Force. I'll tear his heart out. I had never known such happiness, with the betrayal of my once so-called family. All I ever wanted was to help them. It has been almost 100,000 years since I had been born and my imprisonment here. I was nothing more than a mortal woman, a human. I can't remember much of who I was when I was a human, but what I do remember was that I was once a servant of 3 celestial beings called the Father, the Son, and the Daughter. As time passed, so too did I age and my relationship with the family of Force gods evolve. They had all come to see and accept me as if I was one of them. I became the mother. It was happy back then. But all things don't last. The son? No. My son and daughter were opposites and would inevitably cause conflict with each other. It was who they were. The son was the pure embodiment of the dark side of the Force and would strive to cause conflict and chaos, while the daughter was the pure embodiment of the light side of the Force and would strive to bring peace and harmony. The father was the pure embodiment of the Force. He was the middle ground, the balance of if the Force. He had once said to her that there was a weaker being that represented the balance of the Force, called the Bendu. It had pained me to see them fight, my family fight. They would always listen to me when I begged them to stop their fighting. But the conflict would return time and time thereafter. Their conflict and need to fight each other was a part of who they were and always would be. As time passed, I realized that my body was getting weaker. I looked to see in the river of the planet, and saw my once ashen white hair had some gray hairs mixed inside. Not only that but my face and skin had wrinkles all over. I was aging, I was dying. Later that day when I went to my family, I had seen that they had not changed from their eternally youthful state. I would die, and they would live on. Who will stop them from hurting themselves once I was gone? The father does stop them, but he would still hurt them by making them submit to him by him using the Force on them. I didn't want this. I wanted words to solve problems, my words. My son and daughter never listened to the father's words, but they always did mine. I knew that if I died then my family would hurt each other once more. I could not bear to see that happen any longer. I love them and I want them to live happy, as they once were, during the times that they did not argue of battle one another. A family like any other, a happy one. That was why I had gone to the 2 places I knew could help me to stay with them forever, and stop them from fighting ever again. The font of power, which the son drank from to obtain his power of the dark side if the Force. And just as he did, so too did I. The pool of knowledge, which the daughter had bathed in to obtain her power of the light side of the Force. And just as she did, so too did I. But something changed, something went wrong, but I did not notice it, nor did I care. That was when I had obtained power beyond anything in the galaxy. No one could stop me. I am immortal. I am the beloved queen of the stars. I am the bringer of chaos. I am Abeloth. I had then realized something, a sudden revelation bestowed onto me. To stop my family from harming themselves in the future, I must stop them once and for all. By killing them and then, no more will they fight. But when I had gone to them at out once called home, I discovered it was abandoned. I soon found out that they abandoned me here on this jungle planet. I was enraged. I had done this for them and this is what they do to me. They betray me and abandon me here all alone. So what if I had done something that was forbidden? I had done it all for them. I was still new in my newfound power and knowledge, but I was quickly learning. Soon I would be able to leave this world and pursue them without the need for a ship. But I was too late. They had created a device with the help of a race called the Kilix to create a machine that could move practically anything across the galaxy and maintain them. They had moved 5 black holes to surround the world I was trapped on, the home we all had once lived on. And so my imprisonment began. I managed to escape my prison whenever the current of the Force was altered and the flow of time changed. Each time I escaped, the son and the daughter would return to the Killiks and defeat me in a joint effort. If they could not, then the father would come as well, but he rarely needed to, thus I was locked back in my seemingly eternal prison. This cycle repeated itself for thousands of years. I had grown furious. At one point I had the thought of destroying the planet I was standing on, which would be effortless for me to do. The mortal races of the galaxy had created many weapons that they call planet killers/destroyers. They claim they were unstoppable because they can destroy a single world with a weapon. I can destroy a world by myself, 100 worlds, 1,000. All would be easy with a swipe of my hand. The only reason I would choose not to if I ever do escape is because I had changed. My sole reason now was to bring mayhem and chaos to this galaxy. I would not be able to do that if all its inhabitants were dead before it even happens. I thought that if I did as what I am now, to be the bringer of chaos and actually bring chaos, that I may reclaim my lost joy. But one day it happened. The Force must have pitied me and had given me a gift, a miracle. My everything, my beloved, my star. I was overjoyed when I looked at my everything, my star. I had found true happiness. I would no longer seek to destroy the galaxy. But now when I escape, I will conquer it so I can give it to my star. But it was not meant to be. The father, the son and the daughter had all come to confront me. We had battled, but I was too afraid at hurting my star. And so, it was taken from me. I had fell into great despair and sadness. I wanted my star back. And any who would take it from me or harms my star will die. Time had passed, I would look at my beloved star. My child. My daughter Ava. She was taken by the daughter to the Jedi Temple to be raised and taught by them in the ways of the Force. How dare those mortal Jedi raise my child? I should be the one raising her, clean her, feed her and watch her grow as I teach her. But what was strange to me was how my child behaved. Sometimes she would have strange dreams and mutter names like Earth, Gwen, Star Wars, and Adrian. I looked deep into the Force with my immense connection to both the light side and dark side of the Force. Even though I was imprisoned here, I could still see what was happening thanks to the Force. I searched for any indication or like to the name she had said. When I looked for Earth, it showed a lowly and primitive planet with such low quality of technology. I paid it no mind and ignored it. When I searched for any connection to the name Gwen, all it showed me was my darling little Ava. When I did the same with Star Wars, what I found had confused me. It just showed me the galaxy itself. I didn't know what to make of this and ignored it as well. But the last one, Adrian. It turned out it was a man from the planet Mandalore. He was outfitted, in what I had to admit out of everything I have seen in 100,000 years, the most amazing set of armor, weaponry and technology to ever exist. He was currently fighting two men inside a wooden building on Ord Mantell. I looked deep into the Force, trying to figure out why and how my Ava knew his name and said it in her dreams. What I saw had enraged me to no end. My senses were clouded and I no longer had any other thought. I used every ounce of my power to break free from the Maw for only a few moments in order to make a Force projection of myself before the man to kill him. He was alone right now. The man who was known as Adrian was on guard. He sensed me. That is impressive. But not good enough since he will perish by my hands and nothing can save him from me. He had noticed me. I had concealed my monstrous appearance with my original human one. The man must have seen through my first concealment, or did he? He clearly recognized my power and possibly even who I was. It would make sense given the Force vision I had of him and my Ava. That had returned me to what I wanted to do. I used Force stasis on him to prevent his pitiful attempt at escaping from me. I approached him and pierced my hand through his chest and his heart as well. Whatever his armor was made of was powerful and very durable. My real body wouldn't be able to destroy it. But my Force projection can, which I did to kill him. He had an extraordinary amount of vitality and endurance since he did not die instantly. I will watch him die to have my revenge for what he will do to my precious Ava. But once again, the ones had arrived to stop me. After a brief confrontation and discussion, they had dispelled my Force projection and I found that they had personally created and are maintaining a barrier around my prison world. It will not protect him forever. Why kill him? I will watch him. Adrian. I will remember his name as I inflict the most painful death onto him. He had dared to cross paths with my Ava. And for that he will die. This is my promise. This will be my revenge. Adrian POV. After freeing Shmi and Ankane, I had thrown some thousands of nuggets, currency on Tatooine, into the safe and left a night for Watto to reimburse him for the loss of his slaves. I had no idea how this could affect his business, but I wasn't going to risk it. Kagan had to take Padme back to Coruscant so that she can put forth her plea to the Senate so that Palpatine can become the Supreme Chancellor. I had no idea what was Sidious's plan B in case he doesn't get elected. I'm not risking it. Sure, I can absolutely crush his plans and armies when the Clone Wars starts, but I could cause a butterfly effect and cause an even greater loss of life in the process. There was nothing I can do. I ain't removed the organic control chips inside if the clone army, since the Kamino cloners would notice it missing and just put it back in. I can't stop the production of the clone army since if there isn't any army for the Republic, then how are they going to combat the droid facilities all over the galaxy on numerous worlds? I could go locate them, but I also need to destroy them and prepare all my other plans on top of that. I am spread too thin. Sure, I have Cara and Jinx as my allies now. Anakin and Ahsoka are still too young, besides. I will ask them when they are 14 if they want to join my new Jedi Order. I ain't ask them when they are 10 since they won't truly understand the gravity of the choice I am offering them. The Jedi Council, more specifically Qui-Gon Jinn, had taken advantage of Anakin's young age to trick him with this choice at an age where all he thought was, I'm a Jedi so flashy sword this and that. He might ask Ahsoka when she is 11 or 12 however, since the Clone Wars will start when she is 14 and at the time Order 66 happens she was 17. Back to Palpatine. It was safer to not cause any anomalies in his plans for now. The Clone W. Wars is when he can alter the events if Star Wars. But until then, he will prepare for Abeloth. If someone like Darth Nihilus can destroy entire worlds with force drain, then Abeloth could easily do the same. That was why he had carried an unconscious and passed out Shmi Skywalker to his ship. Anakin had led him to their house. He just stored most of its contents in his storage space. He can carry everything they had and they can go through it later. They boarded his ship and he prepared for takeoff. Fortunately Jinx was asleep since Cara was active and on surveillance. Not like anything would ever infiltrate his ship and make it to his cabin before they die from his ship's defenses. He put Shmi to sleep in one of the many extra rooms. Mainly one that was close to the cockpit and canteen. Shmi was very emotional and had passed out from crying way too much. Her life was very sad if one actually researched about her. Her parents were captured by pirates and she was sold into slavery at a young age. She was physically abused with every new owner who had her as she moved from star system to star system. The only reason she endured all this was because she was a string-willed person. I doubt that a Jedi mind trick would work on her because of it. She possibly had the same willpower that Cad Bane had, which is an impressive thing to consider since slavery would break the minds of many people. But she endured it. When Watto won her and Ankane in a bet, he would torture, whip and humiliate them constantly. Shmi would take the most of it in order to spare her son the full front if the punishments that Watto would inflict upon them. During the canon timeline, which no longer will happen since I had now freed her, Shmi was heartbroken and would weep tears alone. She did this since she would always miss her beloved son Anakin. She knew he made the choice willingly, thanks to a manipulative baby-stealing scumbag. When Ankane left, Shmi was mostly tasked with cleaning of compartments and would run a minor workshop with spare tools. Watto had a bad addiction to gambling which led him to going broke and having to sell Shmi to the Lars family, which they would free her. Shmi would continue to cry for not being able to fill the empty void in her heart since Anakin had left. When the Tusken Raiders took her, she had suffered greatly. Any normal person would have been long dead, but she endured it just as she did her years of slavery, all in a last effort to have the chance to see her son one last time before she died. It was only in her final moments of life when she had opened her eyes to look into her son's eyes, that she finally felt the happiness return to her. And with that, she stopped resisting and accepted her death, and so she died in her son's arms. The arms of the one who had brought her happiness in her long and miserable life. And the fucking Jedi did absolutely nothing but abandon her. Padme had sent her loyal guard Sabe to Tatooine in her final term, to buy as many slaves from Tatooine as possible. Shmi was one of the ones at the top of the list. Padme did this since she knew that the Senate and many senators would refuse her plea to stop slavery as a whole. This would naturally cause massive damage to the economy and the galaxy as a whole, which was why she was refused, and she had no choice but to carry out her plan B to buy as many slaves and free them as she could. Sabe couldn't find Shmi, since she was now in the care of the Lars family, and left. This had saddened Padme that she couldn't free Shmi. As he looked at the greatest mother to ever exist in the Star Wars universe, he remembered Darth Palguise. In the comics, Anakin was created by Sidious. In the novelization, Anakin was created by Palguise. / and the novels hold more weight to what is canon than any other material in Star Wars, that is why I chose the novel version. Palguise had tried to create a manifestation of the Force itself, but altered. He wanted to create an entity of pure evil and was powerful enough to exterminate every Jedi in the galaxy. To Palguise's surprise, the experiment ultimately failed. The Force is neither good or evil, light or dark, it is simply the Force, bound by no rules other than to aid in the creation of life and to empower and strengthen those who can would and use the Force. The Force, or more specifically the midichlorians, fought back and rebelled to reject and deny Palguise's attempts to create something so evil and diabolical to be used by the Sith. To counter this, the Force chose Shmi Skywalker to bear the child that Palguise and Sidious had tried to create, and done the opposite. It made the Chosen One prophecy, to exterminate the Sith. There is no mention nor explanation as to why the Force chose Shmi to bear Anakin. Maybe because she had a cool last name. Anakin Doe. Anakin Smith. Anakin Jin.
Anakin Windu?
Nah, Anakin Skywalker was way better. Palguys had tried to create his Jedi weapon, which backfired, on Tatooine since it was beyond the reach of the Republic and thus no Jedi could discover it before it was too late and taken by Palguys. Kagan had even sawed that Anakin was born in the Republic. The Jedi would have been able to discover him at a younger age and take him to their baby cult. Maybe I should create Chucky and throw 50 droid Chuckies in the Jedi Temple. That might be funny. They might think it's a separatist attack. I was originally going to get some blood from Anakin, but I decided to do it later. First I had to be quick and deal with some things before Shmi wakes up. I made my way to Lothal and went straight to the Jedi Temple. Instead of needing 2 Jedi to open the temple, I just used my skeleton key to unlock the temple itself. I also unlocked the ability for my echolocation device to work within Force-concentrated areas. I'm not dealing with all those Jedi tests now. I need to be quick since I don't know how long I have before the protection the Wills gave me would wear off. I located what I needed. First I teleported to a wall with many murals and artwork on them. It depicted many things, but mainly pictures of the son, the daughter and the father himself. I took the room in its entirety and I unlocked it from its hold on the ground and surroundings. I stored it all in my storage space which left a perfectly smooth round and empty room where I stood. I wanted all of it intact. Now I had the most powerful weapon in all of Star Wars. The ability to control time itself. To enter the world between worlds. The next and final stop was in a room similar to the one where Ezra finds his Kyber crystal. There I saw a large white crystal. Not a Kyber crystal but just a crystal-shaped, ivory-like stone that was 30 centimeters in length and was like an oval crystal shape. Next to it was a Kyber crystal that was the length of a finger. It shimmered in all the colors of the light spectrum, rainbow on children's terms. Adrian, Kara scanned the crystals. A few moments later, he received many pop-ups on his HUD and heard Kara's voice. Kara, the small crystal can help in your creation project. Now you won't have to use dark side energy for it at all. The small crystal has an infinite unknown energy source. I assume it is the cosmic force based on how you described it to me. The big crystal can be used to replace the heart of the first star Methuselah for your rings project. Adrian, ha ha ha, I'm going to be a god. I wasn't literally going to become a force god, but I would be basically unstoppable once I made my rings. What rings? The Makluan rings from the greatest Marvel TV show to exist, Iron Man, Armored Adventures. Quick recap and spoilers. The Makluan rings were created by the Makluan Empire for their ruler, the Makluan Overlord, with the power of the first star. Humans had discovered a star called Methuselah, which is said to be the oldest star to exist and even older than the universe. /N search it up. The Makluan race is an alien race that conquered many galaxies. Yep. I said many galaxies. And the shitty Yuuzhan Vong can't even conquer this galaxy. Absolutely pathetic. Anyway, the Makluan Overlord enslaved many galaxies and races, but one day, his son had stolen the rings and fled to Earth. On Earth, he encountered a leader, who was the first Khan, and ancestor of Gene Khan. The Makluan son gave the rings to the worthy Khan and he became the first Mandarin. The Mandarin's children didn't prove worthy of inheriting the rings and so he made rests and guardians to ensure that whoever obtains the rings is worthy and virtuous. It could only be used by those with Makluan DNA. The Makluan Overlord's son gave some Makluan DNA to the first Mandarin so that he and all his descendants can have what would be called the Dragon Seed, in order to use the rings. This was a security lock of sorts made by the Overlord so no lesser race could use it. Never did he think another Makluan, let alone his own son, would betray him. Each ring was powerful and had many abilities. There are multiple incarnations of the Mandarin rings. First, the comics, Mandarin rings. Second, Iron Man, Armored Adventures, Makluan rings. Third, Shang-Chi movie, complete garbage. /N behold the power of the mighty author-san. Activate, copy and paste, Jujitsu. The Makluan rings gives the Mandarin strong and powerful abilities that appear to be magical. They respond to his mental commands and include Mandarin armor creation. The Mandarin signature armor is created and powered by the rings. The user can make the armor and segments of it disappear and reappear around him. It grants him enhanced strength, endurance, and protection from attacks. With all 10 rings, the Mandarin is as strong as the Hulk and can shrug off the shield helicarrier's biggest weapons. Ring detection. The rings can form a map that shows ring locations and can even emit a light that reveals temple walls and entrances. Ring-specific capabilities. Purple ring allows Mandarin to teleport anywhere and manipulate various forms of electromagnetic energies for many effects. This ring is the most favored of all. At teleportation, the Mandarin can teleport himself and others anywhere he wants. His range of teleportation increases with the more rings he holds, even across dimensions. Energy manipulation. By itself, this ring can be used to unleash energy force waves. When enhanced by more rings, he can levitate, direct its energy to project lightning, stronger blasts, and other electromagnetic energies at his opponents. He can even shape the energy into force fields to protect himself and project a crushing field of gravity around a person. Green ring. It allows him to emit impact beams. This is his second most used ring. Enhanced energy projection. This lets Mandarin project green energy beams and fiery orange blasts that are mostly seen when enhanced by one or more rings. Blue ring. Has the power to generate and manipulate water. Water manipulation. This ring allows the Mandarin to manipulate water in several ways, such as creating a barrier field of water around a target to restrain it. The Mandarin can control this field, to whatever extent he wants, either to crush the target or peel off any covering it has. Sonic blasts. The Mandarin has used this ring to produce wave-like blasts of noise that can knock out opponents or send them flying. Red ring. This ring gives the Mandarin the ability to control fire in any way he wishes. Fire manipulation. The ring allows the Mandarin to manipulate fire. Yellow ring. This ring can manipulate ice. Ice projection. This ring can generate blasts of ice to freeze his enemies. Orange ring. Has the ability to alter matter. Acid cloud. It can produce an acid cloud that is capable of eating through any material. This includes the Iron Man armor. Crimson ring. This grants the Mandarin enhanced mental power. Mind control. It can control the minds of others and cloud their memories. Clairvoyance. This ring can access any hidden knowledge of this reality through its use. It allows him to find any hidden locations like the armory and grant advanced awareness of his surroundings. Mental projection. It can replay memories in another person's mind. White ring. Grants the power of the vortex to the Mandarin. Wind manipulation. Can start and stop strong winds and vortexes at any time. Super speed. Allows the Mandarin to move as fast as the wind. Black ring. Can control dark force power. This ring is the strongest of all the 10 rings. Dark force manipulation. It can unleash devastating energy waves and erect barriers of dark force. It also has the power to open portals to other worlds and dimensions. Its latent power is great enough to open wormholes and unleash chaos throughout the entire world. Pink ring. This is the final ring. When put together with the 9 rings, it gives the Mandarin the ultimate power. See full powers. Life manipulation. Grants the power of creation of life to an unknown extent. It was most likely used to create the various Makluan guardians. Each Makluan ring enhances the power of the other rings. The more rings the Mandarin has, the greater his power. At their full potential, the Mandarin's rings are capable of the following. Mandarin with all 10 rings. Godhood. When the rings are all gathered together, it gives the Mandarin the power of a god, able to see everything, every molecule and electron in the universe, and capable of commanding reality itself. He is surrounded by a green aura, and becomes a being that surpasses mortality as long as he holds the rings. Well, I didn't exactly lie when I said I won't be a force god, but I will be a different kind of god. Despite all these powers, it is possible to be hurt. As shown in the show. Although, I plan on getting rings with different powers or even extra ones. One of which is definitely a time manipulation ring. The wish I had made for all Marvel knowledge. Yep. I know exactly how the Makluans made the Makluan rings. And that means I can do the same but even better. Originally, I didn't think it was possible to do my Makluan ring project until the Clone Wars started. But now, at least I can get a few rings. These rings actually took 100 years to create. But since I have knowledge of every alien race of every universe I wished for when I was first reincarnated, I can reduce that time gap immensely. But now, when the Clone Wars starts, I will have all 10 rings made, but before that I can only make a few. I also had to make a feature similar to the Dragon Seed requirement and to make a feature where no Jedi or Force user can steal the rings off my fingers by using the Force. This large crystal, which I will use to make my Makluan rings, I'll rename them to Mandalorian rings/rings of Mandalore, ROM. The large crystal will replace the heart of the first star used to make the Makluan rings. Instead, this crystal I will use is the Heart of the Wills, and it is mine. Chapter 17, the Cerberus Corporation. After I had finally gotten my gifts that the Wills had left me, I had felt a weight lift off from my entire body. I was immediately on guard and put my hand in the metallic compartment on my waist, ready to take out and use a device I had prepared for the worst-case scenario. Nothing happened. Abeloth didn't reappear. I had expected her or the sun or the Fthr to appear before me. If they had, I would have used the device in my pocket. At the time Abeloth had attacked me on Ord Mantell, I didn't have this device with me. Why would I? This thing is just as much a danger to myself as it was to any entity to ever exist. Not even the Living Tribunal, Darkseid, Doomsday, the Sun, the Father, the Daughter or Abeloth could escape the fate that would befall them if I used this device. That was the shape of a purple stone glowing prism. I was still very hesitating if this device. I'll call it Pre-Sim. Anyway, Pre-Sim was so powerful that I was extremely hesitant if I had made it correctly. Despite all my knowledge of all the various universes I have, I did not trust myself enough that this Pre-Sim would not have the slim chance of malfunctioning. It was that dangerous. I could easily make more, hell. I can make enough and give one to every living being in this galaxy.
That's how easy it was to make it. By why the hell would I do that? I only need one. And it stays with me and belongs to me.
I had easily made this back when I was 7 years old. I had used my creation ability to obtain everything I needed and made this as soon as I could. I tried making it at a younger age, but there were some complications. I had made this specifically to deal with any of the Force gods if they ever learned if my reincarnation or tried to kill me. I would have used it on Abeloth, if I had it with me, but I didn't. Why would I carry it on Ord Mantell? I had only gone to do a simple bounty job. Never did I expect to have Abeloth appear out of nowhere after more than a decade and a half of absolutely nothing since I was born into this universe.
But now I did, and was carrying it at all times.
I guess my Batman paranoia from the knowledge I have from him is starting to affect me a little.
It's not that bad. It will keep me alive and aware of my surroundings if she appears. Then I'm using Pre-Sim and dealing with that bitch. Now that I think about it, maybe Pre-Sim can work on the wills.
But I'm not too sure since they are omnipresent, so I can't use Pre-Sim on them. As for what Pre-Sim does, that's for another time, since I had teleported put of the Lothal Jedi Temple and back to my ship, when I was certain that none if the first gods are comping for me when the will's protection had worn off of me.
Oh yeah, I can teleport. It was easy and wasn't at the same time.
I had tried to replicate the boom tube technology to teleport from place to place without all the portal nonsense, but just my body instantly.
It worked. But not entirely. I was still improving it, but it isn't a priority at the moment. I can teleport carrying distances with carrying cooldown rates.
It was a lot of combinations and changes in variable to list. But the short of it is that I can't teleport to places I haven't set markers to, and must be within planetary range. I have a marker on my ship, a few marker chips with me if I want to plant them, one with Jinx, Anakin, Baby Sokka, Shmi, on all my strongest droid erranters I have spread out through the galaxy at this very moment, and on my Sparrow.
I had injected a tiny microscopic marker chip into their bodies at one point.
Thus will allow me to teleport near any of them when needed, so long as they are within range. As for my droid terminators I mentioned, I had made a few of them when I was still with Deathwatch on Mandalore and had Kara use her phase shift to use her near omnipresence to control all of them as an extension of herself.
Basically, she had a hive mind between them all. Kara could easily hack into the banking clans and drain them of all their assets if she wanted to. The only reason I didn't was because nothing but utter chaos would happen if I did that. And then Abeloth would be able to escape the maw.
You see, whenever something of great importance or large events happen in the galaxy, then Abeloth would be able to attempt to escape the maw.
A few events are as like this. Emperor Vitiate/Valkorion, Darth Revan, Scourge of Malachor, Darth Bane and his creation of the Rule of Two, Darth Palgai's attempts of manipulating midichlorians to make pure evil Anakin but failed and had it backfire on him.
Order 66.
Darth Sidious' death at the hands of the Chosen One. Death Star destroys its first planet Alderaan. The Great Sith War. The Clown Wars, Death of the Ones. For some reason she couldn't escape then. Maybe the Wills had interfered at that time. There are many others, but these are events everyone is familiar with the most. All these events eventually have an impact on the galaxy or involve a large amount of death. I didn't want to risk it, so I did everything legitimately. Well, if me creating infinite credits is legitimate, then yeah. I actually haven't been able to use my creation ability to create many credits for my galactic business, which is called Cerberus. Shit name?
Maybe.
Jinibu gamer name. You bear you are ass.
The leader of Cerberus is a clone of myself that possess all my knowledge, except I had it modified and it was completely controlled by Kara.
At least I changed the clone's appearance from my own. I can't imagine how my perverted AI that spies on me in the bath while I'm naked would be if she was an identical body to my own.
Shivers.
Anyway, my altered clone is actually called Mr. Hawke. Remember him? Or me? Whatever. After my black market deal with Pre Vizsla that day many years ago,
I had created the altered clone so that Kara can control it and maintain my relationships with the various connections I made on Mandalore under my Mr. Hawke persona. Not many people actually know the real identity of Mr. Hawke since I had Kara use a fake alias during the black market auctions to have connections in the black market too. I had given her 1 trillion Republic credits which I made with my creation ability, which isn't even that much since the Hutt cartel has 2 trillion credits and the Black Sun organization is in the trillion R category. With that trillion, Kara, or more specifically, Mr. Hawke then took a bunch of stuff I gave him and went on his way with some droids I also gave to assist in starting up my way to dominate the galaxy through every means possible, be it financially, politically, medically, or in military and so on. He then went on to purchase a small planet called Zytus. It was an uninhabited planet with only flora and minimal fauna on it. The fauna weren't hostile and the lands were perfect for farms and growing any kind of flora. With the perfect world purchased, since it was small and uninhabited, that was located in the top right corner of S19 on the galactic map. It was good since it was in the Outer Rim and near Naos was an astronomical object located in the regions known as the Outer Rim territories and the Slice. It was situated in Grid Square S-18 on the Standard Galactic Grid. It was also near the Corellian-run trade route, which was obviously important and needs no explanation. With those droids I gave Mr. Hawke, he had then began planting the seeds I had given him, which would grow all sorts of flora, alchemical ingredients and crops. He also used some special artificial fertilizer to grow all the flora in less than 1 week. Kara had used a multiple third-part bodies to purchase many transport ships and would travel to CCs to deliver more supplies to Mr. Hawke. Over time, Mr. Hawke was able to create a small droid manufacturing facility, which only expanded over time within the first few months of his arrival on CCs. He would go on to creating and using all the flora from the fields to dominate the clothing, restaurants and foods and other related sectors. Clothing with a fine silk harvested from plants similar, but much greater, to the insides of lotus flowers of Earth. Our time Cerberus would be established once the additional droids were able to create more back-to-cloning tanks and made more clones of varying appearances. These other clones would be the heads and leaders of various organizations so that no first user can use Mecha Daru on his droids to control and steal their knowledge and plans. Fortunately, if Kara controls the clones, like she is doing with Mr. Hawke, then Mecha Daru can't work as well and can be detected by her. She would then self-destruct the clone that was under the effects of Mecha Daru. Over time, Cerberus would become a famous name to many and the leader of the organization, a mystery to all but a few. I had Kara spread some rumors on the Holo.net and thus, I was able to give Mr. Hawke the alias which the galaxy would then come to recognize the leader of Cerberus to be. The elusive man. Yep. I stole his name and the name of his corporation for my own. Anyway, Cerberus would have bioengineering, biotechnology, gambling, engineering, healthcare, construction, manufacturing, entertainment, mining, agriculture, medical, technological, clothing, restaurants and foods, electronics, cybernetics, intergalactic travel, mass relays, vehicle design and manufacturing, weapons and personal defense, financial services and pharmaceuticals. There was also finance included, but it was mainly in the purchasing of various stocks from a multitude of corporations, businesses and companies. It was so that I can have influence in basically everything. What I mean by that is something like this example. I was planning to give Shmi ownership of some of the various smaller businesses that I am the shareholder of. Or more specifically, my Kara-controlled clones are the shareholders. You can never be too rich when you need to rule a galaxy. The Death Star with labor costs included, it's estimated that the Death Star costs around 1 quintillion credits to create. Yep. You can never get too rich. After the 6 years since Mr. Hawke, or whom I will now be calling, the elusive man, had made Cerberus quite rich. Cerberus is now a trillion credit corporation and can stand toe-to-toe with the Banking Clan, Commerce Guild, Trade Federation, the Techno Union, Pike Syndicate, Hutt Cartel. The Black Sun is one of the more rich organizations which is also a trillion credit organization. Although Cerberus is slightly richer since it has shares in many other industries and holds Barrier stocks in many businesses and industries. It isn't as rich since it has only been 6 years. But still, it is impressive, and entirely to be expected by my lazy and genius idea to let Kara and my multiple clones with my knowledge roam the galaxy. The Hutt Cartel is about 500 billion to 2 trillion galactic credits worth. And soon I will absorb it into Cerberus when my plans are ready to overthrow the Hutts. I made my way to Shmi, who was in her room, now awake. She had been out of it since her emotional breakdown of having her and her son's freedom after so long. I entered the room after knocking and receiving the confirmation to enter. I walked in the dimly lit room. She must have woken up recently since she only had the bedside light on and a plate of warm food that one of my protocol droids must have carried in a minute or so ago. I sat down on a chair as Shmi was still sitting in the bed. Adrian, you should eat before we begin. She only nodded and didn't speak. She had only been able to take a few bites before she had began to cry again. Probably because she had never been able to have good food in a long time. In fact, the food she is eating now is worth 1 million credits. It was one of the most expensive dishes that the Cerberus food sector makes and sells. I approached her as she had spilled the food to sob into her hands. I gently wrapped my arms around the woman who had endured such hardships all her life and still pushed past it all with love and affection for her son. After she had calmed down once again, he spoke up. Adrian, feeling better now? Shmi, yes. I'm sorry. Adrian, I don't know what you are sorry about and I don't care to hear what it's about. I freed you and your son for my own reasons which I have come to talk to you about. Shmi, upon hearing my words, had immediately straightened herself and her attitude changed to a serious one. I had removed my armor so she wouldn't be intimidated by me. My young face had seemed to make her more at ease, but she was still a mother, and thus was willing to protect her child at all costs. Shmi, what were these reasons that you said? Why the interest in my son and me? Adrian, word of advice. That attitude and back-talking may have been common courtesy back on Tatooine, but not with me or the rest of the galaxy. Fortunately for you, I am not offended by your manner of speaking since you have every right to be given your history. I know who you are and your general life, if how you became a slave and what you had to endure. My words didn't faze her in the slightest when I had mentioned the danger of her talking in such a way. But the latter part about how I knew about her life, she was slightly surprised I knew but didn't press for it. Her concern was more on my reason and interest for her son Anakin. Admirable. I respect that. Literally the best mother in the galaxy right here. Adrian, well, if you are not going to say anything, I will continue. Your son is a Force user. But the galaxy commonly refers to any Force user as a Jedi since they are well known. There are two types of Jedi. One is the Jedi themselves. They are, I guess you can call them as good individuals who are pacifistic and spiritual in their philosophy of the universe as a whole. They are seen by many, including myself, as kidnappers. They would indoctrinate and baptize Force-sensitive children from as early age as they can. Generally from around their birth up to the age of 4 or 5-ish. They strip them of all emotions as they teach the brainwashed children into becoming emotionless soilders who know no love and are mostly forbidden to have families. The Sith is the other group of Jedi and would have been red lightsaber to identify them most of the time. They are for the most part evil conquerors, killers, tyrants and traitorous. The Jedi and Sith have been fighting one another for thousands of years. The Sith, or more specifically a very powerful Sith, is the one who caused the accidental, indirect and slightly intentional birth of your son Anakin Skywalker. I could barely finish when Shmi interrupted me, most likely shocked about learning who Anakin's father is. She isn't wrong exactly, but nor is she correct, since it was the Force itself taught created Anakin in order to counteract Palgai's attempts of creating a pure evil being. Shmi. What? Anakin's father? I had gone on to explain about Palgai's and Sidious. I also explained the specifics of Anakin's birth. She had every right to know. Not like anyone is ever going to find out since I'm going to have Kara watch over them 24/7 and Jinx will be there to protect them. I can't risk either the Sith or Jedi using Anakin. The oblivious boy, who was playing with some toys I had made, was one day capable of making the son and the daughter submit and kneel before him, cutie the same time. This will never leave my head die to how impressive this Star Wars fate was. It better that he either lives his life in peace, or he decides to join my new Jedi Order. Speaking of which, I will need to make a code for it. I should use the code and teachings of the Jedi and Grey Jedi as the foundation, and the Sith and Jedi teachings to flesh it out and correct some parts. I also told Shmi that there is a chance of Anakin becoming a Sith. I don't tell her that he would become Darth Vader. I don't think she would be able to handle such a thing about learning the terrible acts that Darth Vader commits. I did tell her about the power that Anakin possesses. I told her about my plans for a new Jedi Order and what it would be like. Also about how I will have Jinx teach him how to control his emotions and abilities somewhat. Furthermore, how to control his emotions as to avoid any accidental Force abilities being unconsciously used, similar to Ezra when he almost saw Zeb be killed by Callius. After that I would give Anakin the choice to join or to reject joining my order when he is of 14 years of age. After a long session of her interrogation of me, she had accepted my offer to her. This way I can keep Anakin out of the hands of the Sith or Jedi, even if he refuses to join my order. The ship had now been set to travel to a certain place I had been wanting to go to for a while now. I initially was planning to come here at a later year before the Clone Wars, but my encounter with Abeloth had sped up some of my plans. I will also need to acquire some sticks and become the shareholder of the banking clan soon. I was sitting in the cockpit of my ship, sitting in the most comfortable chair to ever exist in all of Merrill and DC. Whoosh. I heard the sound of the door sliding open. I looked and saw it was Shmi. Adrian, Ms. Skywalker? Shmi, please call me Shmi. I am in your debt after all, my son as well. Adrian, okay then. What are doing here, Shmi? You should rest since you should let everything that had transpired settle in. Shmi, I thank you for your concern, but I am fine. May I ask where are we going? I would prefer to have Anakin grow up somewhere he could be happy and have friends his age. Adrian, I fully understand what you mean. For 2 years he can't be in a public place. He has to learn to conceal his aura first. His aura is like a beacon to all Force users of his existence, which they will detect and pursue. Only Palgais and Sidious knew of Anakin on Tatooine, but everyone else doesn't since he was born in the Outer Rim and was beyond their range of detection. In 2 years when he learns control of his aura I will have you two go somewhere more populated like Alderaan, Naboo or Coruscant. Well, I'm lying about Naboo for now. Only after the Federation blockade will I send them there since it will be peaceful after that on Naboo. As for Coruscant, only until I can locate Palgais. The fucker is really good at hiding. Even when I tried looking for his public name Higo Damask too, I couldn't find shit. Even with Kara hacking everything everywhere. I'll kill the bastard for somehow hiding from me for so long. He's probably a pussy using the dark side to hide since he knows that the Force itself cock-blocked his plans of creating evil Ankane and had it backfire on him. Shmi, thank you. Adrian, Shmi, what are your dreams that you want to pursue bow that you're free? Shmi seemed to be caught off guard by my question as she didn't expect it. Shmi, I had always wanted to own my own mechanic shop when I was younger. But now that I'm free, maybe I could be an engineer for a time and follow my dream.
Adrian, it's decided then. Shmi. What is? Adrian, I will give you enough credits to start up your business, but equipment, materials, suppliers, tools, parts, and some deeds and contracts of stocks and shares of various mechanics, engineering and vehicle design and manufacturing industries and business that I have to spare. Good luck. Remember, it's all for your son's happiness if you are happy.
I deliberately took advantage of her love for Anakin to trick her into accepting and taking my offer. She just sagged at failing to refuse my offer and just collapsed in one of the cockpit's extra seats as she has to now deal with the headache I had given her. But she did have a small smile on her face. I had gone to meet with Anakin and asked to take some of his blood. The boy was not the least bit afraid and allowed me to take it. Brave little shit. I have trypanophobia, which is the fear of needles. I don't have it anymore, but I did have it for more than 20 years before I got over it. Unlinked this brat before me. I ruffled his hair about and left to experiment on the blood. I had samples from Jinx, Mace Windu and now Anakin Skywalker. I spent a few minutes there and was able to remove a single midichlorian cell from Mace Windu. He had the lowest midichlorian count out of the 3 samples I have. What I was going to do was better if I began with the weakest one for my first attempt. I believe that I will fail in what I'm going to do, but still, who knows? It might work. I placed the midichlorian cell on a pie tray dish and equipped the tools of Kagranak. Wraithguard is a pair of gauntlets that has the ability to remove any and all lethal effects upon the user. Basically, I can use the Infinity Stones if I have these equipped. Or I can stand inside a nuclear reactor and be completely fine. Sunder is a hammer that can disperse the energy of anything it strikes into an essence-like form. Keening is a glass-looking dagger/short sword-sized balled weapon that, when used to flay the essence produced by Sunder, will absorb the essence into the user. If used altogether, the tools of Kagranak could allow me to absorb the power of a Lovecraftian god like Azathoth or even the power of the Infinity Stones themselves and grant me all their powers without any negative effects thanks to Wraithguard. This was how Vivek, Almalexia, Sothasil and Dagath Ur all became Chim, gods, from them using the tools of Kagranak on the heart of Lorcan. And I was going to use it on a midichlorian cell to bypass my 7499 midichlorian count and absorb this one to achieve 7500 and be fully capable of using the Force like any Force user. I raised Sunder high, and slammed it down in the midichlorian cell. Hooam. An ethereal sound emitted from when I struck the midichlorian cell. A silver-like glow had spread in an outward arc from where I struck with Sunder. A gold-orange-like energy substance floated upwards from where I struck. I immediately used Keening and slashed at the energy strand. The strand of energy vanished and I felt an unbearable pain permeate throughout my entire body. I knelt on the ground as I dropped Sunder and Keening and clutched my heart and head with my hands. I was only able to hold in my screams if pain thanks to all the augmentations and the Omega Serum I had taken to strengthen myself. I felt like I was going to die, even though I knew I wouldn't thanks to the effects of Wraithguard. I had remained sprawled on the floor for a minute until Kara sent some droids to carry me to the healing chamber to assess me. When I had finally been allowed to leave, I felt alive. I immediately checked my midichlorian count but was disappointed. 7499 midichlorian count. I had a few theories on why it didn't work, but I knew for sure that I would be able to use the Force using my second method thanks to this experiment confirming a variable I now had to change for Plan B on becoming a Force user. As I was pondering this, I felt us exit hyperspace. Kara, we have arrived at Dathomir. Adrian, perfect. Time to make a deal with Mother Tolzin. Chapter 18. Deal with the Devil. /N to make it up to you all, you will get 2 long chapters which is actually 5 medium and small chapters combined into 2. I was busy last few days with late working hours. Someone asked when updates are. They are every Thursday for this FIC. Unless I nat to post more in the week or I get delayed for certain good reasons. Enjoy. I was currently making my way to the hangar bay so I can exit once we land. Don't want to keep the Night Sisters waiting. I want to announce my own arrival before the Night Sister scouts can report to Mother Tolzin. Gotta make a good impression on her if I want to make a deal with her. Although, I was halted in my tracks by one person who would have a detain for anything dark side related such as the planet Dathomir. Jinx. Why have you come to this foul place? Nothing good can come of this. Dealing with the Night Sisters is something I strongly oppose. Jinx was leaning on a wall of the corridor I was walking down. She didn't block the path, but did make herself known. She had her arms crossed and one leg bent and on the wall. Adrian, so you already knew I wanted to make a deal with them. Jinx. Jedi, remember. Adrian, technically you aren't since you yourself said you no longer follow their creed. Jinx just hummed, agreeing with what I had said, albeit begrudgingly since she can't refute my statement. Jinx, I know you nat to make a deal with them, but not its reason nor its contents. Adrian, I'll tell you when I return. You should stay here since I will be staying there for a few days. Jinx, why can't you just return to the ship for the night? It's only a walk away. And your speeder thingy, Sparrow it is? You can just use that and get back her in a few minutes given its speed. Adrian, yes, but there isn't really a need for it. I want to stay there to show my trust and accept their hospitality, especially with what I will offer Mother Tolzin in return for something so minor. She will be in my debt when all this is over. Jinx, I wonder what you have planned now. First you lure me onto your ship filled to the brim with traps and weapons that it is a living nightmare for all. Next you are fighting 30 Jedi at the same time, then you are casually conning people and faking their deaths, you have a destiny that is tied to the galaxy's future, and now you are making deals with a powerful practitioner of magic. A/N this is reality now. Things are much more powerful than what is depicted in the comics or TV. Also you can just attribute this to being a parallel/duplicate universe of Star Wars with some AU Star Wars stuff. Like magic being much more powerful or certain people. Mother Tolzin is on par with Yoda, Windu, Sidious in physical blade skill fighting, but is much more powerful with her magic. Ho ho! Jinx is praising Mother Tolzin? Maybe being since this universe are much more powerful than what they were shown. Mother Tolzin only has a 15,000 midichlorian count but she can't use the Force. From what I remember on my past life, she has never used Force abilities, only magic. She instead uses the midichlorians in her body to be able to use Sith alchemy and magic. Long story short, Sidious made deal with her. He taught her Sith alchemy, she taught him magic and gave her son Maul to him. She wants to take her son back so she can conquer the galaxy and rule with him at her side. Maul is her biological child. Oh yeah. Something which a lot of people don't realize is that Savage Opress and Feral are both Maul biological brothers and Mother Tolzin is the biological mother of Maul, Savage and Feral. Feral is the guy who Savage asks Asajj Ventress to spare in the trial she had arranged. Mother Tolzin wasn't Mother just yet. She is currently a high-ranking member of the Night Sister clan, but she is not the clan mother yet. She only becomes the clan mother just before the start of the Clone Wars. This was known as the Golden Age of the Night Sisters. Another thing is that Mothet Tolzin lost her physical body when she restored Maul's mind. She remained in the spirit realm and would come out Ayat in an attempt to restore her body. She fought Mace Windu without her physical body. Not many people pay attention to it, but you can see her body is ghost-like sometimes during the short scene that is shown of their interaction. She is extremely powerful. And that is why I nat to make a deal with her. Adrian, don't worry about it. I'll tell you later. But there is some light side abilities to be learnt. Not just dark side. It is a misconception which many have. The Night Sister magic is both the light and dark side related, not purely dark. Jinx. Fine then. But no, I'll step in and intervene if you succumb to the dark side and travel down the wrong path. I just nodded. Her reasons were sound and I too would agree. If someone with my knowledge were to exist in this universe and use it for any reason whatsoever, they could do anything. I wonder what Gwen would do if she had reincarnated into Star Wars. Meanwhile, at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, Ava's quarters. A girl was levitating of the ground while in a lotus position with her legs. She was meditating. Suddenly, achoo! She had sneezed and fell to ground, having lost her concentration. She rubbed her head which had hit the floor of her room and groaned. Ava, why did I have to sneeze now of all times? Maybe someone was thinking about me? Oh well, back to meditating. The girl, Ava, had been having strange dreams of a man in strange armor. He wore a Mandalorian-styled helmet, but it was of a different design. She also had dreams of a girl with black hair. She felt a certain closeness with her. It seemed like the black-haired girl in her dreams was a sister of hers, or maybe she was the girl herself. But that's ridiculous since she looks nothing like her. Also her hair is ashen white compared to the girl in her dreams who had long black hair. She tried connecting to the girl and the masked man, but failed many times. She would also get an annoying itch at the back of her head when she tried remember. No wait. When she tried thinking. How can she remember someone who she had never met? She grew up in the Jedi Temple all her life and not once did she cross paths with a Mandalorian or the black-haired girl. This had bothered her for as long as she could remember. It had been more than 10 years now since she had started getting these dreams. And they had only been getting stronger over time. She can feel that she will meet the Mandalorian man or the black-haired girl very soon. And then she can get rid of these dreams if hers. I wonder who he is. Back with Adrian. Achoo. Kara. Got the sniffles I see? Adrian. Shut the fuck up. Someone was thinking about me just now. They cursed my name and now I have the cursed sneeze. I fucking hate sneezing. Kara. It can't be that bad, can it? Adrian. For me it is. I literally sneeze all the time. Very long ago. For a long time. Kara. I know you're lying Sims. I had been in your head ever since you were born and you hadn't sneezed once until this moment. I never told Kara about my past life. I did once but she just scoffed it off. I had sneezed so many times in a day that I lost count. I absolutely hate it. And now I'll get my revenge on whoever cursed me to sneeze in this life. My body is so overpowered in so many aspects that it should be biologically impossible for me to sneeze and be infected by basically every disease, bacteria and virus. Although, the blue shadow virus I am not immune to. I'm certain of it. Which reminds me, Kara is still searching for Dr. Nuvo Vindi. Turns out he isn't on Coruscant yet and is somewhere else. I knew he was the senior medic for the Perma Families before he made his facility on Naboo. The Perma Families was a criminal organization located on the core world of Perma. Turns out he isn't there either and is good at hiding. Kara had to investigate every new world, but first she had to connect to the network and the Holo.net connection to the TE-nology of Exam World using phase shift before she can find him. It was taking a long time to locate the ugly pretzel neck guy. Adrian, it's not like you'll believe me. Land the ship. Make sure we remain invisible. I didn't nat to meet the current clan mother just yet. I'll do that later since I need to anyway. I wanted to meet Tolzin first before anything else and in secret. And so when I landed on Dathomir I used a bunch of miniaturized and invisible Yoggia beacon tech to map large areas at a time. I was easily able to locate Tolzin. I waited until she was alone. Tolzin, come on out. I know you are there. Her voice overlapped with another, yet deeper male one. I am not too sure on who the male voice is, but it could be the husband of Tolzin who might be dead. No one really knows what the extra voice is in my past life. I decloaked myself and was standing behind her. Well, she had turned to face me, so I was now in front her. Adrian, as expected of someone that made a deal with Darth Sidious and learned his dark side secrets. Tolzin, what is that you want, Mandalorian? Tolzin was definitely pissed to the limit inside since I mentioned Sidious and her in the same sentence. Her hatred for him taking her son away was true all the way. There was a quote she had said once. I am able to remember it thanks to my enhanced mental capabilities given to me by ROB Jr. Long ago, Sidious came to me on Dathomir. We exchanged secret wisdom, mingled dark side abilities with Night Sister magics. He promised to make me his right hand, but instead he stole what was most dear to me, my own flesh and blood. My son. This was scud by Tolzin and it showed their relationship and hate. I did this intentionally to force her to not beat around the bush and to make my offer all the more appealing to her by preying on her emotional feelings of hate for Sidious and live for her Don Maul. Adrian. Good. Since you don't want to waste time talking I'm circles, neither will I. I wish to make an alliance with the Night Sisters and in exchange, you will teach me the secrets that Darth Sidious taught you along with your Night Sister magic. I will also give you something that will make you eternally grateful to me. I can feel Tolzin use some of her magic on me. I allowed it to since I detected it was a variant of Force empathy. Tolzin, why come to me? I am not the clan mother. An alliance is best made with her. And as for your request, I will decline if you have nothing to offer me that would sway my decision to teach you. Adrian, oh but I do. I wish to support you and aid the Night Sisters in a mutual and equal relationship when you rise to become the new clan mother. You will no doubt be a great mother since you are very magical and spiritual in your customs. I also wish to eliminate Darth Sidious, but to do that he must be weakened first. There is a certain Sith shrine which he absorbs power from. Using your magics and his own secrets, I can destroy the Sith shrine and weaken him. Then we can kill him. I don't care for what you do after that as it is of no concern to me. We work together to achieve the same goal and then we go our own ways, but I will still maintain relations with the Night Sisters. Just, we no longer need to be as low else since our objectives have been met. Talzin, M. And what is this, something, you would give me? I smirked under my helmet. Hook, line, and sinker. My talk with Tolzin had gone great when I told her the thing that would make her my obedient servant. I had also told Mother Tolzin about my various potions, alchemy knowledge, metals, materials, ingredients and more that I can provide them if she and the Night Sisters agree to my terms. She said she didn't mind about teaching me to repay me, but she did tell me anything pertaining to the Night Sister CLQNS must be decided by the acting clan mother. I had then gone to the acting clan mother to inform her of my proposal which she accepted. In under for 4 months and I had mastered their Night Sister magic and Sith alchemy flawlessly at astonishing speeds. The Night Sisters actually worships 2 beings which is the source of their magic. The Fanged God which appears as a black bat-like gargoyle in the spirit realm. The Fanged God is the source of the Night Sisters' destructive capabilities. The Winged Goddess is a brightly glowing griffin in the spirit realm. The Winged Goddess is associated with creation abilities and is the source of which Spirit Ichor is conjured into the physical plane. Spirit Ichor is the green smoke like most that has many utilizing properties which have been seen used by Tolzin in Star Wars. If you haven't figured it out yet, let me to you. The Fanged God is the son. The Winged Goddess is the daughter. Yep. Surprising, isn't it? /N I'll explain more about Night Sister lore and magic since there is a lot to covet in later chapters. Also there will be many interactions with Tolzin soon if you weren't satisfied by this chapter. Anyway, Tolzin had begun to view me as a serious threat now, but leaves me be since I was telling the truth, every word. It was time to leave. I bid them goodbye and told them about the next shipment date. I had kept my word and began supplying Night Sisters with shipments of a whole list of things from Cerberus. I nat the Night Sisters as my subordinates. If not, then I'll kill them all without hesitation. I am only want to use my overwhelming persuasive knowledge from all the universes I had wished the knowledge for, to convince her to join my Mandalorian clan that I will soon make. I had been really busy so I couldn't do it just yet. I had it all planned out and ready. 2 definite clan members I want are Maul and Tolzin. I will make a clone if whatever to rule in her stead or as a hive mind over the Night Sisters in her absence. Or maybe I'll just take all the Night Sisters into my clan and use a full-powered apple of Eden to dominate their minds and remove some of the sexist supremacy they had. It will definitely cause problems in the future on a number of levels for me to deal with. Fortunately, I was able to convince the Night Sisters to perform their Night Sister ritual on Anakin and Ahsoka. I had used my knowledge to correct some things with it and alter it so it only provides the positive effects of the ritual and nit the negative ones like altered appearance and body growth. I also ensured that the Night Sisters didn't try anything funny like how they brainwashed Savage Opress. The ritual provide many benefits like physical enhancements and stronger force sensitivity. This particular ritual had other benefits but could only be performed on anyone less than 10 years old. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it. But I will. As for how, that's for later. Also, my ISU Ancient Forge was doing really well. It was Consumume. Adrian, not this shit again. Consumume. I had boarded my ship and was ready to leave when I heard an all too familiar voice I had been hearing for the last 4 months. I had created many things since I finally had free time to make and proceed with many of my projects now. One of which is the source of the shitty voice I was currently hearing. Kara, no. Not again. Back away, you vile creature. I'll destroy every last piece of data from your CPU. Analyzing. Located compatible technology of advanced make. Attempting to integrate. Consumume. Adrian, that's IT. Jinx. Kara. Get New York fucking nano flamethrower. I am torching this bitch tonight. Kara. Finally. It's down the hall in the kitchen. Jinx. OH. I'll go get it. When she returned, both me and Jinx had 2 nano flamethrowers in our possession. She really liked causing chaos whenever she could. She planked me so many times with Kara's help to make little Ani laugh. I smiled a few times when that happened. But I'll be satisfied when I extinguish this bitch from existence. I should have never created Technivore. It has been one big headache to deal with. What's worse is I'll get an even bigger headache since I would have to go to the Jedi Temple soon since Palpatine and Pal Guys are off Coruscant during this time frame. One of my new projects I was finally able to do was to remake my armor into nanotechnology. It was nanotech before, but now it can be like Iron Man's armor in Avengers, Infinity War and Avengers, Endgame. All that was missing was the Extremis Serum to control it in my mind. Once I deal with shitty Technivore, I am off to raid the Jedi Temple and destroy the Sith shrine beneath it. Chapter 19. Reunion Part 1. Technivore, ARRGGGGHHHH. Consumume. Me and Jinx were currently burning every last nanobot that Technivore was made of, with our pair of nano flamethrowers. We had enough of the devastation that Technivore had caused the first time it escaped the cell I made for it. I had greatly underestimated since I had thought it was contained and was fully obedient to me. Somehow it wasn't. I can only assume that Abeloth had used the Force to release Technivore so it can kill me on her behalf since she was being contained by the Ones. But using the Force to open a door is simple and can be overlooked by the Ones. This was how she must have tricked them, by stealthily opening Technivore's cell door. It had pissed me off greatly that I had to destroy it. I wanted to make an overpowered version of Technivore from the Marvel Universe. Mainly Iron Man, Armored Adventures cause its design looked cool. I wanted to make my own version of the droid army, but as Technivore and not be one battle droids and so on. I mostly wanted them to consume biological matter as well so that I can use them to fight the Yuuzhan Vong. The Yuuzhan Vong hate machines and technology that is non-organic. If I use machines to fight them that can kill them and make their consumed biological matter into more Technivore droids, then that will make the Yuuzhan Vong piss their pants and terrify them since they worship some crazed god of their own galaxy. I would be able to win one-sided against them. In fact, they are already here. Some scouts are currently somewhere within this galaxy right now, trying to sow the seeds of chaps so that their invasion will be easier. Meanwhile, the main force is residing outside of the galaxy in the void. Just like how the Reapers of Mass Effect had done so for millions of years, and returning every 50,000-year cycles to harvest and indoctrinate the advanced civilization LS and races. To be honest, I could have made Technivore perfect if I had spent more time on it. I had just created this imperfect Technivore within 30 minutes. If I had spent 3 hours, then I would have made it beyond perfect. I was just impatient at the time because I had been unable to perform the Night Sister magic ritual on myself earlier that day. I kept this imperfect technivore so I could study it, but now me, Jinx and Kara had enough. At least I made it so that Anakin, Ahsoka and Shmi were absolutely safe on the other side of the ship. Even if Technivore escaped, it would be slaughtered by my ship's weaponry and traps by the time it reached Shmi and the others. During these 4 months I had finally been able to create the Shard. The Shard is an artifact of Eden from Assassin's Creed. It was used by the ISU in an attempt to block the solar flare from the Dun from wiping out all life on Earth. It had failed since they were destroyed before they could create a larger version of the Shard before the solar flare had destroyed their civilization. I was planning to use the Shard, ring, to help harness energy from the sun. My version of the Shard is much more powerful, although it wasn't able to protect a planet from a solar flare. It can only entrap certain amount if energy a time before transporting it elsewhere. The Shard can create barriers and wards to protect the wearer and similar effects like abjuration and defensive abilities like vector manipulation. I had Kara send out a mini scout ship I had created in these 4 months. Night Sister Magic. Or more specifically, the creation magic of spirit ichor power bestowed by the winged goddess aka the daughter, had helped in enhancing my creation ability which ROB Jr. had given me. All it did was allow for me to enchant and fine-tune my creation abilities, although it was a lengthy process, even for Tolzin. The scout ship will be controlled by Orphelion, an AI I created which is basically like Kara's younger sister, so that she can begin making my Makluan rings. I was able to reduce the 10-year time the Makluans had spent to make a single ring down to 1.26 years. 459.9 days. That was basically 1 year and 3 months. The first ring I was getting was life manipulation. It was the pink ring and was also the 10th ring that the son of the Makluan overlord has guarding. I wanted to use it for obvious reasons that need not be said. Myself and everyone included had been very happy that Technivore was no more, and we could finally get some peace and quiet. Even baby Sokka stopped crying. Cute. I don't understand how not a single Jedi didn't 1x. Isn't this wrong? Look how cute they are. This is heresy to kidnap them and brainwash them into entering a galactic war, only to die and fail to live a life of happiness and independence with a family they could have had but were stolen from. Even Master Fei was like that, and it honestly made me sad that someone taught as a powerful badass like Master Fei was like all the other Jedi in their views. Maybe I can sway her to my side and make her a powerful ally. The Force literally aids her and protects her. I think she had died once, but the Force resurrected her or healed her body once. The Force itself also gave her eternal youth and immortality, ageless. She was quite beautiful, and I would gladly admit it. But that doesn't mean I love her. I just like her looks is all. I will only love a person who is good inside. The girl I fall in love with could be as ugly as a hut and I'd still love them. Maybe not as ugly as a hut, but still my point stands. Appearance isn't everything. I don't want some gold diggum Karen, who is the most beautiful woman of all time, as my wife. No thanks, I'll pass. I had carried baby Sokka in my arms and rocked her to sleep. I was teased by Jinx and Kara the test if the trip to Coruscant. Like I said before, the Sith shrine was filled with dark side energy and the Jedi built the Jedi Temple on top of it in order to cleanse the dark side from the place. It didn't work. Why can't they just destroy it? They really are stupid, aren't they? Anyway, fast forward and Sidious had discovered it and had been using it ever since for his own reasons to get Stringer and cloud the minds of the Jedi with the dark side. When I arrived on Coruscant, I made my way to a landing platform on the lower levels so I can avoid being spotted or tracked back should I need to escape. I didn't get any help. This would be a cakewalk. Even if the Jedi D managed to catch me, it won't last long since I got plans for that as well. My new armor was far more effective than my old one. All the materials had been strengthened and I was finally able to create enough URU metal, thanks to the shard extracting the sun's energy to create artificial URU. /N I just realized that I have been misspelling URU as Eru. Image of his new armor and helmet down in the comments below. All technology and stuff I has is the same. The reason why it's artificial is because I didn't have a proper extraction method to harness all of the sun's energy and could only do small amounts at a time. I couldn't wait for that long, so I just used Spirit Ichor to help create it. And thus I now have what I call Spirit URU. It was surprisingly far better than I ever imagined. The Spirit URU had absorbed all my other materials of my armor and perfectly integrated itself with it. It also allowed for me to use and channel Spirit Ichor and magic far better than before. I made way using my Yautja cloaking and stealth skills to sneak into the Jedi Temple just like Cad Bane did. However, I didn't go up the side but I make my way directly to the library. I was so lax and careless because I can afford to be. When I was testing out my new armor in Q-Mock battle against Jinx, she had said her precognition and force vision didn't activate at all. We had an intense battle. She had 5,000 years of combat experience versus my few years of combat experience but also my near-omniscient combat knowledge. Ultimately we both had a draw as our blades were at exactly other throats. I would have won if it was an all-out death battle since my armor would protect me. If I had fought her the first time without the various weapons and traps of my ship, I would have lost against her. She was truly strong. As expected of the 26,000 plus midichlorians she had. The only reason I won was because I had used the various poisons and Joker and Nightmare Batman gases to make her go insane psychologically and thus making the fight completely one-sided. I assume if I get a weakened sun on my shop, I might have a chance at killing him. That's how OP the inside of my ship is. I quickly made my way through the library and found the secret room that Jocasta Nu has hidden. I approached the wall and used the skeleton key on the wall to unlock the wall so I can pass through it while in the spirit realm. The force is blocking of all areas of the Jedi Temple from the spirit realm, so I can't just enter the Jedi Temple that way, but through what I'm doing now. I then ensured Noon was nearby me and entered the spirit realm, making my physical body fade out of existence and allowed me to phase through the secret bookcase in the library. Oh yeah, I didn't explain how not a single Jedi had sensed me. Well, remember my Witcher 3 material, dimeritium plating on my armor and weapons and ship? It can reduce, resist or negate force abilities to an extent depending on how I use the dimeritium. I had done this when I had first fought Jinx on my ship to weaken her. My spirit URU had now made the dimeritium plating of my armor, now fused with spirit ichor, making its effects even stronger. Now I can definitely fight 3 Yodas at the same time if they use only the force. I'm not confident in fighting 3 small Chucky Force enhanced lightsaber welding goblins at the same time. That would be insane. My spirit URU had made me completely invisible to all force users who try to use first vision on me. Only if the force itself, the Ones, the Wills, Bendu and Abeloth use force vision will they be able to sense me. The Sith Shrine allows to uncover secrets for reality manipulation. Dark side energy had been secretly leaking out of the Sith Shrine ever since the Jedi Temple was built on top of it by the 4 Masters. The Sith Shrine was originally meant to premiere in a story arc in Season 7 of the Clone Wars TV show with Ahsoka Tano going back to the Jedi Temple and descend downwards beneath the temple with Anakin and Obi-Wan to deal with the anomaly. However, it was scrapped since they didn't have time for production of this story arc. I quickly returned my body to the Ohizical world and entered the secret vault. When I entered the physical world, I had actually appeared behind the robot Kator and slit him in 2 while also ensuring that all transmissions were blocked so Jocasta Nu doesn't know about me being inside. I had created a wake signal that copied Kator's frequency and had it be broadcasted from a small device I left in the room. I had looted the place clean while I was here. Might as well. It was just gathering dust after all. I had literally taken everything and placed all of it into my storage space which I had wished for from ROB Jr. to give me. I had taken Kator's body to analyze the database list for every Force-sensitive child in the galaxy. The Dark Holocron, made by Naga Sadow, the first ever Sith Lord. This was the Holocron Dooku would take from the Jedi Temple in 42 BBY when he leaves the Jedi Order. The lightsaber blaster rifle which Jocasta Nu used against Vader in the comics. Now I can fire lightsaber energy with a sound like, phew phew. A yellow and black Sith Holocron. An giant Sith Holocron. Some weird golden robe statue / Manachian thingy inside of a glass case. A giant black Jedi ship was inside for some reason which I took as well. I took many other things which I could. Even every book in the room. I made sure to use my scanners to identify what was booby-trapped and counted it accordingly. I made my way beneath the Jedi Temple through a tunnel through the library, without any further LE so that no Jedi will sense him. A/N There is no reference that tells me where the tunnel entrance is to the Sith Shrine. So I just did it through the secret vault in the library as the only logical choice. Meanwhile, in the library. Ava POV. I was busy looking over some records about the Mandalorian people, culture and wars that had occurred throughout the galaxy's history. It was very disturbing what I had found. Sometimes they would have leaders that would participate in the wars between the Jedi and the Sith and would commit a great number of mass genocides. Not all of it was bad though. 1,000 years ago there was the first ever Mandalorian Jedi named Pre Vizsla who had united all of Mandalore under his name. /N I have removed the part here about why Darksaber is black because there are 2 ways it is black. I'll confirm which one is canon or which one I want to use and post in a later chapter. Memories of various things and secrets had begun to surface in my dreams and mind as of late. I had thought it was the Force teaching me and revealing hidden secrets and truths about various things. But it wasn't. It was too familiar with me. As if I am just remembering it. That was when I had felt a gentle and frail hand on my shoulder. Jocasta Nu. Is something bothering you, child? Ava. No, Lady Jocasta. I was just in thought is all. Thank you for asking. Jocasta Nu. Well, alright then. There is anything you need, be sure to come to me. I still remember when you could barely reach for the books on the higher shelves when you were still in a youngling. Ava. Please stop. Jocasta Nu just chuckled as she walked away, not even bothering to answer my pleas to stop her teasing. She had done this for years now and it was getting annoying now. More like it just bothers me since I know it's true. Oh well. It doesn't matter. I actually enjoy these interactions we have with each other. She is always so playful and fun to be with despite her old age. As I was getting up from my seat at the long table of the library, I spotted something strange. It was the Mandalorian man from my dreams. He was here. He was just walking past everyone without a care in the world. And everyone walked past him like he didn't even exist. What are all of you doing? Can't you see him? I squinted my eyes and realized he had a slightly rippling aura surrounding his body. I recognized what this was since I had encountered it before on one of my missions with Master Yoda. It was invisibility. I had an ability to see through most forms of concealment without the need to use the Force and can see it with just my eyes. He was an intruder. I have to stop him. But what should I do? He was the one in my dreams. Should I report this to the Masters? If I do, then there is a chance he will be captured or killed and I won't ever get this opportunity ever again. I made my choice. I made sure that Noon was looking at me. I then used Force concealment and Force invisibility to sneak past everyone and to hopefully stay hidden from the Mandalorian. From what I read, Mandalorians have had a bad history with the Jedi and as such, they have made weaponry, technology and tactics to counter and fight against Jedi and Force abilities. I followed after him, hoping to finally get my answers once and for all. Chapter 20, Reunion Part 2. A/N the short stuff below is from something I'm doing called ROB Adventures. It is basically what the ROBs are doing in the background. They are in all my fanfics so far. If you have been following all my fanfics then you'll know some of these ROBs. This is meant to be my shitty attempt at humor. This is more of a mini side story thing. I'll edit it so I will number on each of them the previous ROB Adventures chapter. An example will be down below. But so far the characters are Knight_Aku, my IRL self, the illustrious author San, first appearance in Tensura, Supreme Kitsune Chapter 1, AOT Narrator, Attack on Titan Narrator, Borderlands, Multiverse of Madness Chapter 6, Tet, from No Game No Life, Borderlands, Multiverse of Madness Chapter 1, he also pretended to be Being, in Soulborn System Chapter 1, Venti, Ginchin Imapt Venti, first appeared in Tensura, Supreme Kitsune Chapter 13, ROB Jr., son of ROB Sr., Star Wars, Rise of Mandalore Chapter 1. The previous ROB Adventures chapter is Chapter 1 in Borderlands, Siren in the Multiverse, ROB Palace, ROB Jr. POV. I had just seen Tet run right past with a Hawkmoon, Ace of Spades, the last word and a dark saber in his hold. It was actually in his pocket dimensional space, but some gods like myself can see it on the actual person. A few minutes later, I knew who he had stolen the stuff from. It was from Knight_Aku and AOT Narrator. The two of them had ipped past me in an instant as a streak of light. I prayed that Tet doesn't do this day. Anyway, I made my way to where I felt Venti get deatomized. I reconstructed his body and struck up a conversation with him. By this time I heard the sound of calshing metal and gunshots. I knew what was going on since I knew that Tet possesses the Mask of the Sun. Venti, Ag, why does those two hate my songs? All I wanted to do was cheer up their moods. ROB Jr., I suggest you don't do it next time. Those two are, well, I have no words actually. They are unpredictable. So you want to watch? Venti, watch what? ROB Jr., Lord Giant Dad is fighting both Knight_Aku and AOT Narrator to protect Tet. Tet. Oh. Now that would be interesting to see. The two of us were traveling to Tet's domain in his world. However, that was when I had a strange sensation go over me. I checked what it was and it turned out that Adrian and Gwen/Ava have encountered each other. ROB Jr., actually, do you not to see the two beings I reincarnated into a Star Wars fanfiction? Just as Venti was going yo answer me. Knight_Aku, holiest Chaiti? AOT Narrator, he fucking threw his Chaos Zweihander? Knight_Aku, what the fuck? How the hell did it curve in the air? Giant Dad, get GUD. AOT Narrator, he's buffing himself. Knight_Aku, stop him. And so continues the screams and shouting of a narrator and an author as they fight a living legend. Tet, actually I will. Kinda already knows who'll win. So, what's happening right now with them? ROB Jr., they are actually going to meet each other right now. Come and see. I made my way further down the corridors that lay hidden within the Jedi Temple. I used my SATCOM, Yautja Tech, to bring up the 3D map of the Jedi Temple that Kara had been able to hack and obtain for me. I was no longer on the map as these tunnels were naturally not known and were kept as a closely guarded secret by Sidious. After a while, I eventually found my target. The Sith altar/shrine beneath the Jedi Temple. This place was once a Force nexus/wellspring of Force energy, but was corrupted by the Sith before they were defeated and the Four Masters built the Jedi Temple on top of it. They had hoped that the Jedi Temple and all the Jedi residing there would be able to naturally cleanse the dark side energy of the Sith shrine. Fools, all of them. That's hot how it works. If they had instructed every Jedi at the Jedi Temple to meditate near the Sith shrine for long periods of time, it would have been cleansed long before now. But the Jedi's arrogance and pride that their so magnificent faith and power of the light side could cleanse the dark side. The Father is the incarnation and the pure embodiment of the Force in balance. He was what the Jedi and Jedi had and desired to achieve but had failed. The Jedi were more successful and had become like the Father in a lesser way but not fully, since some would turn to the dark side. And others had turned into the first Jedi by choosing the light side. Too much light or dark would be the undoing of life as you know it. You have a very simple view of the universe. I am neither Sith nor Jedi. I am so much more. These were the very words said by the Father during the Mortis arc. My new Jedi Order will succeed where the Sith and Jedi failed. I will ensure that the Father's dogma will be the core foundation of my new Jedi Order. But that is for the future. I now have the list for every Force-sensitive child in the galaxy, or at least what was found by the Republic. I wonder if I should let Anakin become the bodyguard for Padme during the Federation blockade of Naboo. Fu-fu-fu. Ku-ku-ku. Muahahahaha. Asterisk cough, asterisk cough. Shit, I coughed. At least I'll be best dad of all time. Already planning to give my adopted son or nephew or whatever he is to me, since I expressly told Shmi I won't marry her, but I'll be like a father/uncle figure for Anakin. She agreed to it, which wasn't a surprise since she wants Ani to have a family and to finally have a father figure, which he had been devoid of for his entire life. Actually, now that I think about it, won't that make me like his godfather? You're a wizard, Harry. Listen here, Hagrid, you biff oaf. I am not a fucksking wizard. /n if you don't know this meme, I am ashamed of you. Search it on YT. Jokes aside, I would actually be something like Sirius is to Harry, or what Snape is to Draco. Anyway, while I was thinking if nonsensical things, I had finished destroying the Sith shrine. I had used a lot of magic to redirect the entirety of the corrupted Force wellspring here into a similar device to my pre-sim. I have the pre-sim with me just in case the sun appears for whatever reason. Doesn't hurt to be prepared. I read some Star Wars fanfictions in my past life as well, and I always wondered one thing. Why the fuck does Noon include the ones or the wills into the story? Are these authors retarded? /n I don't think that. I love your fanfic Star Wars authors. Your works make me cry on how great it is. Crying face. I mean, if it was reality like it was for me now, then the Force gods would definitely know of anyone that reincarnates such as myself and would naturally get involved. Not only that, but they would be much stronger, like everybody else would be, since this isn't some fictional story anymore. It isn't a game. Not a book. Not a TV show. Not a comic. It is real. It is reality. And as such, I can't underestimate my opponents or the various power beings of this universe. Mother Talzin, Jinx, Anakin, the Ones, Abeloth, the Wills, Bendu, the Jedi Council, Yoda, Mace Windu, Sidious and even Darth Palguys will all be much stronger now. I know that the Jedi Council definitely are, since I don't nat to admit it. But I had begun to struggle midway, and while I would have escaped back on Ord Mantell, even without Jinx's help, it was pushing the limits of my physical body. I didn't want to kill them since the Jedi weren't evil and didn't do anything wrong that warranted death. Sure, they are bad in some ways, like kidnapping and brainwashing children to become meat shield for a corrupted republic. But they didn't warrant death for it. They were simply misunderstanding themselves. Yoda, Kagan and Obi-Wan are some people I can talk to that will listen to me and will keep an open mind. They are some that I can actually respect, since they might actually take action to correct the Jedi Order if I told them its wrongs. If I told them the creed and teachings of the Father, then they may change and become better Jedi. True Jedi. But as of right now, they are just following the teachings of the Jedi Order with blind faith. Take the Nords of Skyrim for example. In the Elder Scrolls games, it is well known that the event known as the Night of Tears had sparked war with the Nords and the Famar, Snow Elves. What is the Knot of Tears? It was an event when the Famar, for two possible theorized reasons, had attacked and killed the inhabitants of Sarthal. It was once the capital city of the Empire of the Nords, founded by Isgramor. It was one of the first cities established by men in Tamriel. The Snow Elves destroyed the city in what would come to be known as the Night of Tears, and only Isgramor and his two sons escaped during the carnage and swore vengeance. Later, the destruction of this city would be avenged when Isgramor returned with his famed warriors, the 500 companions. They were 500 fierce Nord warriors of the Avatmara. The famed enchanter known as Ozadal heard of the arrival of Isgramor and the 500, he went to them, and offered his services to him and his army. With steel imbued with powerful enchantments, Isgramor, the 500 companions and Ozadal began to hunt down the remaining Snow Elves across Skyrim and Solstheim, and a war would begin between the two races. The 500 companions eventually won, with the vast majority of the Snow Elves dying in the line of duty. The battle which destroyed Sarthal may have been related to the Eye of Magnus, which the Snow Elves held dear to their culture. The true reason why they attacked the Nords is never known / directly told to us. But that is not important. It is what happens after. After the defeat of the Snow Elves, Iskramor had then decided to use the captured Snow Elves as slaves to build Windhelm, one of the capital cities of Skyrim. There were books in-game written by Iskramor's Nord allies, who had written about their mercy and great deeds. Of course, this is a lie since all the Snow Elves were executed since Iskramor had wanted to genocide all Snow Elves from Skyrim. All the slaves were executed once they built Windhelm instead of being set free. They had then written about themselves and painted the Nords as the heroes. But if one was familiar and researched the cruel fate they had suffered, then everyone would realize that the Nords and Iskramor had truly lived up to the saying, "History is written by victors." That is exactly what the Jedi did. They tried to erase the dark side and deny that it is a part of the Force and is necessary just as the light side is so that balance can be achieved. That is moronic. But this ideal was passed down by the original Jedi and the four masters that founded and created the Jedi Temple. And now I was forced to deal with this shit because they couldn't do their damn job. After you had absorbed all the dark side and Force energy residing here into the pre-sim replica, I had used my newly acquired magic to destroy the Sith Shrine. The entirety of it had evaporated into green particles. It was difficult to do since I was still new at magic, but it worked. I held my pre-sim replica in my hand and I could feel its dark side energies within it. Actually, it is more like a black soulstone replica which held the 7 evils of the Diablo game universe. Anyway, I turned around to leave. But someone was there. Standing meters away from me. The figure before me was a beautiful ashen-haired girl. She looked around at the walls, ceiling, floor and the Sith Shrine I had just destroyed. Or what's left of it at least. She speaks and says out loud but mostly to herself as if I want hear it all. "Ava, what is this place?" She then notices me and her eyes seem to refocus. What the fuck was that feeling just now? It felt just like that time Abeloth had appeared before me. At the time, she had bared her intent towards me and I felt the full pressure of her aura on me. But now, it was even worse. Not only did I feel this girl's aura weigh me down, but I could feel a familiar aura also pressure me. Abeloth. She was definitely watching right now. I can feel her aura being directed at me. Although, since she is being kept at bay by the ones, it felt like slightly heavy wind blowing against me. But this girl in front of me, she has an aura far greater than Abeloth. It felt like I was being weighed down by the gravity of a black hole. Abeloth must have used her full aura on me. Yes. That had to be the correct answer. There is no way this pesky little girl is stronger than Abeloth, who is the strongest being to exist, only second to the Wills. Then is this what a Jedi Master's aura is like? Will Anakin or Luke have an aura like this? Surely it has to be. Then why were the auras of the 30 Jedi so weak? Maybe they didn't hold much hostility towards me and didn't use it to its full extent? It has to be exactly that. Adrian was at loss with himself about the whole situation happening to him. All his theories were logical and sound. If only it were the truth. But his internal dilemma and refusal to accept that Ava, who still hasn't revealed her name to him, was stronger than the strongest being of the living Force, Abeloth, the Mother of Chaos. However, he couldn't be more wrong. Ava was more powerful than Abeloth and more powerful than the Wills. Ava was simply unable to control her immense aura. An aura is something akin to what you might think it is. Like in one of those cultivation novels or fanfictions you may have read. In truth, all Ava was doing was showing some hostility. Whereas Abeloth had focused 40% of her aura on him, it was actually 100% but she couldn't project all of it as she was still trapped in the maw. Ava had only directed less than 2% of her aura towards him. If she had directed 100% then he would have died. Only Force sensitives can survive her aura at 100%. But Adrian was still a non-Force sensitive, despite him being one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy in terms of physical strength and body, among other things, for a humane being. He was still, at the end of the day, a non-Force sensitive. The maximum that Ava can direct was about 4.9% of her aura. The reason why this was her limit was because the daughter, the son and the father had all come together in a joint effort to restrain it. They did this as a preventive measure to ensure she did not accidentally kill anybody with her aura. At 0.15% of her aura, a non-Force sensitive would have died instantly. But Adrian was not a normal non-Force sensitive. He was the strongest non-Force sensitive to ever exist. He had endured 2% of her aura. That was more than 13 times what would kill a non-Force sensitive, and he was still standing just fine. How much of her aura would it take to kill him? If he was a Force sensitive, then he would basically be immune to it. AMD would only feel some light pressure. But as he is now, it would have to take about 45% to actually kill him, but only 16% to render him unconscious. Ava readies her stance in a way she can instantly draw her lightsaber at a moment's call to engage in combat should the need arise. Inside her head, she thinks he is a Sith or a Sith worshipper because of the place they are in, and that Adrian was in this very area didn't help Yo disprove this, even if it wasn't true. Adrian did what anybody in his situation would have done if they encountered a being like Ava would had such a powerful aura weighing down upon them. He tried to use the infamous talk no jutsu to bullshit his way out of this. Adrian, this place is amazing. I never would have thought I'd make such discovery in a place like this. I was just leaving. She was able to easily sense that he was telling a half-truth, which he actually was. He had said he was leaving, and when he first arrived here he was genuinely surprised a little once he found this place. It was mire than what he had expected. Ava. Reveal the truth, Mandalorian. I know that you are lying. She slowly reached for her lightsaber, indicating that if he didn't comply, then she would be forced to take more drastic measures. Adrian. I assure you Jedi that I am here for purely good intentions. She senses he is telling the truth and dropped some of her hostility, and as a result her aura had lightened on Adrian. Adrian. I believe we haven't introduced ourselves yet. Since I was here first I get to know yours before I tell you mine. What is your name, Jedi? Ava. Fine. I am Padawan Ava Kendra of Grandmaster Yoda and Grandmaster Mace Windu. Adrian was confused as Ava should not exist at all since at this time period neither of the Grandmasters should have taken on apprentices. Especially Yoda since Dooku was his last apprentice. Also there have never been the case there are two masters teaching a pupil called Ava. He was sure he would know of such a person if that was true in the canon or legend stories. He began to theorize if this was AU Star Wars universe. A/N it isn't. He just confused Sims Ava, such a powerful being, would surely be mentioned in Star Wars movies or comics or the show if they had existed. As if sensing his confusion, she speaks up. Ava, I was gifted in the Force and a lot of other fields, so the Jedi Council made this exception and treatment for me. Adrian. Ha ha ha. The Jedi only want to brainwash you because you are strong in the Force and they don't view you as anything else than another one of their soilders. She felt the need inside of her to correct him. She was upset by his words of insulting the Jedi Order she had grown up in. He wasn't a Force sensitive, so how would he understand what the Jedi do? Ava, the Jedi are peacekeepers. We ensure the stability and the continued peace of the Republic. You couldn't possibly understand what the Jedi have to do to dash. Adrian. No. The Jedi are no peacekeepers. Don't spout those filthy lies at me. Whatever have the Jedi done during the Rousnad years since the Sith were defeated? Absolutely nothing. While they continue to kidnap and brainwash children to be indoctrinated into your cult of fanatical brainwash soilders. The people not in the Republic like Tatooine or the Twi'leks of Ryloth, or how the Zygerians enslave countless Togrutan people. This is only a few examples, and all of them still suffer the oppression and abuse of slavery. In 1,000 years I could have expunged slavery from the galaxy and unite it under one banner. Mine. Ava, why you have no idea what you're talking about. The Our Republic brought peace to the galaxy. The Senate is helping those star systems as best they can. There are billions of inhabited planets across the galaxy. You can't expect all of them to be brought to order by the Republic and Jedi in only 1,000 years. It had taken more than 60,000 years to reach that many star systems. You can't actually think that why dash. Adrian, oh but I do and I can. If only you knew who I really am. I will do that which the Jeffy failed to do. Which a corrupted Seater had failed to accomplish. This will be what my clan will accomplish. And what all of Mandalore will forever remember and etch into history. That I will unite the galaxy once and for all. I will end all conflict and evil that exists in this galaxy in only a matter of a few decades. A/N read next notice chapter. It's important for story and your input would be appreciated. Ava. Enough of this. I will have to take you as a captive for questioning first having breached and trespassed the Jedi Temple and entering a forbidden area like this place. Ava was disappointed that she wasn't able to counter any of his statements of the Jedi and the Republic. She thought she could have a conversation with him about why he was in her dreams. But he had entered a dark side place like this for unknown reasons, to her, and so she couldn't be selfish anymore and had to conduct herself as anyone else would in her shoes. At least this way, she can take him in without him being possibly killed by the Jedi in a battle. Adrian. I don't nat to hurt a little girl such as yourself. So how about you be a good sweetie and move aside? Holy shit. I literally felt her aura spike up, but it wasn't as hostile as before but more like I can literally feel her anger and irritation. She must have been pissed I was looking down on her. Well I don't care either way. If she is exceedingly powerful, there is now way she can resist my pre-sim. A/N the pre-sim can actually affect Ava, but only for about 2 years before she is able to resist its effects. Abeloth would be near permanently affected by it. I won't reveal what the pre-sim dies until the Murty's arc. Because I'm jackass like that. She puffs her chest out at my words and stated with pride. Ava, I am equal to Grandmasters Yoda and Windu in lightsaber combat within every form. In addition to the Force. He probably sensed my disbelief and doubt of her as she reached into her robes and tosses me a hollow USB. I had Kara analyze the hollow USB if it was safe to insert into my SATCOM. The Shiva bots, Destiny, Inside my armor had changed my SATCOM and created a USB port. The Shiva bots were an extreme version of nanomachines. A/N they are important, but I'll leave explanation for once he leaves Jedi Temple. When I had a hologram brought up, it should be a few digital pages that seem to have her qualifications on it. It also has the official signatures of the entire Jedi Council and the examiners on it as well. I audibly chalked loud enough for her to hear me, and I tried to regain my bearings. WTF is this? She is a fucking walking supercomputer. If someone saw who was the smartest person in the galaxy, it would definitely be her. I was smarter thanks to my wish, but to be able to learn all this and not even be an adult is ridiculous. She's not only an expert in politics but also economics, lightsaber combat in all forms, a force master, business, mathematics, science, literature, languages, engineering, medicine, and so much more. She was just as dangerous in combat as she is in everything else like me. But my pride won't admit defeat. Ava. Well, this little girl is going to beat you. Like fuck, I'll lose to some brat like this. Adrian, I will give you one last chance. Stand aside and I'll walk out of here as if nothing happened. All she did to answer me was activate her pure white lightsaber. If Adrian had focused on her lightsaber, he would have realized that it was incredibly similar to the dark saber, but hers was the opposite. It was pure white with traces of blue slivers throughout the blade. He didn't realize this since the moment he heard the lightsaber activate, he had focused entirely on her eyes. He was focused, more so than anything. When he fought Jinx in his ship, he had struggled but since he didn't expect to meet someone as powerful as her. When he encountered the 30 Jedi on Ord Mantell, he was more less play fighting against them while holding back. Although the only real opponents to him were Windu and Yoda. Then there was also Abeloth, but he made a countermeasure for her. That was his pre-sim. And now it was this girl Ava Kendra. She was strong, and a master in all forms of lightsaber combat and force abilities. It was entirely possible she can use Shatterpoint. If she can use the Spear of Midnight Black, then he knew he would not have an easy battle and the chances of death would be high then. I sighed in frustration and annoyance. I readied myself because if what Ava says is true about her achievements, then I'm going to fight a very powerful Jedi that is as strong or stringer than Sidious, Palguise, Yoda, Mace Windu, Mother Talzin, Dooku, Maul, Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, the son, the daughter, the father, the mother. This would not be an easy battle to win. It's time to push myself to my utmost limits. If I am to win, I must fight to kill. And so it was that after 15 years since both Gwen and Adrian had been reincarnated into this universe, that they finally have their reunion with one another, albeit not in the way that they would have expected. One was born as a Mandalorian, a people who have bad relations with the Jedi and are well known as Jedi killers for their unique weaponry and strategies to counter Force users. Adrian Hawke, someone who is already at odds with the Jedi and has become a target of the Republic, while the other was reincarnated as the most powerful being to exist in the universe and was raised as a Jedi, an enemy of the Mandalorians for many centuries and millennia. Gwendolyn Gwen Blainslice Ava Kendra. And just as it was, many years ago from when they had played their final game together, one had played as a Mandalorian, while the other played as a Jedi. And now, it was ironic that they would meet once more, exactly as it was then. Adrian Hawke, a Mandalorian. Ava Kendra, a Jedi. For the people they belong to, are three Nimes of one another. While one has no memory that the other had reincarnated alongside them. The second has no memory at all of the other. All she saw before her was a Mandalorian and an enemy of the Jedi who had invaded the Jedi Temple and attempted something with a Sith artifact of some kind. And all Adrian saw before him was someone that was in his way to escaping. Someone who was powerful, and if he left his guard down, he could potentially be killed. Unbeknownst to either of them, Gwen or Ava can regain her memories through a very simple way. All that need be done was for his helmet to be removed, and for her to see his face. But Adrian will not do that, as once his face is exposed, many of his plans to remain in the shadows would go up in smoke. So how and when will she regain her sealed memories? Just a single glance is needed, and she, Gwendolyn, would be able to reunite with Adrian after so long. But would he be killed by her hand first? Or she be killed by his? Or neither? For in the following battle will decide their fates.